Dead of night at an abandoned dig site. The rhythmic beep 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 of a massive concrete mixer reversing sets the mood. Over the deafening roar of machinery, a phone buzzes like crazy. Isu, looking like your average grunt, finally grabs it with a scowl. Kinda loud here. What do you want? On the other end, a sleek, bespectacled elite smirking in a high-rise office. What do I want? Classic. Do Young Bake. Isu's big brother, flanked by a wall of bodyguards and dripping with authority. He's calling for casual drinks like the world isn't burning. Isu shuts him down cold. Busy. Meanwhile, Zion Platinum Hair Zero Chill is losing his mind over the job. I seriously can't believe this. Look at this mess. You spilled it everywhere, but that slush sliding down the chute, it ain't wet cement. It's a grisly waterfall of uniformed corpses tumbling straight into a burial pit. Talk about a graveyard shift. Isu's barely listening to his brother's chatter, when boom, a metal door blasts open behind him. The rookie goes flying, skidding across the dirt like a ragdoll. Stepping out of the gloom, a shirtless beast of a man grinning like a shark. Found you. The threat is real. It's young Chul Ri, enemy infiltrator, pro hitman. A perfect record of 4 successful breaches. Isu doesn't flinch. Call you back. Click. He pivots to face the monster. The rookie clutches his bleeding chest, stumbling forward. I'm good. I'm good. Just a scratch, boss. Isuo nods, stone-faced. Good. He casually zips up his construction vest. The sleepy worker vibe, gone. Meet Isu Bake, captain of the HID Special Ops Unit. A living legend, with 12 successful missions under his belt. Young Chul realizes he messed up big time. While the enemy panics, Isu's crew is taking bets. 10 seconds, or 30, they know it's already over. The assassin roars, lunging like a rabid animal blade flashing. Iso weaves through the strikes like smoke. Then crack. A thunderous uppercut connects squarely with the killer's jaw. Instant carnage. Face-mashed blood, spraying everywhere. Lights out. Isu grabs the limp body by the collar, eyes cold as ice. The skill gap isn't just big, it's an ocean. Silence, then slam. He spikes the assassin into the concrete like a football. Eyes white, mouth foaming bloody bubbles. One shot, one kill. Isu straightens up, totally unbothered. He dusts off his hands like he just swatted a mosquito, readjusts his jacket and barks an order. Patch up the rookie, clean up the mess. I've got a date. He walks off while the squad gets to work. They toss the unconscious hitman into a wheelbarrow. One op props his feet up, exhaling loudly. Fight's done. Watching the assassin get carted off like literal garbage, he mumbles. This is why we only work in the dark. Isu Bike exits stage left, leaving the grime behind. Just another blue-collar guy clocking out. He strolls into a 5-star hotel lobby looking completely wrong. A snooty manager in a penguin suit immediately steps in his way. Excuse me, pal. The vibe is pure hostility. Isu tries to play nice. My brother's waiting for me. The manager waves a hand in his face. Not happening. He looks Iso up and down with a sneer. We have a dress code, meaning take your dirty vest elsewhere. And a voice booms across the lobby. Hey, Isuo, it's Do Young Bake. Sharp suit, man bun, designer glasses. He strides over radiating CEO energy. Then he locks eyes with the manager. The temperature drops. What's the holdup? Told you I was expecting him. He wraps an arm around Isu, staring the manager down. This is my little brother. We got a problem here, because I don't see a problem. Do Young's smirk dares him to speak. The manager goes ghost white sweat beading and bows so fast he nearly cracks his spine. Stammering apologies about not knowing, Iso shrugs his brother's arm off. Whatever, let's eat. He walks past acting bored. Do Young watches him go. He spots the safety first slogan on Isu's dirty jacket and grins. Safety first. Kinda fits, doesn't it? Back at the site, the Chow Hall is in revolt. What is this slop? Are they serious? Silverhair screams at the sky. First feast in 3 months, and it's just cheap frozen pork. The disrespect. Meanwhile, another guy shrugs, stuffing his face. Hey, meat is meat. It's been a while. The veteran beside him gave the order chow down while you can. A redhead guy grumbled, totally salty about it, wishing he'd tagged along with the boss who was definitely feasting like a king right now. Suddenly, an engine roared to life, announcing the big man's entrance. A convoy of pitch-black vans screeched into the mess hall, tires smoking as they slammed the brakes. A rookie scrambled to his feet, throwing up a crisp salute the second he spotted the boss, while the veterans didn't even bother lifting their butts. The glasses boss, sharp suit spectacles glinting, stepped out, receiving a lazy welcome from the crew. He dropped a casual apology about a meeting running long, then scanned the room. Where's your team leader? Someone piped up that the leader had personal drama and dipped early. That news made the boss pause. A twisted smirk curled on his lips. He reached into his vest, muttering, well, isn't that a pain in the neck? Bang. Without blinking, he whipped out a piece and put a bullet straight between a worker's eyes. The guy didn't even have time to process the betrayal. Crimson spray painted the air as his head snapped back, and he slumped onto the table, leaving his squad shook. The boss stood there, gun raised. Expression absolute zero. On cue, the van doors slid open, and a hit squad poured out. As of right now, the boss announced this unit is terminated. The strike team leveled their weapons, locking down the perimeter, fingers itching on triggers. The order came down, leave no loose ends. Every drop of blood drained from the workers' faces. They knew this was the end of the line. The boss surveyed the upcoming slaughter satisfied, smoke still drifting from his barrel. Good work, boys. Cut to a high-end restaurant, decked out with fine wine and gourmet plates, the city lights glittering below. Isu sat across from his brother, Do Kyung Baek. Baek didn't waste time. He slid a sleek business card across the table. Isu quit playing around. Come work for me. The card screamed, Power Do Kyung Baek, CEO of TSFG Group. He couldn't wrap his head around why a soldier was dressing like a blue-collar grunt. Isu took a slow sip of his wine. I'm just on loan for civilian support. Baek scoffed hard. You think I can sleep at night? Knowing my own flesh and blood is busting his ass for pennies. He leaned in, sneering. Hey mister, safety first. You hearing this? Isu just gave a nonchalant smirk. Maybe later. A buzz in his pocket cut the tension. Isu checked his phone. The screen glowed with an ominous, no caller ID. Gotta take this, Isu said, cutting his brother off. Baek rolled his eyes, clearly annoyed at the snub. Isu didn't wait for permission. He stood up and made a beeline for the restroom to get away from the noise. Inside, he pressed the phone to his ear. Isu speaking. The voice on the other end was barely a whisper, shaking with fear. Isu's instincts flared. Zion. Why do you sound like that? Zion gasped, choking on his words. Lying in a pool of his own blood at a wrecked construction site. They served us a last meal, boss. Isu's grip tightened, patience snapping. Zion quit screwing around. Spit it out. Zion clutched his gutted stomach, desperation in his voice. Boss, it's a purge. We've been marked for elimination. He screamed, voice cracking under the pain. We're done for. Everyone's dead, you get it. Isu went rigid, the intel hitting him like a truck. Zion's words painted a nightmare. TSFG goons tossing his squad's bodies into a mass grave like trash. The snake behind it, Chief Jung. Zion hissed venom in every word. That old bastard. Chief Jung sold us out, Isu's heart hammered. He spun around. Hold on. I'm coming. Right now. No, Zion screamed. You gotta run. They're coming for Y. Bang. A gunshot silenced the line. Isu's pupils shrank to pinpricks, horror morphing into pure rage. He slumped over the sink, shouting into the void. Zion, Zion. Dead air. Isu stood paralyzed, cold sweat, dripping, the brutal reality sinking in. Then a switch flipped. He whipped around and marched out of that restroom, an aura of pure murder radiating off him. He stormed into the main hall. A waiter stepped in his way, flashing a plastic customer service smile. Trying to play gatekeeper. Excuse me, sir, I'm afraid this area is fully booked for a private event. Isu didn't even acknowledge him. He ghosted past the guy, leaving the waiter blinking in confusion, wondering what the hell just happened. A hand clamped onto a chair, knuckles white, ready for violence. Splat blood sprayed across the fine china as a man in a vest hit the deck, collapsing dead right onto the banquet table. Total humiliation. The Glass's boss stood there, smirking, voice dripping with sarcasm. Well, look who it is. Been a long time, huh? The trap was sprung. The whole room was swarming with masked assassins, weapons drawn. And there was the blade dripping with fresh blood. Caught in the reflection of the boss's cold lenses, Isu launched himself like a heat-seeking missile, pure bloodlust flooding the corridor. His gaze was razor-sharp, locking onto the kill zone with the intensity of a predator. A literal meat shield of assassins stood between him and the prize, weapons drawn, but Isu knew the truth. Du-gyung was cowering right behind that human wall. The squad captain clocked the target and barked the order. Target confirmed, Isu. Take him out. The vanguard lunged his blade, aiming straight for Isu's jugular. Isu barely flinched. A subtle shift in weight, and that steel missed him by a microscopic fraction. Crack. Before the guy could blink, Isu smashed a devastating elbow right into his face. In the same motion, Isu snapped the enemy's wrist back with a sickening crunch. Slash. He swiped the blade and returned it to its owner, express delivery across the throat. The goon froze, eyes wide with shock before hitting the deck. Isu didn't pause, vaulting off the fresh corpse. He turned that momentum into a lethal charge, crashing into the enemy line like a wild beast. Ghosting up on the second target, Isu prepped the blade for another life. Slam, he gripped the guy's skull and drove it into the concrete with zero mercy. He pinned the soldier down instantly. Hand and foot locked the guy in place, Isu staring down like the Grim Reaper himself. Blood spray coated Isu's face, but his crimson eyes just burned brighter. Rising from the carnage, Isu ripped a fresh dagger from a dead body. Round 2. He scanned the leftovers with pure disgust, mocking their technique. Your blade work is way too predictable. He tore off the bulky work jacket to reveal his tactical gear. A savage grin split his face. Bloody knife raised, he taunted them. Let's go. 3 masked killers rushed him at once, hungry to tear their lone enemy apart. Clang, Isu's blade met theirs, sparks flying as he parried the assault. No lag time. Isu pirouetted, slicing open the chest of the closest attacker. It was a death waltz. Isu deflected every strike until one blade finally nicked his shoulder. Crimson spurted out. But to Isu, that was just a scratch. He stayed ice cold. The circle closed in tight. Cut to black. We shift to a container yard miles away. The smoking boss dragged on a cigarette, listening to the comms. Scene clear. What's the status on Isu? The lackey nervously reported that a fresh Spec Ops squad was en route to handle the problem. Just one team, the boss scowled, exhaling smoke. That's not gonna cut it. Back in the kill box, Isu gripped his second blade. Just looted from a corpse. Amidst the sea of bodies, a distant shout echoed, "Send in the next wave." Remembering the kill them all command, Isu ground his teeth and screamed the puppet master's name, Dugyong. Nearby shattered glasses sat in a pool of blood, the omen of a new fight. Enter the long-haired commander. Scarred face, cold eyes, looking absolutely lethal. "Let me ask you something." He hoisted an assassin up by the collar blade, pressing against the guy's jugular, and growled, "Who has the guts to put out a hit on a perfect day like this?" He opened the guy's throat. Red spray painted his face. He stood over the heap of bodies and clicked his tongue. Damn it. I needed that one alive for answers. Suddenly, static crackled from a dead man's radio. A distorted voice cut through, "Eliminate Isu on sight." The commander lifted the body, sneering. "Seriously? These gangsters are still rocking this ancient tech." The radio crackled again, clearer this time. "Eliminate Isu Beck on sight." The voice was ice cold, doubling down on the kill order. "Repeat, terminate Isu Beck." That was Do-kyung Baek, CEO of TSFG, asking sarcastically over the airwaves. "Who exactly do you think you're hunting?" Meanwhile, down the hall, Isu silenced another enemy with a quick stab. Hearing the voice, Isu snapped to attention. He spotted the silhouette down the bloody corridor and sprinted. He roared his brother's name, locking eyes with the long-haired man standing amidst the carnage. Dugyong, the long-haired commander, looked wiped out, clutching his head. Seeing Isu, he straightened up. He slicked back, his hair flashing an arrogant look. "So are all these bodies your plus ones?" Cut to black. Jump cut. The long-haired commander is beat up, riding in the back of a car. The stranger driving spoke up. "Let me get this straight." Isu was riding shotgun. The driver eyed the rearview mirror. "That guy back there is from H.I." Isu and the long-haired commander sat side by side in the back seat, a totally unexpected vibe. Isu scratched his head, his brain buffering as he tried to pull up a name. "Damn it, what's the tag again?" The driver cut in from the front. "It's HID boss. Think CIA spook-level intel agency stuff." Keeping it simple, Isu snagged a rubber band, tying Do-kyung's flowing mane back into a ponytail. "Oh yeah, bingo." Clicking now, Do-kyung broke it down cold. "You're a Black Ops ghost taking out targets up north. And me, I'm not some street thug. I run the Tyson clan. We own Seoul's Underworld." Isu yanked his twin's ponytail, voice dripping with bitterness. "Look at us. Twin disasters living in two different hells." Suddenly, Isu snapped. "Stop the car, let me out." Do-kyung glanced back, totally confused. "Huh. Why here?" Visions of masked killers strobed in his skull. "You saw them. Sticking with me puts a target on your back. They won't stop until I'm a corpse." Do-kyung smirked, sarcasm thick enough to cut. "Oh right. Because your big bad gangster brother can't handle a little heat. Fine, get lost. Actually, let me do you a solid. And dump you right at the precinct." Isu barked back. Do-kyung, quit playing. I'm dead serious." But his twin's eyes went ice cold. "And we're here. Get out." Click. The door swung open. A polished high-end dress shoe hit the pavement. Isu scrambled after him, shouting, "Do-kyung, I got this solo please." But Do-kyung just stood there, back turned like a wall. His voice boomed, "Open your eyes, Isu." Smash cut. A funeral. A guy in a black suit and mourning band was barking orders. An army of suits marched past, hauling massive funeral wreaths. The vibe was heavy. A convoy of black luxury rides and hundreds of mourners lined up outside an old mansion. Pure power on display. Do-kyung smirked, throwing down the gauntlet. "Does this look like I'm playing games?" Isu froze. A stunning assistant, stepped up and bowed. "Welcome, Mr. Beck. Timing is perfect," she reported, keeping it strictly professional. "Everything is rolling out exactly as you ordered." She didn't miss a beat. "Prep work wraps in 2 hours." Do-kyung stared at the framed photo she was holding, then turned to Isu. His face went stone cold. "You said the hit squad stops when you're dead, right?" Isu's jaw dropped, color draining from his face. As the insanity of his brother's master plan clicked, Do-kyung held up the funeral portrait. It was Isu's face. A chilling grin spread across his face. "So let's make sure you're dead." The portrait was set, right in the center of white chrysanthemums. "Officially deceased." Do-kyung smirked, breaking it down. "Think of it as theater. Stole this move from the Yakuza to scrub identities." Isu was reeling, and the world's just gonna buy this. Do-kyung shrugged calmly. "Sure, some will sniff around." Then his eyes sharpened. "But here's the kicker." A river of subordinates and VIPs in black flowed up the mansion steps. The Tyson family pulls strings nobody even sees. A man in traditional mourning robes stood guard as a VIP guest approached bowing. The guest clasped his hands, placing an incense stick in the burner to seal the deal. That stick burning. That was the official stamp on the younger Bake brothers' death certificate. The chief mourner bowed deep, nailing the performance. Then he lifted his head. Ice in his veins. It was Do-gyung, the Tyson boss, playing the grieving brother perfectly. Do-gyung narrated every political heavyweight walking through these doors. Becomes ironclad witness to your death. Guests shook hands, offering fake sympathies. But Do-gyung knew the game. Think they're still on the fence. The chief mourner stood there, face blank, while a guard escorted the guest away. Do-gyung stared down at the courtyard packed with hundreds of soldiers and fleets of black cars. His voice boomed with authority. No, they believe whatever the hell I tell them to believe. Whoosh, a black van drifted into the funeral zone, shattering the vibe. Screech. The ride slammed the brakes right in the VIP lot. The Tyson crew glared annoyed. The head guard sneered, total disgust on his face. What is this trash? This ain't a parking spot for nobodies. Some cheap family van cutting into VIP. Inside that van, a rival boss was flipping through Do-gyung Bake's dossier. The paper said, Tyson Group CEO, but the guy in the van wasn't buying it. CEO, please. He lit a cigarette, exhale dripping with contempt. He's just a two-bit gangster. Nothing more, nothing less. Thump. He raps his knuckles on the glass, the green light for the hit squad lurking in the shadows to move. Outside the van, the gatekeeper starts barking, warning them this isn't some discount flea market for wannabes. Inside, the commander lays it out cold to his elite unit. Consider this your graduation exam before the real bloodshed begins. His voice leaves zero room for error. I don't care if you have to rip the casket lid off with your bare hands. You confirm Agent Bake is a corpse. Period. The sliding door hisses open. As the first operative steps onto the pavement, the guard cuts him off, dripping with disdain. Who do you think you are rolling up here in that cosplay? You absolute garbage. He jams a finger into the soldier's chest, ego fully inflated. What, you think? This is your local CrossFit box. Silence. The guard mistakes discipline for fear and flicks the brim of the operative's cap, pushing his luck. Speak up, or did the cat get your plus? That's as far as he gets. Bam, a piston-like jab detonates on the guard's jaw. The soldier's expression doesn't even flicker, pure ice. Lights out. The guard hits the asphalt. The rest of the Tyson crew, led by a dude with a neck covered in ink, freeze in disbelief. Inkneck snaps out of it and bellows, "You freak," before launching a bull rush. That's the trigger. The squad moves like a blurred shadow tearing into the mob. It's not a fight, it's a massacre. The operatives weave through punches like ghosts, dismantling the thugs with surgical precision. Wham! Inkneck eats a nasty hook to the chin. Before he can blink, the soldier teleports behind him. Sleeper hold locked in tight. The thug's airway crushes shut, reducing his tough guy act to desperate gurgles. Zero remorse in the soldier's eyes. He holds the squeeze until the struggle fades, and the leader goes completely boneless. He dumps the unconscious body like a sack of trash. The unit snaps back to formation instantly. Mask off. This is the real deal, Special Ops Head Team 2, the Northern Annihilation Unit, codename Hanra. At the top of the funeral home steps, a new obstacle looms. A massive titan in a black suit sporting a white mourning flower. He adjusts his cuffs with terrifying confidence, peels off his jacket, and starts descending, radiating pure, suffocating pressure. One man standing against an elite kill squad. The air gets so heavy, you could cut it with a knife. The giant rumbles, private event. Invitation only. The point man just cracks a dark smirk. Totally unimpressed. Suddenly, the giant throws a haymaker aimed to decapitate the soldier. Meet the monster Jin Eung-ha, security chief for TS Financial, also known as the unwavering Yaksha of Hanam. But the punch hits. Nothing but palm. The operative catches it cold. Jin Eung-ha's eyes go wide. He can't process that his power was stopped dead. While the squad watches in awe, the operative stomps the ground, rooting himself. Countermove initiated. He snatches Jin by the collar and flips the momentum in a split second. Crack. The sickening sound of bone giving way echoes. The operative just pulverized Jin's jaw with sheer brute force. The mighty Yaksha drops like a marionette with cut strings. Even his own teammates are paralyzed by the display. He crushed his jaw. Barehanded, one soldier screams, rallying the team. Finish him, rush that monster. All at once, don't let up. But wait, Jin Eung-ha isn't done. Broken face and all, he springs back up. He tanks attacks from two soldiers at once, snatching one guy's entire face in his massive palm. The strength is still god tier. Jin is roaring through the pain, ragdolling one enemy while cocking back his other fist. Filthy rats. You dare wham, a vicious elbow strike explodes outward. It connects squarely with an attacker's skull. Even with his jaw hanging loose, the Yaksha's eyes are burning with focus. He's not backing down an inch. Another soldier screams, "Just die already, you freak," and lunges. Mistake. Jin buries a fist deep into the guy's gut veins, popping on his arm like steel cables. Thud. The soldier kisses the pavement instantly out. The next guy is still trying to figure out what just happened. when Jin clamps a hand over his face. Attack neutralized. He locks onto the wrist with a vice grip. The soldier throws a desperate kick, but it bounces off like he's hitting a tank. Effortlessly, Jin hoists the man into the air, twisting him into a torture rack position. It's game over. The soldier wheezes, ribs creaking under the pressure. Jin raises him high overhead like a trophy, loading up for the kill shot. With a primal roar, he drives the soldier's skull into the concrete. Boom. Lights out. The operative is left crumpled in a heap, totally demolished. His eyes went wide, terror seizing his soul as he realized he'd just walked into his worst nightmare. Boom Ha-jin Young unleashed a devastating hammer fist, shattering the last operative's hopes along with his face. The grunt crumpled backward. Blood pouring from his nose and mouth instantly lights out. Jin Young towered over the carnage, a lone titan surrounded by a sea of unconscious bodies. Meanwhile, the big boss watched from the comfort of his luxury limo, safe and sound. He scowled at a stack of intel, looking totally unimpressed. Pushing up his glasses, the boss let out a huff. Sneering, coffin. Yeah, right. The only thing they're burying is my patience. Can't trust anyone to do a simple job these days. A suit-clad lackey stepped out of the car, forced to face the human tank that was Ha-jin Young. He nervously fixed his tie, stuttering out sorries, shaking like a leaf under the pressure of Jin Young's killer aura. With Jin Young staring daggers at him, the glasses guy tried to claim this was all just a huge misunderstanding. He frantically whipped out a business card flexing the title Lieutenant Colonel Jang Song-ho to try and pull rank. Chief Jang bowed deep, spinning a fake sob story about being the dead guy's old boss, claiming he just wanted to pay respects and offer some sympathy to the family. Jin Young squinted his face, screaming, "Do I look like I was born yesterday?" The beast ignored him, glancing up the stairs where the chief mourner waited. Chief Jang just kept yapping in the background. The mourner gave a subtle nod, green light. Jin Young waved his hand, letting the prey walk right into the trap. The guy thanked him way too fast and scrambled inside. In the funeral hall, Chief Jang grabbed an incense stick, getting ready for the show. He stood in front of the portrait of Yisu, the man he was sure he'd deleted. Jang lit the incense, whispering to himself, "Yisu, are you actually toast?" His mind started playing 4D chess, locking on to Baek Do-gyung. As the mourner went through the motions, he suddenly stood up, eyes piercing through the smoke. Chief Jang was sweating, trying to figure out how much the Baek family actually knew. Cut 2. Yisu and Baek Do-gyung chilling on the steps, plotting their next move. Baek cursed, double-checking with Yisu. So that backstabbing snake who caused this whole disaster is Chief Jang. The Tyson boss smirked pure arrogance, blowing a cloud of smoke. "What's the play? Want me to serve his head on a silver platter?" Yisu kept it, icy eyes locked in. "I don't think you need to get your hands dirty." Baek looked annoyed. "So what then? We just let him feast and high-five him on the way out," Yisu replied coldly. No, his hunter eyes had found the target. Chief Jang. Yisu vowed internally to personally wreck the traitor. Flash forward to the mourner. Resolute and ready. The mourner whipped out a jagged dagger, calling out the target. "Hey, Chief Jang," spun around clueless that he was about to get served. The air got heavy with killing intent. The mourner got right in his face. "Let's have a little chat, you fake excuse for a human being." He thrust the blade right at Chief Jang's nose, the steel reflecting the fear in Jang's eyes. "Look familiar. We found this on my brother," the mourner growled. "Choose your next words carefully, or the next thing I pull out will be from your corpse." The blade dug into his neck. Then came the deadly question. Who clipped him? Chief Jang broke into a cold sweat, brain scrambling. Who killed him? Is he actually dead? The old fox started spinning a tale about sacrificing for the greater good, thinking to himself that, if he could just con this thug, he'd be home free. "Shut your mouth." The mourner wasn't buying it, swinging a massive haymaker right into Chief Jang's grill. Jang took the full force of the blow, blood spraying everywhere. He hit the deck, sprawling out his ears, ringing with a sarcastic taunt. "You talk too much, old man." The mourner lunged, patience officially at 0. "I said, who killed my brother, you scumbag?" He grabbed Jang by the hair, ready for round 2 of the interrogation. Suddenly, someone cut in. Sua, the assistant, stepped up and blocked the mourner's hand. Right on cue, Ha-jin Young appeared, hoisting Chief Jang up by the collar. "Mr. Jang, time for you to bounce." The mourner roared as his punching bag was dragged away. "Get back here, you son of a bee." Hauled out like a sack of potatoes, Chief Jang could only grind his teeth and swallow the shame. Sudden cut. Baek Do-gyung was screaming that exact line, face twisted in fury. "I'm asking who killed my brother, you piece of trash." Turns out the whole thing was just a rehearsal. Sua was fixing Baek Do-gyung's posture, while Yisu stared blankly, totally lost, asking, what exactly are you guys doing?" Do-gyung Baek hits him with a slow clap, hyping Isu's funeral performance as straight-up Oscar bait, but Isu just brushes off the compliment like dirt on his shoulder. Convinced this hideout is just a pit stop before their grand return, Do-gyung flexes his confidence, announcing that, if their enemies are dumb enough to roll up on the TSFG gates, he'll welcome them with a loaded grin and open arms. Isu grabs his gear, eyes locked on the exit. "I can't rot in your penthouse forever." He turns away, his voice dropping to sub-zero temperatures, dropping the bombshell that his meltdown at the funeral wasn't just for show. Isu's gaze sharpens into a blade leaking pure killing intent. In that split second, I wanted him dead. For real. Dogyong's playful vibe vanishes, replaced by a frown. So what's the play out there? Gonna challenge the whole underworld to a 1v1. Dogyong grips his little brother's shoulder, trying to talk some sense into him. Look, I get the rage, but the deed is done. You're breathing, Isu. Get that. Isu stares, daggers right back, his tone dripping with defiance. You just want me tucked under your wing playing mobster dress-up, don't you? Dogyong goes quiet, his expression stone cold against the sarcasm. His grip on Isu's shoulder tightens like a vice, and he keeps it 100. You damn right, little bro. Let's play gangster. We're both already drowning in blood. Ever since we flatlined Wam. Isu smacks his brother's hand away, a hard physical no. Isu pivots and storms off, leaving Dogyong shouting his name into empty air. The older Baek massages his temples, grumbling about the family's stubbornness, before barking an order to Jin Unga. Grab the squad. Tail him. That kid is a walking disaster waiting to happen. Night swallows the city, and Isu, hood up, stands like a ghost at a dead silent intersection. Screech tires burn rubber. Isu yanks his hood tighter, a dark smirk curbing his lips, as he clocks the tail. Jinunga steps out holding a box and blocking the path like a human wall. Isu tilts his head, voice bored. You planning to stalk me until the end of time? Jin Unga fires back with a single syllable. Eyes deadlocked. Yes. Behind him, a convoy of black sedans and thugs stretches out like a dark snake, and Unga doubles down. Boss's orders. But lurking in the shadows, a mysterious figure in a pale hoodie, gripping a blade, watches the standoff in total silence. Meanwhile, at an abandoned airstrip, Chief Jang stares down the runway, barking into his phone. Keep eyes on him. He ends the call. But his mind is haunted by a specific face. A flashback hits him, a young soldier screaming in agony. Jang thinks bitterly, that look. It's like he knows I had a hand in Isu's death. Dogyong Baek definitely suspects something. Before he can spiral, a shadow manifests behind him, with a warning cold enough to freeze hell. Zip it. Don't twitch. A woman's hand clamps on his shoulder, whispering a nightmare into his ear. Unless you want your daughter to end up in a body bag. Chief Jang turns to stone, his phone clattering to the tarmac. He starts stammering, desperate. What do you want? Name it. Just don't touch my girl. The hand snaps up to grab his chin, voice razor sharp. What do I want? Memories crash into him, a mental snapshot of his little girl piggybacking on him, squealing happily. That's my daddy. In the memory, they had just reunited at the airport, his daughter whining about the brutal, never-ending flight. Jang had squeezed her tight, promising first-class treatment next time. She was so proud of her spook father, while he just smiled, playing the humble card. He swore he was just a paper pusher who couldn't throw a punch to save his life. Cut to now. Dogyong Baek crumples an empty cigarette pack in his fist. He tells Sua he's making a store run, but she shuts that down instantly. She reminds him, Jinunga took the heavy hitters to babysit Isu, meaning Dogyong walking out solo is a suicide mission. Dogyong smirks, looking annoyed but amused. Oh, so I need a babysitter too. A wicked idea lights up his eyes. Then how about we do this? The golden doors of the elevator glide open on the 57th floor. Dogyong Baek struts out, arm in arm, with Sua flanked by two hulking bodyguards. He leans into Sua's blushing ear, whispering teasingly, mind if we make a pit stop for smokes? She can only muster a shy, do whatever you want. Dogyong keeps the playful banter going, then turns to the bodyguard on his left. You meet the lady yet? Say hi. Suddenly, Dogyong's expression drops to absolute zero. He keeps up the charade for a second, draping an arm around the guard while hyping up Sua. Ages like fine wine, doesn't she? Then the vibe shifts. His voice cuts like glass. Nobody in my crew calls her ma'am. Who sent you? The buzz-cut assassin starts sweating bullets, trying to feign ignorance. I don't get what you're whoosh. Mask off. The assassin rips out a knife and lunges, aiming to skewer Dogyong Baek. Dogyong moves like lightning, leaning back to dodge the steel and muttering, well, look at that. The assassin resets his stance, blade flashing in the light. Dogyong casually turns to Sua. Got spares? I think I left my toys upstairs. The two assassins brace for combat as Sua replies, yes. Check the skirt, she whispers. Smooth as silk, Dogyong slides a hand under Sue's hem and snags the hidden dagger strapped to her thigh. The buzz-cut assassin screams and rushes in. Wham! Dogyong tanks the stab on his forearm like it's a mosquito bite. 0 damage. He weaves past a lethal swipe, grinning like he's having fun. Damn, you boys came strapped with the good stuff, huh? Buzzcut backpedals, realizing he's out of his depth. Dogyong snaps a counterslash, but the steel bounces off a Kevlar vest. Useless. He pivots, driving a massive elbow into the guy's ribs. Crunch, but the second goon swings a machete at Sue. Dogyong bellows, Sue move. She catches the death blow on her own blade. Clang, but Dogyong is distracted. and Buzzcut buries a shank deep into his shoulder. Blood flows, but Doogyong looks bored. You good? He asks her. Crazy. He grins through the pain. Been a minute since I felt cold steel. They really want you dead, huh? The metal grinds against his bone. Sue can't hold out forever. Time to wrap this up. He rips the blade out of his own flesh, sick, and slices open the attacker's arm in one fluid motion. Desperate Buzzcut lunges for Sue to break the trap. Whoosh, Doogyong spins like a tornado, using the guy's own bloodied weapon to parry the strike. Metal screams against metal. Sparks fly everywhere. The impact launches the knife across the room. The first goon hits the deck, scrambling for his lost blade. Not happening. Sue launches a spin kick, punting the weapon out of range. Nice. Buzzcut sees an opening at Doogyong's back. Goes for the cheap shot. Doogyong doesn't even turn around. He just flicks his wrist backward knife throw. God tier skill. The guy tries to block, but he's too slow. Doogyong is instantly in his face, catching the stab with one hand and yanking the assassin off balance with the other. Both wrists locked down. Total shutdown. Doogyong leans in, voice like gravel. Shirt ripped to show the dragon tattoo blazing on his chest. I'm wide open, come get some. The assassin literally shakes in fear. Ding doors slide open. Two guards outside stare at the bloodbath inside. Total freeze frame. Doogyong strolls out, kicking a limp body into the hall. You let this trash in my elevator. He waves off Sue's worry like it's nothing. Turns to a guard. Yo, give me a smoke. Can't catch a break today. The guard nods, reaching into his pocket for the pack, and drives a blade straight into Doogyong's gut. Sue gasps, paralyzed. Doogyong clamps his hand over the traitor's face, eyes dead cold. I said a cigarette, not a skylight in my stomach. You deaf. The traitor screams as Doogyong crushes his jaw with raw strength. Here's a big one for you, Mr. Bake. No mercy. He swings the guy like a rag doll, hurling him at a white-haired figure standing in the elevator. White hair sidesteps smoothly, flipping a curved karambit in the air, catching it without looking. Pro level. Doogyong ignores the hole in his gut. Fast little rabbit. Hey, forget the smoke, give me your blade. He takes the knife. Sue is watching, so make me look cool. Now get out. He shoves Sue and the guard into the hall. Cold command. And don't open the door for strangers. Clang. The steel doors seal them. Dual wielding now. Chest tattoo exposed. All right, fair fight, Doogyong says. Don't cry about it later. This is Ghost HID Special Ops Unit. A literal phantom. Ghost smirks. You always talk this much, Doogyong laughs. Oh, you know my name. So you the one who clipped my brother. Inside he's fading. Wounds deep. Gotta speedrun this fight. Wish I had the pleasure, Ghost quips, swatting Doogyong's blade aside. Ghost blurs forward. Metal crashes against metal. Sparks shower down. Isu Bake. Is he actually dead? Doogyong sneers. You joking? Your cheapskate boss didn't even send flowers. They lock arms, muscles straining. Ghost growls. Let me ask again. A blade presses into Doogyong's neck. Where is Isu? Doogyong just stares him down. You really haven't been listening, have you? Cutscene. Jin Eung-ha hits the streets with a hooded mystery man. Nightfall. Jin Eung-ga threw a look over his shoulder. That hooded creeper had peeled off, heading a different way. From the shadows, the white-hooded stalker scoped the scene, watching Jin Eung-ga snatch a dude up by the collar and drag him indoors. But the vibe felt off. The stalker whipped around fast. Whoosh! A steel fist launched from the void, connecting straight with his face. Zero reaction time. Thwack! A monster haymaker sent the hood guy flying like a kite in a hurricane. He gripped his throbbing arm, brain short-circuiting. What the hell, is he human? Did my arm just snap? Isu stepped up. Icy glare fixed on the guy sprawled on the pavement. Chief Jang sent you, the man chuckled, yanking off the hood. Haha, knew it. The legendary Agent Bake doesn't go down that easy. Isu froze. That voice. It stopped him cold. Wait, is that you? The dude clutching his shattered arm was none other than Zion, his partner, who was supposed to be 6 feet under, grinning ear to ear. Long time no see, Commander. Jin Eung-ga looked confused, so Zion snitched immediately. Yeah, that's right. Look at this gorilla. Look what he did to me. Isu squeezed Zion's shoulder, voice heavy with regret. I'm sorry, Zion. Should have been there with you. Head hung low, guilt tripping hard. Thought I was the only survivor. Zion cut him off, gaze locked in. Nah, we're both survivors. He winked. So next time, you owe me a 5-star dinner. Got it. Zion shuddered at his own cheesiness, waving his hands wildly, while Isu checked the damage. Meanwhile, Jin Eung-ga was on a call. Zion kept whining about the wild gorilla until he caught Isu's vibe shifting as he looked toward Jin Eung-ga. Jin's face crashed as he listened to the phone signaling a major problem. Scene switch. Fresh crimson splashed over Doogyong Bake's chest ink inside the elevator. Doogyong, dual-wielding blades lunged at Ghost like a feral beast. Clang steel kissed steel, sparks flying. As they locked eyes inches apart, Doogyong barely slipped a fatal jab, but took a nasty graze to the shoulder. drawing blood. Metal screamed as they traded strikes at breakneck speed. Doogyong grit, his teeth bleeding out but his eyes were pure venom. Growling through the haze, gotta end this, now. Ghost smirked, vision swimming, but he clocked his opponent. Doogyong Baek, guess you really are his brother, the long-haired fighter said. Nothing thrusting a lethal stab, but Ghost dodged by a pixel. Clang, the ring of metal, pierced the cramped elevator air. Ghost choked up on his corded knife, nodding. Okay, respect. He flashed his karambit eyes predatory. Not bad for a low-tier criminal. Ghost slashed, clipping the shoulder. More fresh red sprayed the walls. Clank. The long-haired man's blade hit the deck. Ghost backed off, spinning his karambit with pro skill, and growled one last time. Where is he? The long-haired guy ignored him, grabbing his own ponytail. Mocking. Bet your squad always called you the dullest knife in the drawer. Huh. Slash. He sliced his own hair off. Ghost watched, stunned, as the guy held up the severed lock, asking with zero chill. Need another hint? Short hair, cocky grin. He announced, I am Isu. You moron. Ghost froze, pupils shrinking to pinpricks. What? No way. Isu smirked as Ghost panic lunged, voice dripping with disdain. Little slow on the uptake. Clang. Isu parried effortlessly. The power gap undeniable. Ghost roared in total denial. Agent Baek isn't soft like you. Die trash. He swung the karambit with everything he had going for the kill. Isu walled the attack, whispering, yeah, that's been bugging me. Slash. A brutal reverse cut carving deep into Ghost. The assassin crumbled into a puddle of crimson, face twisted in agony. Isu just stared down, cold as ice. Come on up. Looming over the battered, Ghost voice flat. We ain't got all day. Ghost snapped, screaming. You scum. He launched a desperate attack. Clang. Isu caught his wrist like it was a toy. Slash. Another clean slice. Isu tossed Ghost aside before he could blink. Ghost went pale, whispering. Impossible. Isu raised the blade, inspecting it. Think he held it like this. Isu's eyes glowed red. That murderous grin was back. Ghost froze, the realization hitting him like a truck. That face. It's really Isu. No freaking way. With a desperate roar, Ghost swung his blade wild. Clang. Metal screamed against metal. Isu didn't just block. He countered, locking his grip instantly around Ghost's knife handle. Like this, again, the karambit spun in Isu's palm like a fidget spinner from hell. He caught it suddenly, dual-wielding with terrifying grace. Ghost's eyes popped. Snap. Isu shattered the guy's arm without even blinking, muttering that same chilling word. Again. Zero cooldown. Isu's blade flashed, painting a gruesome red streak across Ghost's chest. The force launched Ghost backward, his karambit flying from a hand that was now pulp. Pure terror washed over his face. He is, Ghost stammered. Isu loomed over him, torn shirt exposing the tattoo. That aura, it was identical to the legend. There was no denying it now. Isu's bloodshot eyes glowed with a lethal hunger. The torture session. It was just getting started. Broken and beaten Ghost, Crab walked backward, weapon forgotten, voice shaking. Stay back, get away from me. Isu pressed the cold steel against his neck. Then a whisper that didn't sound like him at all. See, Isu, told you to just stick by my side. Ghost let out one final gut-wrenching scream before the blade severed his lifeline. Isu stood up over the fresh corpse, ice cold. Another top-tier assassin officially deleted. Ghost's face gave one last twitch before the light faded completely. Game over. Blood sprayed across the glass, signing off on this brutal hunt. Cutscene. Another white-haired killer slumped over a victim, voice trembling as he called out for Isu. He stumbled, eyes darting to a black car screeching toward him. The door flew open. Isu, hoodie up, burst out. Screaming his brother's name, Dogyong, Isu took off like a bullet toward the motionless figure, lying in a pool of crimson. Isu scooped up his dying brother, begging, pleading with the universe not to take him. Meanwhile, the white-haired killer clawed his way out. He muttered Isu's name before cracking into insane, maniacal laughter. He whipped out a notebook. Shaking hands smeared with blood, he flipped the pages. Baek. Isu. Baek. He practically painted the paper red. The psycho shrieked in sick vic. I killed you, Isu! Roared in agony, tears flowing as he clutched his brother, who might be clocking out for good. Meanwhile, in a luxe penthouse, Jin Eung-ha and his female subordinate were locked in a high-tension standoff. She dropped the bomb. Other factions smell blood in the water since Baek vanished. She urged Jin Eung-ha to seize the throne and stabilize the chaos. Jin Eung-ha shot up, slamming it down. Tyson without Mr. Baek isn't Tyson, she snapped back, challenging him, asking if he planned to watch the empire burn or if he was secretly wishing for the collapse. Jin Eung-ha, eyes glistening with tears, swore that no one in Taesan could fill Baek's shoes. Flash forward to now, Isu decked out in a sharp black suit radiating pure murder energy. Zion scrambled behind him, breathless. He grabbed Isu, demanding to know where he thought he was going solo. Looking like that, Isu's expression was absolute zero. He deduced Dogyong's injuries came from a pro, someone highly trained. This wasn't an accident. It was a blood debt, and he was here to collect. Isu ran the numbers, it had to be them. Chief Jiang's crew. A black ops unit just like his own. Zion gripped Isu tight. I get it, man, but what's the plan? You gonna take on Chief Jiang and your brother's killer alone? Isu grit his teeth, tears of hate rolling down, but his eyes, they were burning. I'll find them, and I'll rip them apart. Exactly like they did to us. Scene switch. Pangyo Tech Valley. Rooftop of a skyscraper. A squad in black suits stood around. A guy was peeling a potato with a combat knife, looking bored out of his mind. I hate this place. Meet Taewon Kim, CEO of T1 ICT. He kept whining about the lack of decent food. Taewon Kim stood up, sighing that Pangyo was just a hive of office drones in cheap suits. No way to make real money here. He strolled to the edge, dropping truth bombs. Only the big dogs have a spot in Seoul, and he wanted his chair on the council of the 5 largest organizations. Taewon Kim leaned over the railing. Knife still in hand, he said he was itching for some violence. He peered down at a guy dangling over the edge, trussed up and hanging by a thread. Heard you started a fun rumor. Real or nah, Taewon feigned cutting the rope. The guy, terrified out of his mind, screamed that he remembered. He spilled his guts instantly. Tyson. I heard Taeson got hit. A buddy in Seoul said they clashed with some weird faction. And Tyson's totally offline operation ceased. He added that the boss, Do-gyung Baek, was MIA. Taewon Kim just listened, stone-faced. Is that intel solid? He raised the knife again. He teased, snapping the rope, sending the guy into a panic attack. The subordinate shrieked that it was 100% confirmed because Do-gyung Baek hadn't even shown face at the council meetings. Kim Taewon heard enough. With ice in his veins, he muttered a single word, understood, and severed the rope without hesitation. As his underling plummeted screaming into the void, Taewon didn't even blink. He barked at his crew, spread the word. Then, purely for the disrespect, he took a crunchy bite out of a raw potato, a twisted grin spreading across his face. Because today, we eat Taesong alive. But plot twist, the fall didn't kill the guy. He slammed onto a hidden level below, gasping for air, brain scrambling. Wait, there's a secret basement down here. Cut to Yisu. He stepped into the eerie silence of the Mahjong livestock market solo. Classic tactic, the best hiding spots are always right in front of your face. He ghosted through the entrance, gaze frosty. Classic Chief Jiang, he muttered. He clocked the security immediately. These guards moved exactly how the old man trained them, robotic and efficient. A pistol abandoned on a butcher's scale. Yisu gripped his blade, knuckles white. He knew the stakes. One slip up here meant game over. Freeze. A noise echoed from the shadows. Inside, absolute carnage. Bodies stacked like cordwood, a total war zone. And a massive bald fighter gasping his final breaths locked eyes with him. Yisu, no way, you're still kicking. The survivor was a mess of wounds, wheezing hard. Chill with the blade, bro. I'm punching my ticket to the afterlife anyway. Yisu's voice was dead flat. Who did this? The answer dripped with bitterness. Take a wild guess. Chief Jiang. Figures. The dying man's rage flared up, recalling the nightmare. That scumbag ordered us to hold the line, then turned us into Swiss cheese. Meanwhile, Zion was scouting a different sector, his voice crackling over the comms. I'm picking up chatter. Zion kicked open a door in a dusty hallway. Bad news. Every single safe house has been wiped. Inside, it was the same horror show. Blood everywhere. Zion shook his head, muttering. Bet, the whole map looks like this hellhole. Back in the market, the dying vet grabbed Yisu's shirt. Yisu, listen close. Yisu tried to shut him down. Save your breath. But the guy hacked up blood, desperate to warn him about Jiang's power level. He's a monster. You can't solo him. You gotta bail, man. Just survive. With a final desperate gasp, run. He went limp on Yisu's shoulder. Gone. Yisu held the weight, eyes burning with a dark, lethal focus. As he thought about this pathetic excuse for a syndicate, a skyscraper loomed in his mind. Yisu sneered. You call this a gang? Cut to Kim Taewon standing atop a mountain of beaten Taesong goons. He looked bored out of his mind. Honestly, I expected way more. You guys brag about being one of the big 4. He drilled his gaze into the last man standing, dripping with sarcasm. Is Taesong really this soft? Enter Ha Jin-wol, the unwavering yaksha. He was holding 2 guys up by their necks like they were rag dolls. Surrounded by bodies he'd already folded, Jin-wol's eyes glowed with beast-like intensity. He stared the invader down. Fourth, Jin-wol tossed a soldier aside like yesterday's trash. I don't know what intel you got, but you're just the 4th group of losers to try me this week. Taewon froze. The disrespect. Called a thug. Oh, he was triggered. Taewon whipped out a shiny blade, snarling, and here I was, gonna play nice. Jin-wol didn't even blink at the steel. Guess I gotta handle this gangster style. The giant let out a heavy sigh, tilting his head back. Man, I'm getting sick of this level. Knuckles cracked like gunshots. Do me a favor, Jin-wol taunted the whole mob. Just rush me all at once. Save me some time. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Yisu stepped into the fray, casually swatting two of Taewon's goons aside and commanding move. The thugs stared at this solo walker, totally confused. Whispers broke out. Who's this rando Taeshang crew? Is he suicidal? Jinwoo squinted at the newcomer, voice rumbling. What do you want, Bak? Yisu didn't waste a second. Zero emotion. I need an army to avenge my brother. I can't run this raid solo. His eyes flashed red, pure murder intent. And then he dropped the bomb. So I'm taking over Taesong. Hand it over. The whole room went dead silent. Taewon lost it. He pointed his blade at Yisu, screaming, hand it over, you tripping. He lunged, face twisted in rage. Get in line, kid, I'm on a schedule. But before he could finish that thought, boom. Yisu connected a savage uppercut to his jaw. In a blur, he snatched the knife midair. Taewon stumbled back stunned, clutching his busted lip, brain rebooting. What just happened? Yisu stood there, testing the stolen blade's weight, his glare sharp enough to cut glass. And for a split second behind him, the ghost of Baek Dok-young loomed with bloodshot eyes. Taesong's men started freaking out. Baek Dok-young, no way. Isn't he dead? What is this? Jinwoo stared, mind racing. A complicated look crossed his face. As the king returned, Taewon stood there, utterly humiliated. Taewon Kim is losing his mind, screaming at his crew. Why are y'all freezing up? We outnumber them, stupid. Wipe them out. Now, the order drops, and Taewon's goons roar. Get him. Blades out, they rush Yisu. But he just glides through the chaos. Smooth dodge, quick slash. One guy drops, clutching his neck. Yisu spins like a buzzsaw, and three more scrubs hit the floor instantly. The last guy is just standing there, shook. Are you kidding me? Taewon is absolutely triggered, face twisted in rage. Don't just stare. Rush him, he yells, trying to flex. After today, Tyson is history. His minions charge with everything they've got, but Isu's eyes, pure ice, total killer instinct, cold as the grave. Whoosh, Isu moves like a glitch in the Matrix, painting the floor red as he drops a few more bodies. Taewon is furious, cursing his own team. You useless trash, damn it. Hand me a blade. One goon doesn't even have time to process the command before. He takes steel straight to the throat. Taewon snatches a knife himself and dives in screaming, Dogyong Baek, you scumbag, you think you're untouchable. Clang Isu deflects Taewon's strike with a lazy flick of his wrist. Thump. Another knife slams into the floor, inches from Taewon's toes. A warning shot. The color drains right out of Taewon's face. Sweating buckets, shaking like a leaf, he stammers Dogyong's name in pure panic. Isu towers over him like a deity. Standing there, blocking the Tyson logo, his aura is suffocating. Taewon is scared out of his mind. He screams, fall back, retreat to Pangyo, go. Meanwhile, Jin Eunha's boys finally recognize the vibe. Their eyes light up. Director Baek is back. A loyalist chokes up. We thought Taizan was cooked without Dogyong, but Mr. Baek is here to save us. The hype is real. Isu turns to the giant Jin Eunha and drops the temperature. Taizan, do you want it? Isu's eyes are calculating. Then there's only one path. Cut to the suits. Sungmin Lee, decked out in white at a high-stakes meet, drops a number 1 month. That's how long Dogyong Baek has been MIA. At the council table, Taehyung Ryu in the red jacket is heated. He waves a hand dismissively. He thinks this council is a joke. We need to boot that clown out. Cha Yohwa, the boss lady with the ink, crosses her legs and casually spills the tea. I heard something interesting. Word on the street is, Dogyong is dead. She raises a glass, her tone dripping with secrets. And if that's true, Hee Sung-han, the blonde with glasses, smirks. Then Tyson is done for. Back to Isu. Jin Eunha stands his ground. Tyson belongs to Mr. Dogyong Baek. Isu flinches. Tattoo on full display, he lays down the law. If you want to claim Taizan, there's only one way. Meanwhile, the vultures at the Seoul Council are ready to feast on Taizan's corpse. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the room. Isu smirks from the doorway. Did y'all miss me? Flashback to the plan, Isu sitting between Jin Eunha and Sion receiving the ultimate mission. You have to become Dogyong Baek. Isu grips the dagger, the prop for his new role. The female exec coaches him on the details. Thumb on the hilt, press it straight down. That grip maximizes impact. She stares him down, deadly serious. Listen, there are people with hawk eyes who will spot a fake if you slip up. You have to be flawless, especially in front of the council. A map of Seoul pops up on screen. It's marked with the heavy hitters of the underworld. The council is the big leagues, the most dangerous crime lords in Seoul. On the surface, it's a truce. But really, it's a pit of wolves waiting to eat each other. Isu stands with his squad. That's exactly why I'm crashing their party as Tyson's rep. The exec looks worried. Is this really the play? Why keep the charade going? To protect Tyson, Isu raises the knife, eyes sharp. Because I need Tyson. He locks eyes with his crew. I need a weapon for revenge. A squad, deadlier and stronger than anything else out there. Isu's eyes burn with bloodlust. He drops the endgame plan. So I have no choice. I'm taking control of Tyson and the council. Night falls on a sketchy construction site in Susok district. Something bad is brewing. In the shadows of the site, a heavy hitter sits in a chair pointing out. Take a look at this. Must be a real mudfest out here, huh? The silhouette stepping into the light was none other than Wonho Cho, head of Seoul PD, dripping with sarcastic praise for Chief Jong. You really outdid yourself this time, Jong. Your cleanup crew leaves absolutely zero crumbs. Jong kept his head low, playing the humble card. Couldn't have pulled it off without your backup, sir. But Wonho waved off the modesty like a bad smell. Nah, take the W. This is all you. Wonho confirmed that Jong had personally neutralized every single high-risk asset and buried them deep enough to never see daylight again. Clap, clap, clap. Wonho framed it as just a tiny sacrifice for the greater good, spouting that classic motto about serving in the dark to protect the light. Jong shrugged, explaining the politicians just saw the northern infiltration units as heavy baggage. Just ancient relics, sir. I'm simply the janitor taking out the trash per their request. Suddenly, Wonho's hand clamped down on Jong's shoulder. The vibe shifted 180 degrees instantly. But here's the thing I'm not getting. His voice dropped. Why exactly did you drag me into your drama? Is it seriously that hard to delete a few overhyped brats? Wonho started jabbing a finger directly into Jong's chest, snarling like a wild dog. Why are you a walking disaster zone? You trying to tank my career along with yours? Jong kept his head bowed, playing the submissive role. But Wonho kept pressing the attack, throwing it in his face that Jong was the one begging for help to take out Do-gyung Baek and the entire Taehyun family line. That's when Jong's aura went sub-zero. He snapped his head up, locking eyes with his boss, and dropped the honorifics. Listen here, Wonho. The chief froze, stunned as Jong snatched him by the necktie. The power dynamic just flipped. Jong flashed a gold badge, making it crystal clear. You're just a puppet in a suit, Wonho. What we actually need is the authority of the executive branch, not your empty head. He ripped Wonho's badge off and tossed it into the dirt, scoffing. Trust me, the line of people dying to sit in the chief's chair is miles long. Instantly, one of Wonho's goons stepped up and jacked Jong up by the collar, neck veins popping. Watch your mouth, buddy. The scarred enforcer tightened his grip, growling a lethal warning. The chief of police ain't your drinking buddy. Roger that. Cho Wonho smirked, giving his lackey props for the speed, but then pivoted to Jang. Why toss the badge, though? Seemed dramatic. Whoosh. Out of nowhere, Cho unleashed a lightning-fast leg sweep, completely wiping out the subordinate, who had just defended him. Thud, the loyal henchman ate the floor face first, brain completely short-circuited by the betrayal. Crunch zero explanation given. Cho Wonho simply slammed his heel into the guy's skull. Pure, unadulterated dominance. But then Chief Cho's face drained of color, horrified by his own reflex. Click. The cold steel of a pistol barrel dug into Cho's temple, making the old man screech like a banshee. Chief Jang's voice dropped to a demonic growl. Want to join him in the dirt, old man? The police chief was stammering, fighting for his life. Jang shoved the muzzle into Cho's cheek. I bury my own soldiers, without blinking. You think I care about your little council? That's trash to me. Gun in his face, Cho turned a sickly shade of green. Desperate, gripping Jang's hand. I'll fix it. I'll handle the council, I swear. He even spilled that he had an inside contact. Jang pulled the piece back. Clean this mess. Thoroughly, he ordered. Leave zero traces. Cho whimpered like a kicked puppy. Yes, Chief Sir. Jang walked away, eyes locked on nothingness. Announcing his next move, he was going straight for Baek Do-young. Cut to black. Scene shift. A high-roller banquet for the Underworld, packed with the scariest heavy hitters in Seoul. Ryu Tae-hyung, boss of the Joryong gang, puffed a dart, sneering. Baek Do-young, please. He's probably rotting in a ditch somewhere. Ryu wasn't done flexing for the room, insisting that Baek wasn't even in their league. Han Hee-sung, the slick CEO of HHS Entertainment, waved it off. His crew said he's on a long business trip. Why are you so salty, Ryu? Bam! Ryu slammed the table. That filthy mutt gets the Hanam District gold mine, he snarled, while small fry like him die in the streets and nobody lights a stick of incense. The femme fatale, Cha Yuwa, chairwoman of Chonung Trading, flashed a dangerous smile. Careful with that tone, Ryu. Almost sounds like you're the one who put the hit out on him. Ryu ran hands through his hair, cursing, cornered by the vixen again. Lee Sung-min, leader of the Ilha Capital gang, tried to play peacemaker. Guys, we're here to squash beefs, not start new ones. Ryu crushed his cigarette, looking at Lee like he was something he stepped in. Listen, Lee. Ryu leaned in, voice dripping with venom. Keep yapping, and things get ugly. Your rinky-dink pawnshop doesn't earn you a voice at this table. Lee tried to name-drop the council's founder to save face, but got cut off. Yo, Lee, pass the soy sauce. It was Han Hee-sung, lazily tapping his plate with chopsticks. Too far for me to reach. Be a doll and fetch it. Treating a gang leader like a waiter. Ryu Tae-young jumped back in, calling Lee a monkey, claiming the errand boy life was the only thing he was good for. Suddenly the door swung open. Zion stepped in. Is this the spot? While Ryu was still mid-rant, telling Lee to be grateful for a seat, Zion scanned the room. totally unimpressed. Man, this vibe is dead. He turned to the hallway. Boss this way, muttering about some club addict. Isu, rocking the Baekdo Young persona, strode in with Zion, the aura, absolutely suffocating. Ryu Han Cha Li, every single jaw hit the floor. The ghost had returned. Flashback. Isu in the car, speed reading the dossiers on these monsters. Dangerous crowd, he noted. The intel guy stressed that personal dynamics were the key weapon here. Isu nodded. Got the gist. The rest, he'd wing it Baekdo Young style. Back to reality. Isu smirked, clapping back at Zion. Club addict, you talking about me, buddy. Look who's talking. Cha Yuhua broke the silence, eyeing the fresh cut. New hair Isu hit her with the smooth operator charm. Hope you like the view. He walked straight up to Ryu Taeyong. Still breathing, huh? He casually snatched the chopsticks right out of Ryu's hand. You won't be needing these. Ryu was fuming, muttering curses, while Han and Cha just watched the show, and poor Lee tried to weakly intervene. Isu tossed the chopsticks onto the table. Oh, did everyone miss me? The sarcasm was dripping. My bad. Forgot to pick up souvenirs. Han Hee-sung didn't laugh. He went for the jugular, bringing up the brother's obituary. Your brother is dead, and you've been ghosting us. That's a little suspicious, don't you think, Cha Yuhua? The room was thick with tension as they grilled him about the blades drawn at the funeral. Taeyong Ryu barked out, demanding answers. Isu didn't flinch, slowly placing his cup down, and announced he'd shut down every single one of their doubts with just one sentence. Haesung Han decided to play with fire, dropping the ultimate question, given the mess Dokyoung Baek was in. Was he even fit to keep his seat on the council? Isu stood up, his voice dripping with venomous sarcasm. If you guys knew how stressed I was, maybe you could have shown some love, sent flowers, a card, anything. The vibe shifted instantly. He flashed a blade, eyes going dead cold. But here's the real issue. Slam. Isu buried the knife deep into the mahogany table, the wood cracking under the force, making the whole room jump. He bared his teeth, staring them down like prey. What gives bottom feeders like you the right to question Tyson's throne? And honestly, do you jokers even have the brains to make that call? Haesung Han, face tight with fear, stammered out Mr. Baek. Are you saying you're declaring war on all of us? Isu didn't even glance back, cutting him off cold. Simply put, this is Tayson's move. His eyes veined with red locked onto them. From this second on, Tayson is ghosting these meetings. You clowns can figure it out amongst yourselves. Black limo tore down the night highway, leaving the stunned council in the dust. In the back, Zion was digging through some gear, while Isu was lost in his own headspace. The driver checked the rear view, voice tight. The council is officially hostile now. What's the play, boss? Isu stared out the window, watching the city blur into streaks of neon light. Whoosh! Out of nowhere, another ride came screaming in, trying to run Isu off the road. The driver's eyes went wide, and he yanked the wheel to dodge the head-on crash. SKRRT tires screamed against the asphalt as the cars drifted, missing each other by inches. Zion shouted, losing his cool. What, the actual? Isu's face was stone as 3 black sedans boxed them in, sealing off every exit on the dark strip. Doors flew open and the air got heavy. Taehyung Ryu, the guy in the loud red jacket, swaggered out, shouting, Yo, Dokyoung Baek. He strutted over, mocking. You talk big game, kid. He slipped on brass knuckles, veins popping, ready for violence. And I'm thinking it's time to humble you. Taehyung Ryu pressed his face right up to Isu's glass, eyes burning with pure provocation. Crash. A massive haymaker slammed into the bulletproof window, fracturing it into a spiderweb of cracks. Inside, Isu sat frozen like a statue, staring coldly at the fist, pressed against the ruined glass, completely unbothered. The red jacket boss leaned in closer, through the damaged voice, snarling, So, do yourself a favor and get lost. From the back seat, Zion panicked and slipped up, yelling Commander before quickly fixing it to, Sir CEO. Amidst the chaos, Zion started messing with the side mirrors, making Ali the driver yell in frustration. Sir, I'm kinda trying to drive here. Ali, gripping the wheel, nervously asked Isu if starting a war with the whole council was really the move. Isu just watched the chaos in the mirror calmly. He stated with zero doubt that they would all fall in line eventually. But first we gotta sniff out the rat hiding in the council. Zion looked confused about the rat comment, and Ali was just as lost on how Isu knew. Isu broke it down with cold logic, the council knowing about the funeral, normal. Dokyoung announced that. But the bloodbath with the knives, that was strictly internal Tyson business. That intel doesn't just leak. Alongside a funeral invite, Zion's eyes went wide, a cold sweat hitting him as he clocked Isu's genius. Oh snap, why didn't I catch? But Ali tightened his grip on the wheel, realizing someone sitting at that table knew exactly what went down that night. Isu announced he'd be ghosting the meetings, until the traitor was exposed, claiming he wouldn't even have to hunt for them. He smirked. I kicked the hornet's nest. Now I just wait for the bug to fly out. Right on cue, Taehyung Ryu growled from outside. Hey Dokyoung, Baek, stop hiding and step out. The convoy of black cars had Isu's ride locked down and Ryu kept running his mouth, not moving. Do I gotta drag you out by your collar? The system flashed Ryu's profile. Boss of the Zhurong gang, Tyson's bitter rival, a dude who never hid his beef with them. Isu analyzed Ryu's cocky face through the shattered glass, dissecting him. Is this guy the snitch? Suddenly, Zion kicked the door open and hopped out, screaming about the paint job. Yo, buddy, this whip is expensive. You're broke and brain dead, aren't you? Ryu squinted, recognizing Zion as the guy from the club earlier, and his bloodlust spiked. You're that little rat from the bar. What did you just say to me? Zion kept yapping about the busted window, but Ryu actually seemed to dig the kid's audacity, even offering him a seat at the big boy table. From the shadows of the car, Isu clapped back with zero chill. Oh, so you want to be my second in command now? Forget it. Zion swiped his hand like he was swatting a fly, grumpily telling them to clear the road so he could drag the car to the shop. Without a single warning, Taehyung Ryu snapped, launching a devastating haymaker straight for Zion's jaw. But then, the impossible happened. Zion caught the fist mid-air. He looked Ryu dead in the eye, asking if he was just some cheap street brawler. Ryu just smirked, flexing a hand that felt harder than steel, even admitting he was starting to vibe with this stubborn brat. Screech. Suddenly, a whole new convoy of luxury rides slammed to a halt. Killing the mood, Ryu shot a nasty look at the interlopers before spinning back to mock Zion. Oh, look who decided to crash the party. Sungmin Lee, CEO of Ilhak Capital, stepped out, his face icy enough to freeze hell over, demanding Ryu stand down. Instantly, Ryu's tough guy act did a complete 180-degree turn. The dude literally started stammering like a nervous intern. Desperate to regain control, he pointed at Isu's car and scoffed. You must really like that guy to come all the way here, asking for more, huh? Ryu kept the trash talk flowing sarcastically, wondering if Ilhak even had the muscle to step into this ring. A heavy hand landed on Ryu's shoulder, followed by a voice that shook the ground. Ha ha ha. Is that right? Never thought those words would leave your mouth, Taehyung. An old-school veteran in a crisp white suit stepped into the light. He brought up the time Ryu cried like a baby, leaving the red jacket boss gagged with rage. Inside the safety of the car, Zion tilted his head, asking about the man in white. The driver Ali dropped the lore that man was Ilhak royalty. 9 blades. Ali continued spinning the tale of Ilhak's golden era, back when they stood at the absolute apex of Seoul's underworld. All thanks to the terrifying power of the 9 blades. Zion just grinned, amused by these straight-out-of-a-movie gangster stories. Even Ryu's goons started whispering, realizing they were staring at a living legend, Chunho Choi, of the 9 blades, in the flesh. The veteran's identity was undeniable. Chunho Choi, CEO of Ilhak Capital, and the legendary second sword of the 9 blades. Ryu ground his teeth, his mind spinning out of control, unable to compute why Ilhak was siding with Tyson on this one. Jin Eun-ha, the titan of Tyson, strode forward. Chunho Choi didn't hesitate, he bowed with instant respect. The old man patted Jin Eun-ha's shoulder, like family complimenting how big he'd gotten, while Ryu stood there frozen in shock. Witnessing this alliance was too much. Chunho Choi suddenly challenged Taehyung Ryu, asking if he had permission to escort Taezon away. The red jacket boss gritted his teeth and spat. Damn it, do whatever you want. Inside the car, Zion let out a chuckle. He mocked Ryu for parking like an idiot and expecting everyone else to move. Meanwhile, Sungmin Lee, the white-suited boss, invited Isu to ride with him since his window was trashed, but Isu's radar went off immediately. Sungmin, what are you plotting? Sungmin Lee chuckled, convinced he had successfully played Taehyung Ryu. He turned to invite Isu along. Isu ordered Jin Eun-ha and Chunho Choi to go ahead, deciding he would stick with Zion. He took the chance to throw shade, quipping that the other car wasn't big enough to fit even half of the giant Jin Eun-ha. Zion puffed out his cheeks, totally offended. I'm not exactly small myself, you know. As the car sped off, Sungmin Lee skipped the pleasantries, asking if Tyson was for real about ditching the council. Isu, still playing the role of Do Kyung-baek, delivered a cold correction. It wasn't a withdrawal, it was an expulsion, and he was merely helping them fulfill their wishes. Despite Sungmin warning him about the target on his back, Isu nonchalantly brought up the fact that Taehyung Ryu had rammed his car, then impatiently ordered Sungmin Lee to stop beating around the bush. Isu dropped the philosophy of the strong, declaring the council a total farce, and that power was the only ticket to survival. He looked dead at him and asked what the hell he was actually trying to say. The car screeched to a halt at a deserted port stacked with containers. Sungmin Lee turned to Mr. Back with a heavy look, ready to show his cards. The white-suited boss bluntly admitted, "Right now, I am in great need of power." A knock rattled the window, but Isu's expression remained frozen. Showing zero surprise, Isu glanced out the window, completely commanding the situation. Outside, Chunho Choi and Jin Eun-ha were already waiting. The old second blade even admitted that Taehyung Ryu's punch packed some serious heat. Chunho Choi, once again, extended an invitation for Jin Eun-ha to join Ilhak Capital, but the giant flatly refused. If it's about that again, you can stop. Taizan is where I belong. But the old man was relentless, reiterating Jin Eun-ha's deep ties to the 9 blades. insisting there was still a throne waiting for him. Jin Unha turned and walked away, dropping the mic. My home is Taisan. Sir and I have something more important than anything else to do. Chunho Choi stood there, watching Jin Unha's retreating back. Dropping a sub-zero ultimatum, Jin Unha didn't mince words. Hate to break it to you, but your career ends here. The old power player laid it out cold as Jin Unha spun around, eyes blazing. Today the mighty Taisan Empire crumbles. It's game over, kid. Right on cue, Isu's car door swung open, revealing a bowing lackey of Sungmin Lee. Good evening, Mr. Beck. Enter the Nine Blades leader, bald head, gleaming shades on, looking menacing. Flanked by his squad in crisp white suits, he drew a line in the sand. From this second on, we own your security detail. Isu shot a side-eye at Sungmin Lee, dripping with venom. Mr. Lee didn't think a guy like you would pull a dirty stunt like this. Sungmin, chilling right next to him, didn't even blink. Don't take it personal. This is just the smartest play on the board for us. Isu went dead silent, slowly dragging a hand down his face like he was exhausted by this cheap theatric. Then the hand dropped and his glare could cut glass. You really are a gutter rat, aren't you? Isu checked the rearview mirror, tossing out a single name, Zion. The response came instantly. Locked and loaded, boss. Isu commanded, keep Mr. Lee right here. Zion immediately swiveled toward Sungmin's stunned driver. Copy that. Make your move. The driver snapped, furious. Excuse me, you little punk crack. Zion didn't waste breath on trash talk, just a lightning-fast hook that pulverized the driver's jaw. The guy folded like a lawn chair, out cold. Zion stared down at the body. Know your role, pawn. Sit down. Isu stepped out onto the pavement with Sungmin Lee. He tossed a look back at Zion. Be right back. Facing the Nine Blades boss, Isu smirked, ready to throw hands. This'll be a speed run. Meanwhile, inside another ride, Taehyung Ryu was chain-smoking, looking stressed out of his mind. That snake Sungmin is going all in, huh? Even dragged the Nine Blades into the mix. His sidekick asked boss. Are they actually legit? The rookie kept going. I mean, our crew is deep right now. Why don't we just roll up on them? And slap Ryu smacked the back of the guy's head before he could finish. Barking, did I stutter, you moron? I'm asking if you have a death wish. Ryu grabbed the guy's face, fuming. You clueless rookie, do you have any idea what kind of monsters united the whole Seoul underworld? Ryu broke it down. Back in the golden era, there was one rule. Ilhak Capital held the leash on the Nine Blades. He shuddered, remembering the bloodbath, two Blades members drenched in red, choking out a rival while standing over a pile of bodies in Gangbuk. Ryu took a nervous drag doing the math. There used to be 9 of those demons. Now maybe 6 left. Doesn't matter, just 3 of them. Could turn half my organization into scrap metal. He finished visibly shaken, picturing a psycho with glowing eyes. And if that maniac unifies the 9 Blades, he's the undisputed king of Seoul. Cut to a foggy, deserted dock. Under the moonlight, an old-timer was working on Sungmin Lee. Just giving you some free advice. The Ilhak advisor, rocking a bucket hat, puffed his cig with a twisted grin. Taisan ain't the titan it used to be. It's just a speed bump now. He laid out the facts. That project failed. Dok Young Baek lost his brother, and Taisan is bleeding out. They're sitting ducks. Sungmin sat there, like a statue, absorbing the old man's pitch. That's why Ilhak needs to strike first. This is our golden ticket, the old man scoffed, but I'm short on excuses. And I don't have the firepower for a full-scale war yet. Sungmin, if you keep playing nice, you'll lose your shirt. He dropped his line into the water, sneering. Our young master is too soft. That benevolence is why Ilhak is in this mess. If your dad was alive, he'd be flipping tables right now. The old man twisted the knife deeper. I hear the council is terrified of your 9 Blades. So why are they gathering dust? Sungmin finally looked up, eyes hardening. I really do want to help you, and Ilhak swallow Taizan whole. He stood up. Decision made. The advisor cackled, hooking a worm like he hooked Sungmin, and declared, perfect timing. We're going to erase Taizan from the map. Sungmin turned back with a counteroffer. And that project, we run it together. The advisor looked up, eyes gleaming with greed and approval. He flicked his ash, grinning. Exactly. Finally, the young master is playing 4D chess. That's a compliment, by the way. Standing by the river, the old man dropped a heavy question. The name is Ilhak. You think you've got the guts to embody that name? Snap back to reality. The 9 Blades leader dusted off his hands, looking down his nose. Long time no see. Still got that temper, don't you? Isu didn't waste a second on dialogue. He launched forward, silencing the guy with a savage uppercut. A sonic boom rips through the air. The fist connects, sending his opponent flying like a broken toy. He hits the pavement hard, sprawling out like roadkill. Spitting blood, the leader grins like a maniac. You really think you can end me, or lay a finger on Tyson? Beside him, a scarred member of the 9 Blades sneers with pure venom. Listen up, rookie. Whether you're cocky or just following orders, you got it all twisted. Isu's gaze turns icy, cutting deep. I'm the one wiping you off the map. Consider Ilwak officially cancelled. Cut to the whip. Sungmin Lee jerks around, heart pounding. Whoosh! Cold steel kisses his jugular. Zion gripped the blade, voice dropped dead serious. Yo, are you deaf? Did you miss the boss's orders? The platinum-haired menace twirls the knife like a fidget spinner. Guess what? You're stuck in this metal box with me. Sungmin freezes tongue-tied and sweating bullets. Meanwhile, the Nine Blades leader casually retrieves his glasses. He wipes off the grime. Damn, Director Bake, that punch had some heat. But hey, if you had 10 more years of XP, I might actually be dead. The goon squad behind him crack up. A redhead steps up to trash talk. Been a minute since I saw the boss take a hit. The leader shoots a death glare at his crew. Yo, you guys just gonna stand there and watch me catch a beating? Wham! Scarface pulverizes the asphalt to hype himself up. Hell no, he roars, launching himself straight at Isu. Snail's pace Isu snatches Scarface's wrist midair, exposing that legendary tattoo. A nasty uppercut launches Scarface into orbit. That jaw is dust, zero chance for a comeback. The redhead goes berserk, charging in Ilwak still has Gudo, Meet Guang, Paul Choi. The seventh sword. Isu casually sidesteps the kick. This guy's skills are way too green for the big leagues. Li Chu Chong, the ninth sword, jumps in screaming, you said Ilwak was cancelled. He unleashes a massive spin kick. Still too slow. Isu raises a hand, catching the foot like it's a Nerf ball, flashing that iconic carp ink. Suddenly, Zhang Dokbai, the eighth sword, dive bombs from above like a hawk, aiming a thunderous chop right at Isu's neck. Isu is actually forced back a step. Surrounded by a literal monster squad, he realizes this ain't a game. The leader clamps a hand on Isu's shoulder, while our MC analyzes the sitch. Every single one of these guys is elite, and their synergy is glitchless. Gotta break their flow. Isu decides twisting his frame to slip past the leader's crushing haymaker and dismantle them solo. Isu counters, driving a brutal elbow straight into the leader's jaw. Impact is critical. Blood sprays everywhere. The Nine Blades leader wobbles, rocked by the hit. His eyes roll back. Enter Lee Sun Mong, the sixth sword, with the goatee, looking annoyed. Slap. He smacks the dazed leader across the mug. Are you really gonna fold just because he's got more XP? The leader groans through bloody teeth, but the fire in his eyes ignites. The young master gave the order to level this whole mountain. He roars, throwing a straight right, but Isu walls it effortlessly. Lee Sun Mong dives in, locking up Isu's arm. We can't let him down. Isu eats a nasty elbow to the temple, finally a hit that counts. The sixth sword and Yang Gil, the fourth sword, rush him at once. It's a pincer attack, giving Isu zero room to breathe. Inside the luxury ride, Zion stares at the screen, jaw dropped. What kind of juice are these boomers on? His partner sits back, calmly dropping lore. They are Ilwak's blades. They are Gudo. Flash to a dusty Ilwak sign, narrator voice echoing. Rumor had it Ilwak was washed, their golden era dead and buried. The Allies' voice cuts through, spilling the history, but they still hold one trump card. Cue flashback, a shattered car window. Rewind time. Chun Ho Choi yokes a guy named Jin Wang and slams him onto the hood. The second sword adjusts his cuffs, warning Jin Wang to quit while he's ahead, while the narrator drops the truth bomb. Ilwak still has Gudo in its grip. Snap back to reality, a desolate seaport under the moonlight. Inside the whip, Zion sneers, finally admitting it. Okay, those Nine Blades geezers are actually built different. He tells Seungmin Lee to stay frozen. The driver asks if Zion's jumping in, but Zion just throws back a sarcastic question. Help, help, who exactly? Zion smirks, dropping the temperature in the room. You guys clearly have no clue what kind of monster you're poking. Seungmin Lee clenches his fists, locking in. If I don't step up, those old men are dead meat. Back in the chaos, Isu drives a sledgehammer kick right into Guang Paul Choi's gut, launching the redhead like a human missile. Isu's eyes are void of emotion, cold, calculated, and focused solely on wiping the server. Before Scarface could even figure out what day it was, Isu drove a nasty elbow straight into his jaw. Scarface spat, blood snarling. Damn it, just die already, Tyson and two other Nine Blades goons. Jung Dok Bei and Li Guchang screamed, let's end this clown show, and rushed in to jump him. Whoosh. Out of nowhere, a shadow lunged. Enter Zion. Thwack. He landed a picture-perfect hook, right on Jung Dok Bei's chin, dropping the scrub mid-attack. Li Guchang froze solid. Shocked to see his boy folded like a lawn chair, he hesitated, unsure if he wanted that smoke. Zion clutched his side, wincing but still grinning. You boomers got lucky, I'm the one you found. Meanwhile, Isu stared down Scarface. Silhouetted in shadow, nothing visible but eyes burning with absolute lethal intent. Thump thump. Isu unleashed a brutal combo, suffocating Scarface with pure violence. The Nine Blades boss glared as Guang Pio Choi tried to flank Isu, but Scarface stared at his own hand in horror, realizing his joints were popped out of place. My arm. It's useless. Seeing Isu wind up for the kill, the leader panicked, screaming, hey, stop, but all he could do was yell Guang Pio's name in vain. As Isu's foot connected with a thunderous crack, Isu parried a counter, eyes razor sharp. Cue the flashback. A young Isu faces his instructor. Hey kid, feeling good about being bigger than me? The teacher pins him effortlessly, explaining rush and blind and you'll get wrecked. There's no art in brawling like an idiot. He lectured on snapping joints, how it shuts down even the toughest fighters, simply because the body stops working. Young Isu was dripping sweat, groaning in agony. But the teacher just iced him out. Hurts does it. Not enough. Run it back. With a twisted grin, he watched Isu writhe on the mat and barked again. Snap back to the present. Guang Pio Choi is laid out cold, wailing in misery from that kick. The Nine Blades leader went ghost pale, voice shaking as he mistook Isu for his brother. Dukyung Baek, what kind of monster are you? Cut to the car. Ali the driver looks stressed, gripping the wheel, whispering the name Baek. He stayed quiet, eyes locked on the road, mixing worry with grit. Meanwhile, advisor Ilhak, chilling with a fishing rod, turned to Sung-min Lee. So how's Dokyung Baek holding up? Ilhak smirked, shifting the topic to the brother. The one-shot assassin noting that Dokyung was a different breed of beast compared to these street thugs. Right on cue, his line yanked hard, startling him so bad he almost lost the catch. Sung-min Lee paused, digging through his memory. What was the brother's name again? Back to the brawl. Scarface's hand was a mess on the pavement, totally wrecked by Isu's joint lock. The Nine Blades leader gasped for air, barely able to whisper, Do-kyung Baek, in pure terror. Isu surged forward like a hurricane ready to end it, leaving the leader thinking, this is it. Thud, a hand catches Isu's lethal punch midair, inches from the leader's face. Sung-min Lee, master of the Nine Blades, stepped in, radiating main character energy. He ordered coldly, that's enough. The leader instantly bowed, his head stammering. Young master. Sung-min Lee rested a hand on Isu's shoulder, faking a smile. Let's chat. Somewhere private. But then he leaned in, dropping the facade and whispering Baek Isu, surrounded by his broken crew. Sung-min Lee said confidently, Knew it. You're not Do-kyung Baek. Isu calmly grabbed Sung-min's wrist. Voice icy, does knowing my name change anything? He crushed the grip, eyes cutting like knives. I'm still taking your life. Sung-min Lee didn't even blink, just repeated Baek Isu. The young boss clarified the vibe. This isn't a death match. No, Director Baek. I'm offering a deal. Isu went silent, eyes calculating the unexpected play. Whoosh. Zion stepped in, intercepting two Nine Blades goons trying to jump in. The platinum-haired fighter waved the scrubs off, looking as relaxed as if he were walking through a park, not a battlefield. The two sides finally sat down to talk with the battered Nine Blades crew, kneeling in defeat behind them. Sung-min Lee kept it 100. I take the loss on this one. We got sloppy. Tyson, the squad leader, was still shook, asking Chunho Choi how Isu was that strong. While Guangpyo Choi could only admit the truth, the guy is a legitimate monster. Guangpyo Choi confirmed it. Isu is operating on a whole other frequency, skipping the pleasantries with ice in his veins. Alright. What's the pitch? Zion side-eyes the new muscle absolute unit of a bodyguard. In his head, that's totally Uncle Gorilla. Opposite side, the wrecked Nine Blades crew is locked on Choi Chun-ho. Gotta admit the old-timer's looking crisp for his age. Zion leans in, whispering to Jin Young-ha. Yeah, he took a beating, but he's flexing about the absolute work he put in on those thugs. Young-ha shoots him a shut-up glance. Meanwhile, the platinum-haired guy just smirks. Pure provocation. Lee Sung-min slides a folder across the table, cutting the fluff. We got a hit order on you, Taejon. He's talking about the puppet master. And the motive. It's all in the paperwork, sitting right in front of Isu, flanked by Zion and Young-ha. Isu plays it cool, barely looking interested. So what? That's the cue. Lee Sung-min drops the offer. Full intel on the organization hunting Taejon in exchange for an alliance. Isu shoots up from his chair, shutting it down hard. No. If intel is your whole hand, get the hell out. His eyes are razor sharp, growling out a threat. Why negotiate when I can just crush Ilhak and take it all? Choi Chun-ho sneers at the audacity, mocking him. Kid, you're tripping on your own ego. Tension spikes. Jin Young-ha steps up, trying to de-escalate before bodies drop. The muscle tries to talk sense into Isu, says it's a solid deal, prime chance to build bridges with Ilhak. Isu turns to the burning barrel, looking totally drained. Enough. I'm done with this. Isu snaps, glaring down at the Nine Blades on their knees. Pure disgust. Just a bunch of low-level thugs. Then boom, he kicks a chair over. Exploding. Trust. You want me to trust the people who slaughtered my crew, my brother? Jin Young-ha's expression turns to stone, dropping the real name as a warning. Baek Isu snap decision. Isu grabs Young-ha by the collar. Veins popping, teeth clenched. Isu spells it out, staying perfectly in character while correcting his subordinate. To sell the act, it's Baek Dug-young. Jin Young-ha. Zion jumps in between them, playing referee. Chill out, gentlemen. Keep this up, and I'll have to jump in too. Lee Sung-min cuts through the noise, ice cold, waving the docs. Why not read it first? Isu lets go of Young-ha. Eyes still blazing, Isu stalks toward Lee Sung-min. The guy doesn't flinch, maintaining that poker face. Baek Isu, this isn't a bad play. But Isu just waves him off. Trust you based on a piece of paper. Lee Sung-min tosses the files straight into the fire. Watch your mouth. That was the only copy. Isu pulls his blade, gaze lethal. Let's pick up where we left off. Youngha panics. Director Bake, the Ilhak deal. Isu points the knife at the Nine Blades crew. I don't trust rats. Never will. Isu sneers. Forget the talks. You do what I say. Period. Jin Youngha and Zion watch in stunned silence as their boss pulls the ultimate power move. Isu presses the blade to Lee Sung-min's throat, commanding, from now on, Ilhak belongs to Taejon, and for insurance, I'm taking CEO Lee as a hostage. The Nine Blades leader, face in the dirt, grits his teeth. You Taejon scum. Choi Guangpal and Lee Sun-mun roar, ready to rush him but get held back. Gudo, hold it. Old man Choi Chun-ho steps up. This has gone too far. This is Director Baek Do-gyung. Lee Sung-min signals the old man to stand down. He's got this. Choi Chun-ho ignores him, booming voice echoing. I am Choi Chun-ho, CEO of Gudo. Take me instead. That works for you, right? Isu looks the old man up and down. Total disdain. I'm taking the CEO. You think your life is worth that much? Look who's being arrogant now. Zion watches the tension skyrocket. Sir, Lee Sion, the burly subordinate, speaks up. Sir Gudo is Ilhak's core. I think we made our point. Isu shuts him down cold. Not your call. If you saw this through Baek Do-gyung's eyes, you wouldn't be talking. Isu's gaze allows zero pushback. Absolute authority. Isu turns his back, barking a final order to the new guy. While Zion and Old Man Choi keep their eyes on Lee Sion. You handle security. Keep a leash on Choi Chun-ho. Lee Sion, the new recruit, swallows his pride and nods. Flashback. 5 years ago. Interrogation room. Recording starts. A voice echoes off the walls. So you're Baek Isu Northern Baekdu Organization. Younger Isu, buzzcut, uniform, cuffs. He confirms it without blinking. Baek Isu, HID Special Forces, fresh back from long-term deep cover. Deep in North Territory, Lieutenant Colonel Kim Jae-wook is drilling Isu about his mission, but the guy is a total brick wall, only giving back a cold, classified sir. Kim cranks up the heat, trying to gaslight Isu into thinking he's just some random enemy grunt who hopped the border. A lackey chimes in reporting that every single trace of the op has been scrubbed clean. The colonel ignores it and keeps squeezing, demanding a name who is pulling the strings, but Isu stays ice-cold, lips sealed, demanding a secure line instead. Patience hitting zero, Kim gets in Isu's face, gripping his shoulder tight. We don't do your kind here. Talk. Isu doesn't even blink. Cuffs clinking, Isu's hand shoots up, locking onto the colonel's wrist. The air freezes. Actually, you're the one who needs to listen to me. Disrespected by a low ranker, Kim loses it. He roars. If I label you a red, then you are a red. Isu just dead-eyes him while Kim rants, trashing the Special Forces team as nothing but dirty killers, and threatening to beat the info out of them. Suddenly, bam, the door flies open. A man in glasses and camo strolls in, dropping a casual salute. Major Jang Song-ho, Special Forces commander, speaks up. Heard you're hosting my boys. Kim rolls his eyes hard at the intrusion. Major Jang. Relax. I'm just hunting a damn spy. Jang chuckles, waving it off like Isu is family. This kid, he's practically my son. Kim isn't having it. He whips out a smoke eyes, narrowing into slits. Is this a comedy skit to you, Major? The colonel takes a drag, exhaling pure menace. Clean your ears. The guy is a spy. Jang drops the smile, muttering a quick sorry. Kim smirks, thinking he won. That's right. Punk. Now prove I'm wrong. He lights up again, ready to pull rank. But Major Jang suddenly steps up, heavy hand, landing on the colonel's shoulder, and drops the hammer. You deaf, I said he is my man. Kim growls, realizing the tables just turned. I decide who is a red and who isn't, and I say he is clear. Jang taps Isu's shoulder, walking him out like a boss, leaving Kim screaming about insubordination in the background. Major Jang, you can't do this. Totally played, Kim snaps, screaming for backup. Arrest the lot of them. But outside, total carnage. The hallway is littered with unconscious guards, and Zion is just standing there looking bored. Outside, Jang immediately starts nagging. Back 5 minutes, and already causing chaos, Isu mutters that the colonel wouldn't buy the secret mission cover. Isu keeps his stone face while Jang scoffs. Yeah, right. Should have just claimed you deserted way faster. Jang's expression softens into a rare, warm smile. We are family, kid. Trust is a given. But that hair, tragic. Isu fires back. Sure, if your daughter called you a spy, I would have dropped you myself. Zion and the squad are waiting, yelling, yo, what took forever? Isu wonders how they get away with roasting a colonel. But the boys just crack up, teasing Isu's new look, while Major Jang spreads his arms wide. Welcome home. Flash to an old photo, November 15th, back when the squad was whole and standing side by side. Snap back to now. Isu collapses in a high-end suite, totally drained. A knock, and he says enter. Zion steps in, strictly business. Sir, eyes are on Choi Chun-ho, as requested. Isu nods thanks. But Zion doesn't leave. He keeps talking, making Isu's headache pound. Look about Ilhak. In a split second, Isu has him by the collar, eyes murderous. He glares up, voice dripping with challenge. I thought you were better than this. I can't trust you with Tyson. Zion stares him down, zero fear. You will never be Baek Dugyong. Cut to a rundown diner, where Chief Jong is cooing into his phone. Sweetheart it is, Dad. You eating okay? He is in total dad mode. Dad is stuffing his face. Make sure you get real food, okay? Kiddo, a hulking guy walks in dropping a hey chief. He slides into the booth faking nice. Why this dump? I know way better spots. Let's upgrade next time. Jang holds up a finger hush, then speaks into the phone. Just some background noise, honey. The goon orders food while Jang wraps it up. Dad will call you back. Love you. The big guy asks. Daughter back from abroad, and the council. We good. Jang meticulously wipes his chopsticks. I did my part. The rest is on them. Any updates? At the end of the day, they are just thugs in suits. He scoops rice into his soup, looking unimpressed. Honestly, we are wasting our time with these clowns. Watch it. The hulking figure warned, his voice low and guarded. Keep wolfing it down like that, and you're gonna get burned. I've spent my whole life dealing in violence, but these guys, they're a different breed of tough. He kept preaching caution. I know you've got skills, but don't get cocky thinking they're soft targets. Jang flashed a grin that screamed murder. Huh, ain't they just a bunch of amateurs? Time to show 'em how the big leagues play. The big guy checked his wrist, sweat beading on his forehead. We're running out of time. Before the synchronization project goes live. Jang leaned back, oozing confidence. I think I'm ready to face the council. Unless you've cooked up a plan B. What about Sungmin? The partner nodded, grabbing a side dish. Exactly. If we want this project to launch, we gotta own the council. Grease a few palms, slide him some perks, and it's smooth sailing. Chief Jong drowned his food in sauce, laying out the blueprint for his brutal scheme. Let's see. When the dust settles, Isu and his national security crew will handle the dirty work setup and cleanup. He stared at a bowl of white rice. Casual, as if chatting about the weather. Guess we'll find out what these rookies are really made of, huh? Chief Jong dropped the hammer. Yeah. If they drag their feet, I'll step in and finish it myself. The mastermind smiled, a dark look in his eyes, and went back to eating. While a deadly plot brewed at the table, the hot pot boiled over furiously, a perfect metaphor for the bloody chaos about to erupt. Meanwhile, in a high-end suite, Isu buried his head in a mountain of paperwork, looking like the weight of the world was crushing him. He fished a small object from his pocket, the root of all this tragedy. It was a faded photo of his old squad, a gut-wrenching reminder of the brothers who died for absolutely nothing. Knock, knock. The hollow sound broke the silence, and Isu gave a tired signal to enter. Li Xian, a tank of a man, walked in and bowed with military precision. He confirmed he had eyes on Chonho Choi exactly as ordered, claiming it was all for the Taisin family. Isu's response was ice cold. Good job. Cut to the next scene. Chonho Choi was chatting on the phone, looking totally chilled out like he was on vacation, telling Sungmin Lee that Taisin was all good. On the other end, Sungmin Lee sounded shaken, admitting he was way too green and amateurish during the last mess. Chonho Choi kept his voice steady, reminding him that when it's for the organization, everybody plays their part. The old-timer took the heat, insisting the failure was because he went rogue, not because the plan sucked. Sungmin Lee wanted to link up soon, but Chonho Choi just let out a dry laugh, joking that old geezers like him need a break sometimes. A silver-haired watcher nearby scoffed, muttering, Sungmin looks more like your grandson than your boss. But the old man stood his ground. That kid was his master. The young watcher smirked, trying to get under his skin. Even after he left you to rot with us, what if we decided to mess you up? Chionho Choi calmly dished out food, not flinching. I made the call. I'll take whatever hits come with it. The silver-haired guy looked shook, mumbling that this wasn't the vibe he expected. From a guy who was supposed to be a mindless soldier, Chonho Choi fired back unexpectedly, asking point blank if Taisan was really just a cult of blind followers, making it clear he was disappointed in their standards. The watcher froze, totally caught off guard by the prisoner flipping the script. Turns out, this guy had the whole game figured out. He thought I read you wrong, Isu. I can't hand Tyson over to you. Suddenly, Li Xian the muscle snatched Isu's wrist in a vice grip, his face stone cold. Hand it over, Mr. Baek. Isu snarled, but Xian didn't blink, telling him flat out he was nothing like the OG Doc Young Baek. The subordinate pushed harder, claiming that, when the real Doc Young Baek ran the show, Tyson didn't act like a bunch of children. Li Xian hammered the point home. Tyson trusted Doc Young Baek. Isu needed to step up and be a leader, not just a boss barking orders. Isu frowned the realization, hitting him this wasn't about raw power. It was about trust and 4D chess. The big guy stood his ground, challenging him. Trust strategy. I thought we were just about following orders. And throwing hands, Li Xian flexed until his veins popped, screaming Isu's real name. Let's see if your theories can stop a fist. He ripped his shirt open, revealing a body built for war, eyes locked on target. Enough with the kid games. Isu's eyes lit up with battle spirit, ready to settle who was top dog right here, right now. Xion launched himself like a wild beast. But Isu was a blur of motion. He dodged by a millimeter and snapped back with a devastating hook, straight to the jaw. Isu snatched Xian's collar, eyes dead inside, but Xian wasn't going down that easy. He swung a massive counterpunch. Isu smirked, looking terrifyingly confident in the middle of a brawl. Li Xian caught Isu's arm, sneering with pure sarcasm. Is this the best an intel agent can do? Isu claps back instantly, launching a cyclone kick right to the jaw. Li Xian sees stars, stumbling backward from the impact. But Xian doesn't drop his guard. With eyes locked in like lasers, he plants his feet, refusing to fold despite the brutal thrashing. Real recognizes real, he knows Isu is a monster. Suddenly, a memory hits. The old legend Choi Chon-ho, dropping wisdom in a flashback. You build a crew on muscle alone, that's just a glorified street gang. Chon-ho preached that rounding up guys who run on pure ego and violence, that's a recipe for constant war. But start cutting out the snakes. The ones who only know betrayal, eventually you're left with the true loyalists, the ones worth dying for. Snap back to reality. The room is a disaster zone, furniture trashed. Isu towers over the scene, absolute dominance radiating off him. He hoists the battered Xian by the collar, winding up for the knockout blow. Isu stares down at his prey. Eyes dead calm, zero emotion. Isu drops his guard and walks off, leaving Xian sprawled in the wreckage. I messed up, he mutters. He finally gets it. Brute force isn't the key to unlocking this puzzle. Xian's down but not out, gritting through the pain on the floor. Yeah, our code runs deeper than just fists. Flashback again. Chon-ho warning the silver-haired Watcher, a group fueled only by power. That's just a mercenary army. The Watcher seemed to vibe with that. Buzz. His phone lights up on the table, cutting the lesson short. He stands up to bounce, throwing a snarky comment over his shoulder at Chon-ho. Enjoy the retirement, old man. Chon-ho asks if he's being tailed, but the guy just keeps walking. You don't look like the running type anyway. A cryptic smirk plays on his lips. Personally, I think we lean on power because we're too scared to trust anyone. Boom. Back to the present. Isu stands solo. It all clicks. The path is clear now. Suddenly, Xian steps out of the shadows behind him. From here on out, Xian declares, we rewrite the rules. Isu spins around, eyes blazing. We're building something new. An empire of elites. Montage time, faces of experts and old allies race through his mind. The master plan locks into place. Xian stands at his back, the ultimate wingman. 1 week. We dismantle the Grand Council in 7 days. Cut to a wrecked room. Jin Eung-ha is out cold on the floor. Looks like he went through a meat grinder. Exhausted arm thrown over his eyes. It was a brutal scrap. Rewind 4 years. A low-key joint. Jin Eung-ha, back when he was just a chef, stares down a guest. Why do you keep showing up? Eung-ha asks coldly. Baek Do-young, drenched in blood, lights a smoke without a care in the world. I'm here to eat. He smirks, dropping his titles. Director of Oyamagumi, Taesan Group. Big leagues. He mocks Eung-ha's hospitality. Eung-ha isn't having it. You think I serve customers who smoke inside? Do-young gestures to the bodies littered on the floor. What about them? Group reservation. Eung-ha's patience snaps. Get out. Before this gets messy. Too late for that, Do-young draws. The door explodes open, a new wave of goons floods in. Damn, it's actually him. The thug leader freezes, clocking the chef as Jin Eung-ha, the Underworld legend. Enter Lee Hyung-gu of the Jo-rang gang, bullying a civilian nearby. You want to die like your boss. Hyung-gu struts in trash-talking Do-young immediately. Owner says no gangsters allowed, pal. He thinks Do-young is just some punk. Do-young shoots the bottom feeder an icy glare. Hyung-gu makes a fatal mistake. He grabs Do-young's chin. You messing around on hook turf. He sneers. Pretty face. I could fetch a good price for you on the market. Do-young stays silent, then switches to fluent Japanese. Hook, seriously. What a joke. Snap. He breaks the cigarette, a hidden blade suddenly flashing in his hand. Murder in his eyes. Hook. Is that just one hand? Whoosh. Bodies fly out the door like ragdolls. Screams of agony. Blood sprays the walls. He cleaned house in a split second. The manager Hyung-gu is battered but tries to flex one last time. You know who we are. We're Jo-rang Do-young, dripping in red, just offers a twisted smirk. Like I give a damn. We are Taesan. Go ahead, call every piece of Jo-rang trash you've got. Hyung-gu turns ghost white. His boys drag him away as he stutters. Total psycho. Hospital. Now, his goons scream. As the dust settles, Jin Eung-ha steps up to confront the bloody director. You really just gonna let him slide? What's the endgame in triggering Jo-rang? Do-gyeong-baek fired back, totally unfazed. Isn't that exactly why you set up shop here? To get under their skin, Jung-hwa countered, scanning the gritty, dust-covered eatery. Place doesn't even have a menu. It's obvious you're just looking for an excuse to pummel any lowlife dumb enough to walk in. Clamping a blade between his teeth, Gyeong-baek's gaze sharpened into a glare. He dropped a raw offer, and I'm down to help you wreck them. Run that by me again, Jin Woon-ha asked, needing to be 100% sure. You realize the target you're painting on your back, Gyeong-baek replied with the swagger of a kingpin. Like I said, we are Taizan. We own the pressure. Doesn't matter who steps up. Woonha tossed a hair tie at him. Fix your hair first, though. You look unhinged. Gyeongbak snagged the tie midair and shot back with a smirk. Gee, thanks. By the way you're cooking, absolute trash. No cap. Flash forward to now, Isu gripped that exact same hair tie, a dusty relic linking him to his brother's dark legacy. Nearby, Lee Sion was out cold, face planted on the floor, after failing Isu's test. The room was a disaster zone, proof that Sion got completely rolled. Meanwhile, over at Hook Loan's HQ, the one-eyed boss was struggling with his prosthetic hand, the mechanical joints grinding as he clenched a fist. He screamed, "Dang it! Still can't control this piece of junk," but the rage quickly focused, his single eye burning with a need for payback. Today's the day we settle the score. 4 years of pain ends now. The boss leaped up, radiating chaotic energy. He rallied his crew. Tayson is vulnerable right now. We strike hard and we end them. Hook Loans, let's move. 50 thugs roared back, hype levels off the charts. Suddenly, the lookout at the door got absolutely rocked by a massive impact to the neck, eyes bulging in pure shock. Whoosh. 2 guards went airborne like human bowling pins, hurled deep into the corridor. The rest of the mob froze, brains short-circuiting at the impossible violence unfolding. Through the settling dust, a bald giant in a trench coat marched in. His aura was heavy enough to crush lungs. He tugged off his beanie, unveiling a stoic face and piercing blue eyes. Cut to a flashback. A construction foreman was blowing a fuse. "Boris, did you see who did this?" He pointed at a random guy screaming, "Was it him?" Then he pointed at a wall tagged with a black star. "Which punk messed up my sight?" Boris, a towering figure with icy blue eyes, didn't flinch. He just stared at the screaming foreman in total silence. "Boris, I'm talking to you." Scene shifts to a massive warehouse. Back in the mix, Sion looked skeptical. "You talking about Ovcharka? Thought he bounced back to Russia." Isu replied, cool as ice. "He's laying low, posing as a foreign laborer." Isu stood high on the scaffolding, peering down at Boris, who stood isolated on the concrete floor. Dossier popping up: Russian Mafia security inspector, alias Ovcharka, the wolfhound. He gripped a dagger, eyes heavy with exhaustion. Isu dropped down to face the beast while the assassin instantly shifted into a combat stance. Sion's internal monologue raced, "Can we really tame a guy like Ovcharka? Just his code name is enough to give you nightmares." Isu extended a hand holding a USB drive. Fearless, he made his pitch. "I'm here to make a deal." Boris instantly had a blade pressed against Isu's throat, but he snatched the drive anyway. Isu looked him dead in the eye and called him a demon. Boris held the steel and the data calculating the risk. Suddenly, Isu reached behind Boris and knocked off his hard hat. Revealed on his nape was a gnarly scar shaped like a claw mark, branding him as a monster in human skin. Snap back to reality. The Hook Loans goon gawked at the bald foreigner who just demolished their security. "Who is this guy?" the boss growled, eye blazing with fury. "You crash my party on a day like this, get him." 2 thugs lunged at the giant, but he stood like a statue. Another goon shoved a pistol against his temple, grinning like he'd already won. But the bald man was faster. His own gun barrel was already jammed against another thug's skull. Everyone froze. Wham! No words, he just smashed the pistol grip into a thug's face, sending a spray of red. 1 down. The bald titan looked down coldly, gun still in hand, making the last guy standing turn ghost white. Another thug yelled, trying to wrestle the weapon away. The giant smirked, dropping one word, "Moron." The gun was just a distraction. He whipped out a knife and effortlessly shanked the guy clinging to his leg. Seeing his buddy drop, another thug panicked. "Screw this, rush him all at once." The entire mob swarmed like angry hornets trying to bury him in sheer numbers. One guy managed to grab him from behind. "Gotcha," the attacker roared, thinking he'd won. Big mistake. The bald psycho didn't even flinch. He just clamped his teeth straight into the arm that was crushing him. The thug howled in agony, totally blindsided. He thought he was fighting a man, not a rabid animal. Seizing the moment, Baldy pivoted. A smooth, perfect shoulder throw launched the guy into the air. Wham! Spine met concrete. Lights out. The Hook Loans boss watched in horror as the bald fighter casually bent down to snatch his knife. He grabbed the unconscious goon by the hair blade, pressed against skin, ready to execute. Panic exploded in the boss's chest as his prosthetic arm got snatched up. "Hey, stop him, not the arm." Blood-soaked knuckles turned white. A dark thought echoed. Everyone hides a demon inside to cover their weakness. The bald lunatic grabbed the boss by the skull. The guy screeched like a banshee. "What the hell? Let me go." Boris pressed the cold steel against the boss's neck, flashing a feral grin. "You've got a demon inside too, don't you?" Suddenly, Zion scrambled over, waving his arms. "Boris, chill, stop." But then, Zion flashed a thumbs up, complimenting the kill while stopping it. Mixed signals much. The Hook Loans boss stammered, trembling, and spilled his guts about being from Jorong. Zion just answered his phone, voice ice cold. "We know. That's why we pulled up. Oh, and we're Tyson crew." Surrounded by a growing body count, Zion updated his caller. Director Jurong's HK capital, ours now. The boss collapsed, sobbing, begging Boris not to turn him into sushi. While Zion just sighed about Russians being too hardcore. Cut to a North Korean agent debriefing his superior. Dead set against recruiting Steel Weasel. Too risky. But he had to admit the kid's skills were legit. A merc who only cares about the cash. While Isu vented his doubts on the phone, a shadow crept up behind him, wondering if a guy like that followed orders. Before the agent could blink, Steel Weasel vaulted the fence attack mode engaged. He only got out one curse word. Zip. Steel Weasel had a blade at his throat. Who are you? Who sent you? The agent was completely owned, frozen as Steel Weasel pressed for answers. Identity confirmed. Profile loaded Agent Danum. Codename Steel Weasel. Real name Rim Jung Chun. Age 17. Status wanted. Flashback time. The agent had pushed back hard, arguing Steel Weasel was just a kid. Meanwhile, the kid was flipping a butterfly knife like a pro. A silver flash cut through the night, aimed right at the agent. The agent barely parried. Kid's young, but he's a killer. Clang. He managed to smack the blade out of Weasel's grip. Arm dripping blood. The agent locked eyes with the boy. Long time no see, Steel Weasel. The kid looked confused, drawing a total blank on the face. The agent studied him, looked like your average teenager. But he knew the truth. He dropped the bomb. This kid slaughtered his own squad and defected south. Rewind 3 years. Kaesong Factory, which looked less like a factory, more like a war zone. An officer marched to the podium commanding silence and introducing himself. I am Li Wuchang, Chief of Reconnaissance. The recruits, Rim Gyung Chun included, gulped. The commander's aura was suffocating. Li Wuchang laid it out. This was Kaesong, a north-south cooperation site. The goods made here went straight to the south. Then he roared, brainwashing them to hate the capitalist pigs across the border. Fist clenched, he yelled, let them look down on us. In the end, we take everything. Under his watch, the kids Gyung Chun included slaved away as factory workers. But the sweatshop was just a cover. By night, they morphed into assassins, grinding knife drills until their hands bled. They weren't making clothes. They were manufacturing monsters. One recruit's eyes went dead cold. Innocence erased. Li Wuchang dropped the op name, Steel Weasel. The plan, laborers by day, killers by night. Infiltrate the south with the cargo. But the plan had a hole in it. As actual South Korean workers showed up, Gyung Chun snapped his head up at the sound of his name. A driver named Lim was waving at him, grinning, holding a box of choco pies. He chucked the whole box to the kids. Here, share 'em with your friends. Lim ruffled Gyung Chun's hair as the kid inhaled the snack. Voiceover hit hard. The taste of capitalism was too addictive. The box sat empty. Gyung Chun hadn't shared a crumb, he ate them all. Hell was just a warm-up. 2 years later, this rookie isn't just skilled, he's a walking death sentence. Blades sliced the air faster than whispers. But the brass wasn't satisfied. An officer whined about needing 2 more years of brainwashing. Li Wuchang shut that down instantly. This week he snapped, eyes cold as ice. We launch them now. Big boss's orders. Driver Lim looked like he'd seen a ghost when the news dropped the Kaesong complex is shutting down. That panic sparked a question from the young worker. Rim Kyung Chun shoved his hand out, eyes lighting up for the delivery. Fine, I'll hook you up with some sweets, he mumbled, already destroying a snack like he hadn't eaten in days. He grumbled about waiting till dusk to load the truck and bolt for the south. But the second darkness hit, a soldier crept up on Rim, who was still deep in the zone with his food. Drop it, kid, the soldier whispered smoothly. We get south, you eat like a king. Meanwhile, another goon pulled a blade, creeping toward driver Lim, who was passed out cold in the cab. I'll handle the driver, he hissed. Squad, get ready to move. Rim flinched, eyes going wide. Why kill the guy, he asked. The soldier wasn't having it. He ain't driving us willingly, so he's dead weight, the soldier growled, losing his cool. Rim stalled, muttering a soft moron as he raised his own blade. Whoosh, faster than a heartbeat. Rim buried his knife deep into the soldier's hip before the guy could even twitch. Blood sprayed everywhere. Rim watched the body drop with zero emotion. Told you to let me figure it out. You just had to wait. The rest of the squad froze, total shock. They stared at the carnage, terrified. Rim, gripping that dripping blade, spun around. Comrades, he smirked. You guys really don't get it, do you? He yanked the car door open, shaking the groggy driver. Yo, Uncle Rim said, super chill. Mind giving me a lift to the south, behind him, total massacre. The rest of the recruits were laid out flat on the ground. Rim Kyung Chun had soloed the entire squad. Watching from afar, Li Wuchang's face went completely white. Please. Major Li, desperate screams echoed. Then silence. Cut to black. The official report dropped at 3:30 a.m. Total squad wipeout. The culprit, Rim Gyung Chun. He didn't just neutralize them, he erased them. Coldly ripping off his insignia, he went rogue. Defected. New call sign, Steel Weasel. Flashback to a classified dossier. Author Isu. An elite anti-North specialist. 4 years deep in the game, 18 confirmed missions. Snap back to reality. Cold steel pressed against a jugular. Isu's blade kissed Weasel's throat. That technique. Pure northern spec ops. Weasel threw his hands in the sky, grinning like a maniac while the razor edge still dug into his skin. Where'd you pick that up? Isu pressed. You crossed the border just to punch my ticket. I told you I'd be watching Rim. Weasel dropped the act in his hands. If you're not here to execute me, then what's the play? Isu didn't blink. A deal. Weasel's eyes went wide, and he frantically tore open a snack pack. He stuffed his face, chewing with pure bliss. Music to my ears. Smells like capitalism. Spill the beans, comrade. Scene switch, the Red Crown Hotel. High-rise luxury piercing the night sky. Crash. A vintage wine bottle exploded against a goon's face. Glass shards and expensive red splattering the room. Taehyung Ryu chilled in a tub, but the vibe was deadly. His face screamed murder. 3 of his prime spots shut down. He was about to snap. The lackey bowed so low his head hit the floor. The district office. They're stonewalling us with excuses. Ryu lost it. Dragged the guy up by his collar. And you just rolled over. Pathetic. The subordinate shook like a leaf. Orders from the top boss. Just as Ryu was about to go nuclear, the door burst open. Major intel drop. Hook loans in Hanam deleted. By Tyson. Ryu suited up. War mode activated. Fists clenched. Round up the boys. We're paying Tyson a visit. The Joarang squad rolled up, owning the place. A guy in a moss green hoodie at the bar scoffed. Look at these clowns. Screaming gangster with every step. A thug spun around. Excuse me, what did you just crack? Before Ryu could even blink, his heavy hitter was screeching. Hoodie guy snapped a wrist like a dry twig. Oops, my bad. Little too much torque there. Better learn to eat with your left hand, pal. He looked up. Shadow covered his eyes. But that platinum hair shined. And that smile, pure nightmare fuel. Whoosh, Ryu launched himself. Speed demon. He wanted blood. Ryu threw a haymaker, but the hoodie guy blocked it. 0 effort. Ryu froze. Did I get slow? Or is he that fast? Nearby, a handler with glasses exhaled smoke. Sorry, my hired help has no manners. He shifted topics. Let's chat about your hotel problem, Ryu. Sit. The long-haired boss smirked. Cute. He pulled out a chair. So, you're the headache, not Tyson. What's the ask? Ryu propped a leg up, asserting dominance. Growling, low, the only favor I'm doing, letting you walk out of here with your teeth. Platinum hair cackled like a hyena. Ryu was annoyed, but the fighter's grin just got wider. Sick. Say goodbye, gangster boy. Ryu's rage spiked. He opened his mouth to scream, we are Joarang. Taehyung. The glasses guy cut him off cold, adjusted his frames. Chill. Then the glasses came off. The smile turned demonic. Refuse my offer, and you'll be on your knees begging to breathe. Copy that. Cut to visuals. The alpha wolf. Not the biggest cat in the jungle, but the deadliest pack. Red eyes glowing in the snow. Apex coordination. They don't fight alone. They swarm. The ultimate weapon, the pack. Taking down prey 10 times their size. But every pack answers to one. The dominator. The strength of the many in one body. The alpha. Rulers of the wild. Narrator voice. The underworld works the exact same way. Enter Joarang. And the alpha of this concrete jungle, Taehyung Ryu. And he was fuming. Beg me glasses guy mocked him. Why so serious? Ryu snarled. What? Glasses guy started listing Ryu's turf like a grocery list. Yongsan district. Running a tight ship, huh? Then the power move. Click. Gun drawn. Pointed right between Ryu's eyes. You can smirk all you want, but at the end of the day, you're just 2-bit thugs playing dress-up right. A predator armed with a piece stormed Jurang's hideout, his heavy boots echoing like a death knell as he marched into the boss room. The 4-eyed handler adjusted his frames, flanked by a squad of masked mercs. We ain't amateurs like you lot. We're the pros. Taehyung Ryu snapped, veins popping as his hand crushed into a steel-hard fist. The hell is that supposed to mean? You looking for a war? The handler didn't even flinch. He took a long, slow drag of his cig, blowing smoke in the face of danger. Nah. Instead of turning this into a bloodbath, he locked eyes with Ryu, dropping a bombshell. Let's talk business, Taehyung. Ryu froze as a stack of files slammed onto the table. Business? What kind of joke is this? He snatched up the dossier, skepticism, painted all over his face, stamped right on the cover in bold letters, Project 1, Sync. Ryu muttered, eyes widening as he scanned the pages. You gotta be kidding me. An offer this good, it's unreal. Ryu shot back, smelling a rat. Why hand us a golden ticket on a silver platter? If this goes south, we're the ones in body bags while you walk free. Where's the trust? Strictly business, the handler clipped. Suddenly, the white-haired kid stepped up, twirling a wicked karambit. We bring the muscle. Top-tier pros. Ryu exploded, shredding the files into confetti. Damn it. I'm sick of hearing about professionals this, and professionals that. He collapsed back into his seat, a cocky grin twisting his lips. You want a deal? Earn my trust first. Show me these so-called professionals in action. Cut to a bike lot in chaos, people scattering like roaches. Zion glared at his screen, jaw on the floor. No way. He tapped his foot, losing his cool. It's been a minute. Dude should have clocked in by now, right? While his screen lit up with texts. Where you crashin' at? Silence. Zion dialed his boss, panic creeping into his voice. Yo boss, what's the play? On the other end, the handler's voice dropped an octave. He's ghosting us. Li Wuchang spoke into his comms while striding forward. Tagged Steel Weasel. We're rolling. Let's see if he picks up. As they breezed past a crew of street rats, the ringleader barked, Yo, hold up. You got beef with Steel Weasel. The kid, Steel Weasel, smirked, fingers dancing over his butterfly knife. He glanced at Lee. This guy worth my time. The leader stepped up, chest puffed out, blocking the way. Who gave you the pass to walk here? Whoosh, Steel Weasel blurred past like a phantom wind. A split second later, blood geysered from a thug's neck. The kid grinned, flashing a small gadget. Wanna live? Apply pressure. The thug clawed at his leaking throat, eyes bulging in pure terror. Li Wuchang watched with ice in his veins. The leader stood paralyzed. He's useful. Back on the line. Zion sounded underwhelmed. For real, ain't he look a little too like a middle schooler? Lee kept walking. Steel Weasel trailing him, hands dripping crimson. Is the kid you scouted actually legit? Lie's gaze sharpened. Go time. A bald goon roared, launching himself, aiming a haymaker right at Lee's mug. Lee didn't even sweat it. He caught the fist like a baseball. Snap. He shattered the guy's wrist, eliciting a guttural scream. Lee pivoted, slamming another goon's face into the concrete, speaking into the phone like he was ordering pizza. All green here. You're gonna flip when you see him. He swatted a knife away with a bare palm, voice dropping to sub-zero. Just as I thought. Zion kept yapping, tuning out the carnage in the background. Those bikers are commandos. You copy. A motorcycle tore through the night, painting the dark with a streak of red neon. Zion broke it down. That guy, Deadline, he's a heavy hitter. Back in the brawl, Li Wuchang clamped his hand over a thug's skull, squeezing until the features rearranged. Meanwhile, Steel Weasel was going ham, turning a downed enemy into a pincushion, blood spraying like graffiti. Lee gripped the kid's shoulder, hitting the brakes. Chill. Let's bounce. We're done with Jurong's mess. Over the tac map, a voice cut through. Now that we got the pros, we're scrubbing every affiliated crew off the map. Steel Weasel cleaned his blade while Lee updated comms. The apes scattered. Finishing up now. Suddenly, a hatchet screamed through the air, locking onto Lee's head. He didn't blink. Hand shot out. Clang. He snatched the axe mid-flight barehanded. Looks like they're faster than the intel said. A squad in white suits rolled up. The leader gaped. Whoa, you see that dude caught it. Kim Axe, the boss in white, snarled. You, the punks digging into the Hyung-gu case. You got a death wish messing with Jurang Lee, casually waved a hand. Trash him, Weasel. Total amateurs. Steel Weasel tightened his grip on the balisongs, gaze laser-focused. Yeah, definitely looking like easy XP. Time to take out the trash. In a blur, Steel Weasel catapulted into the mob, his blades flashing like jagged lightning, instantly deleting 3 goons. Blood misted the air, as Weasel pirouetted, mowing down the trash mobs, cluttering his lane. Zero chill, zero breaks. But his next combo hit a wall blocked cold. Steel Weasel froze. Okay, not amateurs. Military grade. 2 Jurang elites stood like statues, deflecting Weasel's assault with terrifying precision. These weren't random NPCs. Kim Axe smirked, ego fully inflated. Surprise boss Taehyung Ryu sent the varsity team. Whole different league, huh? Meanwhile, a 4-eyed strategist watched the chaos unfold, glancing toward the Tyson Tower with a calculated look. They should be hitting Tyson right about now. Listen, you aren't the only ones playing 4D chess here. Your boss, your whole crew, consider them deleted when you get back. Back in the alley, Li Wuchang faced the heat, grinning like a shark. You shaking, or just cold, he calculated quickly. Chief Zhang stepped in personally. Did he actually pull Zhang into this mess? He turned to Steel Weasel, throwing up a hand signal. Weasel blinked, confused. Li Wuchang flashed 2 fingers. Price just went up. Double the bag. These guys are the real deal. So pay me like a pro. Li Wuchang dropped his axe, shrugging. Honestly, wasn't interested in these guys before. But now I'm intercepting. He stomped the ground, winding up for a charge. I'm a northern operative. Can I clear a path through these southern elites? No hesitation, he launched himself straight at the enemy line. Steel Weasel went for the kill, but a Jorang elite caught the lethal stab barehanded like it was nothing. Didn't matter. Weasel used the guy's arm as a gym bar, vaulting over and delivering a nasty slash with a metal tray he grabbed midair. He moved like smoke, dodging and countering in a blur, giving the 2 Jorang soldiers 0 frames to react. One merc screamed as Weasel dropped him, while another rushed in, dagger aimed for the throat. Weasel sidestepped effortlessly, weaving through the circle of enemies, scanning for the kill shot. Smirking coldly, he unleashed a flurry of finishers, wiping out the mercs, blocking his exit. Li Wuchang watched from the sidelines. Yo, path's clear. Aren't you in a rush? He slapped Weasel's shoulder, passing the baton to the rookie. I'll handle the cleanup. You go. Kimax, who was talking big a second ago, suddenly looked ghost pale. Muttering his fallen squad's names like a broken record, Li Wuchang sprinted away, locking onto his main objective. Running the numbers while he moved, Chief Zhang allied with Zhorang. Since when did the difficulty spike this high? Cut to another location, Taehyung Ryu scanned a dossier, a sly grin forming. This guy has potential. But will he take orders from amateurs like us? The handler with glasses sat across from him, voice steady. Director Taehyung, you know why we're the experts, right? Li Wuchang kept sprinting, fueled by one simple rule. No cash, no clash. The sound of a revving engine crept up behind him, making him think of his employer. I pledge allegiance to the highest bidder. And looking at it that way, that guy is. The reflection of a biker in all black, gripping a crowbar, flashed in his helmet visor. The agent realized, an apex predator. Boris, the bald assassin, marched a legion of suits toward the skyscraper. His army halted, poised for a server-wiping raid on the enemy base. Inside a car, the glasses handler drove, muttering under his breath, man, I still hate getting my hands dirty with gang drama. Beside him, the silver-haired vet growled, face twisted in confusion and rage. I zeroed Isu, definitely. Why? How is he still breathing? The handler replied, coldly dripping with sarcasm. Should have double-tapped genius. He kept pouring salt in the wound. If you'd brought the corpse as proof, we wouldn't be in this mess, would we? The veteran went quiet. His face darkened at the roast. Suddenly he slammed his fist down, voice cracking with bitterness. Aha. Right, I should have dragged his body back. Why was I so stupid? He screamed, unhinged. Face distorted, losing it completely. Bring the body back, I should have seen this coming. The handler checked the rear view, sighing. Whatever, just get it done. The biker thug Deadline swung his crowbar with a menacing growl. You agree, don't you, Isu? Whoosh. Li Wuchang's reflexes were god tier, barely slipping past Deadline's skull-crushing overhead smash. He recognized the threat level instantly. Whispering Deadline, wait, didn't Zion intercept them? He pulled his blade into a guard stance. The agent's mind raced, connecting the dots of a massive setup. Don't tell me. Chief Zhang. Li Wuchang has zero exit strategy. He's backed into a corner, forced into a savage deathmatch with Deadline, and the chaos factor just went off the charts. Suddenly, the scene shifts flashback mode. We're in the Afghanistan kill zone, where masked insurgents wave AKs like they own the place. In this godforsaken sandbox of endless dunes, survival isn't a right, it's a brutal daily contest against the elements. Heads snap up as dirt bikes launch off the ridge, screaming through the air like mechanized hawks invading their turf. Enter the 66th Ranger Battalion SOCOM's elite sweep crew. The squad radios in, sector secure, ready for cleanup. The dust settles over a graveyard of bodies and scattered tech. One operator kneels, inspecting the enemy loadout. But wait, that's allied hardware. The mission profile just shattered. A helmeted ghost walks away, gripping a briefcase tight. Behind him, a hog-tied insurgent struggles in the sand. Mission accomplished ice cold. In a game of fatal variables, you have to carve your own exit. That lone rider cutting through the desert darkness, let's call him Isu. One man, one machine tearing into the void. His legacy of blood starts right here, revving through the night. Midnight in the wasteland. Isu rolls up to a remote outpost, briefcase in hand, and bangs on the gate. Inside, fingers tighten on triggers. The locals watch the uninvited guest like hawks, sensing trouble. The door creaks open. A quick swap cold metal case for a heavy black bag. Fast and dirty. Strictly business between outlaws. Deal done. Isu mounts his dirt bike without a word and kicks the starter. He peels out, dusting the wretched hideout. But the desert has teeth, and it's not just the humans biting. Giant vipers lurk in the shadows. Isu throttles up, totally ignoring the lethal wildlife waiting to strike. Back inside the base, the prize isn't just cash. It's a countdown. Tick, 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 inside that briefcase. Boom! The night sky rips open. The fireball is so massive it vaporizes a stalking snake as collateral damage. The goons are busy hyping up their new rifle, clueless that they just signed their own death warrants. They huddle around the case. The boss flips the lid and freezes. That's not a payload. It's a bomb. Panic hasn't even hit his face yet, when whoosh, a glowing red crowbar swings out of the void. Aimed right at his skull. Crack, game over. The leader drops like a sack of bricks, head crushed. His lackeys freeze brains, short-circuiting at the gore. Then the grinding sound of motorcycle tires breaks the silence. It's Isu, the predator known as Deadline. Crowbar dripping engine screaming, he tears up the sand. He's prepping to bounce. Survivors just stare, realizing they messed with the wrong Reaper. Isu guns it. The timer on his bike flashes a deadly red warning as he vanishes, leaving deep ruts in the sand. Behind him, just screams and another impending fireball. Flashback over. Back to the now. The target nobody touches. Isu throttles forward, closing the gap like a missile. That red crowbar arcs through the air, aiming to delete the silver-haired vet. He targets the vitals. But the real weapon, the high beams blasting straight into the assassin's eyes. Total washout. The vet is swimming in after images, blinded by the sudden flare in the dark. His pupils can't catch up. He mutters, realizing he swallowed the bait hook, line, and sinker. My vision? It's gone. That was the plan. Clang. Even blind, the guy's a pro. Muscle memory takes over. The assassin lashes out his knife, slicing the air with lethal precision, aiming for where Isu should be. But the blade hits. Nothing. Empty air. The vet pauses. In his hand, not a weapon but a phone. Isu pulled the ultimate switcheroo. Isu stares him down, ice in his veins. He owns this game. Crowbar ready, engine purring. Checkmate. Meanwhile, at the luxury tower, another brawl is spiraling out of control. Team Tayson is getting crushed. A tatted-up heavy screams, "Hold the line, you cowards." One loyalist gets pinned by the Jurong crew, shrieking, "Kill these Jurong dirtbags, wipe them out." Comms are dead, no director, no Chief Ha. It's a massacre and Tayson's crew is getting folded. They're dropping like flies. Then Zion steps in, clicking his tongue. Pure annoyance. "Seriously, Chief Jang, why bring this trash here?" A commander roars, no retreat. Mid-shout, he catches a knife to the gut. He grinds his teeth, refusing to fold despite the agony. Chaos everywhere but Zion cool as a cucumber. He throws a devastating hook, silencing a thug instantly. The goon eats asphalt, totally immobilized under Zion's polished dress shoe, struggling like a bug. Zion casually dusts off his palms, dropping a savage one-liner. "Come on, is this really the best you low-level thugs got?" In a heartbeat, Zion dives headfirst into the mob, soloing the entire squad like it's a video game. A Jurang boss is screaming his lungs out. Flatline every single Tyson guy, wham. He eats a devastating haymaker right to the jaw. The silver-haired geezer's punch launches him, plastering him against the brick wall like a poster. Total knockout. The old-timer glares at his bruised knuckles, groaning. "Freaking hell, I just wanted to chill on my vacation." He cracks his neck, a devilish smirk forming. "But hey, since Jin Wong asked nicely, I guess I'm clocking in." The Jurang punks turn ghost white, stuttering as they clock the living legend Gudo. "Wait, why is Chunho Choi standing here?" Zion spins around, catching the name Gudo, and starts sizing up the threat level. The old man, Chunho Choi, steps up, cutting off Zion's route. "Yo kid, you don't possess the vibe of someone from our world." Zion keeps his face stone cold, firing back with zero hesitation. "Shame. This is our first playdate too." Chunho Choi buttons his blazer, dropping his credentials: CEO of Ilhwa Capital, representative of Gudo. Rip. He tears the jacket off, flexing a physique that's absolutely shredded, and announces, "But today, I'm riding with Taizong, acting chief of security, strictly temporary." Zion slides his glasses off, letting out a heavy, annoyed sigh. What a drag. The Soul Legend is back in the game. Ilhak, the crew that ran the Underworld back in the day. Chunho Choi was a literal combat machine soloing armies. He was the blade and the ego of the Ilhak Syndicate, leaving nothing but a graveyard in his wake. Snap back to reality, Chunho growls, calling out the trash. "So who's stepping up? Where are the real men at?" "I, Chunho Choi, am throwing hands for Tyson today." A Jurang goon glances over terrified while Zion watches calmly, calculating internally. What's his angle here? Suddenly, a hulking guy in a white dress shirt steps out, throwing shade at Chunho. "Yo, Gramps, did your son forget your allowance? Why are you playing gangster with the kids?" Chunho clenches a fist, spitting back with pure disdain. "Ho ho, you definitely ain't a local, are you, insolent little brat?" The brute Park Chung-hoon skips the small talk, rushing in with a massive sledgehammer punch aimed right at Chunho's grill. Chunho weaves past the blow by a millimeter and snaps a lethal hook into the guy's gut. Park Chung-hoon stumbles back but instantly re-engages, throwing a punch with scary velocity. Fist meets fist. Literal sparks flying from the impact. Both of them are built like tanks. Park Chung-hoon grabs Chunho, snarling etiquette. "What kind of nonsense are you spouting?" He drops his own bio, Park Chung-hoon, ex-military. Police dishonorably discharged for extreme violence and insubordination. Cut to Isu. He's staring down a new threat, a motorbike assassin screaming toward him. Isu grips his injured arm, knowing the clock is ticking. The assassin revs the engine to the red line. Vroom. The bike roars, shooting toward Isu like a missile. He pops a wheelie, setting up for a high-risk aerial strike. Isu calmly breaks down the physics linear charge velocity assisted, targeting the frame. The biker launches off the seat, throwing a wicked spinning kick mid-air. Isu ducks the foot, but the guy swings a glowing red crowbar downward, with skull-crushing force. Isu flinches, surprised. This isn't an amateur. This guy is a pro. The assassin lands with cat-like grace, instantly hopping back on his ride. He guns the throttle, drifting wide to build up speed for round 2. Tires screech against the asphalt, leaving burning rubber tracks, signaling a charge way deadlier than the last one. The assassin lifts the front wheel again, raising that crowbar high, looking to execute a finishing move. On the frozen Isu, the masked killer swings the steel bar with a heavy slash. Whoosh. Isu dodges by a hair, the cold steel grazing his face and drawing a thin line of blood. As he slips the attack, he tucks and rolls across the pavement. Flawless damage control. Isu gets back on his feet, blood trickling down his cheek, tallying the score. That makes number 5. Variables keep stacking up. The biker is getting ticked off too, muttering Chief Jong Gorong, and now deadline, my schedule is totally wrecked. Isu centers himself, eyes laser focused. Beck Isu stay frosty. Read the opponent, adapt to the chaos. Screech, the assassin slams the throttle, burning rubber in place, getting ready to play dirty. A thick cloud of toxic smoke and dust erupts from the rear tire, blinding the entire zone. Isu clocks the strategy instantly. He's smoking out the area with a burnout. The assassin vanishes into the gray haze. Isu goes on high alert. He's killing my line of sight. Vision is 0. Isu strains his senses, trying to predict a blindside from the left. Or is he targeting my weak right side? The assassin lurks in the smog, monologuing about all the glitches in his plan. Out of nowhere, a massive shadow looms over Isu, a deep voice rattling his bones. But hey, not every surprise is bad news. Jeon Young-ha, the unwavering yaksha, snaps his jacket shut, letting out a tisk. Call this professional. Looks like amateur hour to me. Isu spins around, jaw-dropping at the giant suddenly standing there. How the hell did you? Jeon Young-ha just folds his arms, flashing a cocky, challenge-ready smirk. Well, you gonna wait for a rookie to save you? Cut to a different scene. Park Jong-hoon is rolling his neck, loosening up post-brawl. 2 goons stand flanking their boss. Park Jong-hoon lets out an arrogant breath. He eyes his prey dripping with provocation and disrespect. Yo Pops, opposite him, stands the legendary Choi Chon-ho. His hands are soaked in blood, but those eyes still razor-sharp. You got more grit than I expected, Park Jong-hoon mutters. Clocking that speed, no normal gangster moves like that. He decides to wrap this up fast. The second he shuts his mouth, he moves for the kill, but Gramps is way faster. The old man throws a punch that splits the air. Jong-hoon barely slips it, realizing pure muscle isn't the old man's only ace, and scrambles to create space. Choi Chon-ho roars, pissed that the suits have been messing with the underground flow lately. He gives the kid 0 breathing room, closing the gap and smashing a massive elbow right into Jong-hoon's gut. Jong-hoon doubles over, clutching his stomach, fighting to tank the damage. Chon-ho presses the attack, swinging wild to shut down Jong-hoon's counter. A vicious hook sends Jong-hoon's weapon spinning away. Chon-ho clamps a hand on his face, crushing it. The old man growls, cutting off any comeback. Think you can take us down? By running with snakes? Chon-ho snarls pure disgust on his face. He pulls a blade, aiming to gut the insolent brat right there. Jong-hoon screams as the steel slices his arm. But then clank. The blade stops. Jong-hoon catches it barehanded. Chon-ho's eyes go wide. Kevlar gloves. High-tech cheat codes. Jong-hoon growls, gripping the knife harder. Family. Friends. The crew. That's who we bleed for. Jong-hoon roars, launching a thunderous haymaker straight to Chon-ho's mug. Blood spray everywhere. The legend hits the deck. Lights out. Jong-hoon looks at his blood-soaked glove, smirking. See cake walk. Meanwhile, Isu is icing his arm stone-faced, checking if it snapped or just popped out. Jeon Young-ha steps up, telling Isu to chill about Tyson. I'm good, relax. Standing over a heap of dropped bodies, Young-ha drops a fact: there's a beast in Tyson. Right now, who doesn't know how to lose? Isu warns, he's a pro, but Young-ha waves it off. Pros, please. Suddenly an engine revs. The assassin bursts through the smoke, locked and loaded. Isu grabs Young-ha's shirt, desperate. We need a plan, man. Young-ha yanks free, oozing arrogance. Thinking is for losers. My job is to smash. The assassin raises a red crowbar, coming in hot at breakneck speed, aiming for the finisher. Isu tries to scream, echoing Dako's warning, but it's too late. Young-ha ignores everything, facing the speeding bike head-on. For a split second, he sees Dako. Bloodied, defiant smirk. So what? Young-ha doesn't flinch. Laser focus on the target. Boom, he swings a steel fist directly into the rider's face. The impact cracks the helmet like an eggshell. Pure kinetic energy launches the rider and bike, sparking a mini explosion. Young-ha bellows as the hit connects. We are Taeson. The assassin flies like a ragdoll. The bike disintegrates. Standing tall in the wreckage, Young-ha asks, how's that look, even if they gotta borrow Dako's playbook sometimes? He turns to Isu, who's clutching his jacket, and keeps talking. Face grim, Young-ha finishes, but this time, we gotta be Dako. Cue flashback, a voice calling Isu. Little 11-year-old Isu stands there, sniffling. His twin brother steps up. Waterworks again. 11-year-old Dako face taped up gi on, munching a skewer like a boss. Thought I told you, cry again, you catch a beating, right? Isu whimpers, voice shaking, explaining the 6th graders were trashing Dako, so he tried to step up. Turns out, Do-kyung stood tall amidst the carnage, bodies littered everywhere. He had soloed the entire crew just for disrespecting his honor. He held out a skewer to his younger brother, but Isu turned his cold shoulder, still salty about something. Do-kyung just flashed that signature grin. Fist tight, he dropped a promise. Let him try. Your big bro never takes an L. Cut to the past. Middle school days. A student burst in breathless screaming. Dogyong's throwing hands in the yard again, and he's outnumbered big time. The class stampeded to the windows, but 15-year-old Isu stone cold. He just flipped a page in his book like the apocalypse wasn't happening outside. Isu scowled at the whispers about his brother, murmuring under his breath. Since when does bleeding equal losing? Does crying count as a loss too? The students jammed against the glass, one finger pointing down. Yo, look at that. Ain't those Dogyong Baek's boys? 3 of his crew were huddled up, looking like absolute train wrecks, bruised, battered, and bandaged. Parting the sea of onlookers, 15-year-old Dogyong Baek made his entrance uniform jacket draped over his shoulders like a cape. Radiating pure boss energy, he strolled up to his beat-up squad and let out a heavy sigh. Bruh. For real, he gave the trio a chilly stare. Only 3 of you showed up to the party. A shirtless tank of a human stepped out from the shadows, muscles rippling as he cracked his knuckles. You're painting me as the villain here, aren't you? Up in the classroom, one of Isu's buddies gagged on fear. Wait, that's a high schooler. Dude looks like a pro MMA fighter. The Hulk towered opposite Dogyong. His pressure was suffocating. He jabbed a finger at the bruised underlings, dripping with sarcasm. I gave your boys a warning, but clearly ears are just for decoration. You get the picture now, juniors. Dogyong didn't blink. He locked eyes with the giant voice, steady but lethal. Senior, you graduated already. You're in high school now. Dogyong Baek stared right through the beefcake, serving up his own sarcasm. So what exactly are you doing creeping around a middle school? You lose your mind or something? Or do I need to beat some respect into you? The bully snarled. You little punk. But Dogyong Baek stayed icy. Let's take this outside. No need to give the whole school a free show. He motioned for his battered crew to follow. As they trudged behind him, Dogyong Baek suddenly threw up a hand, signaling the squad to halt. Freezing the air with his tone, he ordered, You guys hold position. I got this. Look at you, you'd just be dead weight. The audience in the windows buzzed, one whispering in awe. Is he seriously gonna solo the whole enemy team? Legendary suddenly Dogyong Baek dropped into a handstand body bent at a perfect 90-degree angle. He shouted full volume, I sincerely apologize, senior. The bully and his goons froze, totally confused. Ignoring the weird looks upside down, Dogyong kept the glaze fest going. I heard you rule J-High. Big fan, huge fan. You must run the place right. The musclehead scratched his cheek, ego fully inflated. Well, something like that. He played the generous king. Ha, I kinda like your style. I was planning to mince you like I did your friends. Then the bully dropped his arrogant condition. Tell you what, I'm feeling benevolent. I'll let you walk. But I'm gonna turn your buddies into paste. Still Dogyong Baek let out a dark sneer. Huh. His grip crushed the ballpoint pen in his hand. His voice dropped to sub-zero temperatures. Damn. I was trying to be polite. Whoosh. No warning, no hesitation. Dogyong Baek drove the pen straight through the meat of the bully's foot. The giant collapsed, shrieking like a banshee in the middle of the yard. My foot, arg. Before the guy could even process the pain, Dogyong Baek launched a devastating kick right to his grill. Growling, You talk too much, you pig. Dogyong Baek flashed back to a kid named Ji-hoon, the one who ran the morning paper route. He remembered teasing him about it. The bully's minions froze, the horror sinking in. But we heard he did that to feed his little sister. Didn't he? Until you shattered his left leg, Dogyong Baek listed their sins while twisting a goon's arm like a wet towel. And Songgok, what trash are you spewing now? He kept the chilling monologue rolling. Songgok picked up a new hobby recently. Snap. As he fractured the thug's arm, Dogyong Baek narrated, he started helping his mom roll kimbap. But thanks to you, he can't lift a hand anymore. The thug crumbled, clutching his ruin of an arm, while Dogyong Baek stared down with pure disgust. I was even going to introduce Ji-hoon to my sis. What a waste. The leftover goons saw their boss wrecked and panicked. They charged in a blind rage, but Dogyong Baek flowed around them like water. One thug threw a haymaker, aimed right for the kill shot. Wham! Dogyong ducked and countered, blasting the guy's jaw. Lights out. No breaks. He snagged another thug by the hair. The guy's face went blank, brain failing to process the beatdown. Dogyong Baek snarled. And our dummy Wusuk. Why'd you have to cave his skull and bam? He delivered a ruthless surprise strike to the head. Dogyong Baek stumbled, struggling to stay upright, while Isu watched from the sidelines, clutching a stack of textbooks. A mob of thugs erupted in a roar. Get him, everyone rush him at once. As the command echoed, Isu's mind flashed back to his brother, always the one standing tall, defying the whole world. You want a piece of me? Come get some, I'll end every last one of you, Isu thought to himself. God, I used to hate that reckless streak of his. He could always do the things I couldn't. Adrenaline spiking, Isu sprinted into the fray. Wham! He unleashed a vicious spinning kick, sending a goon crashing to the pavement. The crowd gasped, stunned silence falling as he stood there drenched in sweat, eyes burning with lethal intent. Huh. Wait, why are you? A thug pointed finger trembling. Isu. The gang froze in pure shock as Isu whipped off his glasses. It was Dogyong Baek's face, perfectly mirrored. What the hell, Dogyong Baek? Why are there 2 of them? Doogyong spun around, eyes wide with surprise. Yo, what are you doing here? Isu snatched a thug by the collar, voice shaking slightly. Bro, here's the thing. Isu cracked a sly, cunning grin. Books just aren't my vibe. No matter how hard I grind, it just doesn't click. Flashback. Doogyong mapping out their future like a kingpin. I'll build the empire. You're gonna be my chairman. Back in the heat of the moment, Isu's inner voice screamed his desire to match his brother's legacy, while the biker thug was sent sailing through the air. Crack. A devastating punch connected. The assassin hit the dirt, sprawled out and motionless. Isu stepped up beside Jin Eung-ha, panting with exhaustion. So what's the move now? Jin Eung-ha remained silent as stone, while Isu let out a bitter laugh. I really thought I could fill Doogyong Baek's shoes, but I'm not even close, am I? He buried his face in his hands, voice cracking with doubt. Honestly, I don't even know who my brother has turned into anymore. Blood streaked down his cheek as he looked up. Isu locked eyes with his loyal enforcer. Be real with me. Who is my brother to you? Do I actually have what it takes to be Doogyong Baek? Jin Eung-ha's expression hardened. I'll give you that answer right now. The yaksha slowly dropped to one knee, showing total submission. Regarding the true nature of Doogyong Baek, Jin Eung-ha looked up, gaze intense. He swore a solemn oath. I will mold you into Doogyong Baek. You will become the supreme symbol of Taizan. Elsewhere, Choi Chun-ho smacked his blood-soaked gloves together. Round 2. The old veteran stretched his neck, scoffing. Look at them. Spirits broken already. Guess we're wrapping this up. I'm getting too old for this. Maybe I should clock out early. In the executive office, director Lee Sung-min watched the chaos, a deep frown etching his face. Choi Chun-ho smirked, eyes gleaming with predatory sharpness. Actually. Might be a bit premature to call it. The old beast growled, pointing a finger at the remaining trash. Come on then, all of you bring it. Cut to another brawl. Choi Chun-ho snatched a white-haired punk by his scalp, roaring. You little punks, need to grow a spine. Meanwhile, Isu's gaze steeled over. He accepted his destiny. He would become the face of Taizan. Back in the alley, the dust settled around Jin, Eung-ha, and Isu. But it wasn't over. The biker thug was clawing his way back up, using his machine as a crutch. Still standing after taking a hit like that. Pecroni, clutching a red crowbar, glanced at his ally. Who the hell is this guy? The other muttered, hell if I know. Heard he's ex-US military or something. Hey, the biker pointed furiously at his shattered headlight, voice dripping with challenge. My damn headlight. You gonna pay for that? Isu blinked, confused. Wait, didn't they say he was a Yank? He's speaking perfect Korean. Jin Eung-ha just smirked. Today keeps getting more interesting. The assassin twirled the red crowbar, spinning it like a pro, ready to dance with death. Jin Eung-ha landed softly, light as a feather, dust swirling around his dress shoes. The giant cracked his knuckles, eyes razor sharp. Guess the kid gloves can come off now, huh? Suddenly, a ringtone cut through the tension. The biker glanced down. The screen of his ancient brick phone lit up. New message. The instructions were clear. The wire just hit. Jorang sent 20 million won. Deposit confirmed. New address, new target. He whipped the bike around, staring daggers through his visor. Tires screeched against the asphalt. Before peeling out, he pointed a gloved finger right at Jin Eung-ha. You, the guy who trashed my bike. I won't forget that mug of yours. He revved the engine and vanished into the night. Isu watched the taillights fade, remarking weird. I thought he was looking for a death match. Jin Eung-ha shrugged, unfazed. He's a merc. He follows the cash. His job here is done. The bike roared down the highway, the rider chasing a paycheck, or maybe just a sweeter deal. Meanwhile, in a high-rise office, the air was heavy enough to choke on. Dead silence. A suit at the head of the table swallowed hard. Even the Taishan crew, Choi Yong-jun, Lee Yoon-ho, and the vet Jong Soo-bin. Everyone held their breath in anticipation. Choi Chun-ho's fist, caked in dried red, clenched tight. The old legend threw a punch that sounded like thunder. This platinum-haired psycho wasn't some low-level NPC you farm for XP. This was a boss battle. One slice to the shoulder told Choi Chun-ho everything he needed to know. This guy plays for keeps. Blink once and it's game over. The old-timer lunged for the kill shot, but Snow White just tilted his head back, unbothered. Fake shock twisted into a savage, bloody grin. He cackled like a hyena. Is that the best you got? Chun-ho froze, rattled by the sheer disrespect. Whoosh! In a heartbeat, the freak was gone. Swish steel carved through the air, crimson sprayed as Chun-ho scrambled back, clutching a fresh gash. Too fast, Chun-ho panicked. Missed my vitals by an inch. Blood soaked his back, disbelief clouding his mind. This kid's strength is unnatural. What sewer crawled out this monster? The killer roared like a beast tasting fresh meat. More, bring me more. He brandished twin blades, dripping with red eyes, blazing with total insanity. Don't hold back on me now. Suddenly Chun-ho cracked up. The vibe, it was identical to Isu's. He launched himself forward, throwing a haymaker from hell. The hook connected massive impact, but the lunatic just screamed in frustration. Wrong, hit me harder. Chun-Ho unleashed a combo, but the guy barely flinched, dismissing every hit with a cold nope. Another primal roar tore from the killer's throat. Chun-Ho realized he couldn't pull his punches here. This was do or die. Slash, cold steel buried itself deep in Chun-Ho's shoulder. A fresh fountain of blood erupted. But Ilhak's finest wasn't folding that easy. Eating the pain, Chun-Ho planted his feet and launched a skull-rattling uppercut. The white-haired demon went airborne. He slammed down, coughing up blood, but that twisted smirk never left his face. That old man, pathetic. Chun-Ho ground his teeth. He was running on fumes. The killer rushed him like a vengeful spirit, screaming for round 2. Come on. But suddenly Chun-Ho pivoted. He barked a sharp command. Everyone fall back. The psycho killer froze, totally baffled. Say what? Chun-Ho doubled down on the order. Immediately, Ilhak's crew started fading into the shadows. Hey, where you cowards going? The white-haired maniac howled at the empty air. Meanwhile, Zion radioed Park Chung-hoon. Jorang flipped the script. We're pulling out. Park Chung-hoon realized the plan just hit a massive snag. Park announced the full retreat. Before the words settled, Zion snatched a handful of Park's hair. Retreat! Zion hissed, fist, trembling eyes leaking, pure murder. You got a fetish for running away, or something. You're really ticking me off. He shoved Park aside, grinning like a shark. The party's just getting started. Zion dialed the boss. Park wasn't having it, screaming into his own headset. They wanted green lights for a massacre, but a voice like ice cut through the noise. Shut your traps and regroup. Now. It was Ryu Taehyung, the Jorang gang's head honcho, pulling the strings. He sounded calm. Too calm. I want Taesun's head as much as you, the boss's voice crackled as the men withdrew. But look at the chessboard, not just the pieces. Cut to the backroom dealings. Lee Sung-min and the old guard listened as Ryu laid it out. Smashing Taesun won't fix this. Ryu smirked, eyes dangerous. We do this the Underworld way. Shadow play. Flashback time. A teenage Park Do-kyung stood isolated, face set in grim determination. Back then he looked helpless. Hey Parrot, little help here. He was yelling for young Isu. An executive asked about the name. Parrot, it means super cool. Isu lied effortlessly. And super strong, the old man bought it. Cut to the nightmare, training a blonde exec pressing a blade to young Isu's throat. Boris, stop, Do-kyung screamed. The Russian assassin shrugged coldly. I know nothing. Shiny dress shoes clicked away, leaving them to rot. Flashback over. Jin Wong stared at Choi Chun-Ho's cast, then at the squad. Wow. Zion, looking sharp in pinstripes, nodded. You guys clean up nice. A staffer handed over the final touches. Isu and Park Do-kyung flanked Sua, radiating pure boss energy. The transformation was complete. Now you look the part. Boris gripped his blade. Isu stepped forward, voice heavy with authority. Time to talk business. Gangster style. Isu leaned back, owning the room. So where do we start? Meanwhile, outside the war room, Choi Chun-Ho packed his gear, grumpy as hell. Humph. I save your butts and I get sent home. Rude. Jin Wong rushed to explain Do-kyung's reasoning. Choi just threw his head back and laughed. Relax, kid, I'm messing with you. He waved a hand. I was bouncing anyway. The food here sucks. But Jin Wong grabbed his arm, eyes dead serious. Senior, wait. I need you to stick around, Tyson, a bit longer. Jin Wong locked eyes with the veteran, his gaze desperate and pleading. Chun-Ho Choi dropped a heavy hand on Jin Wong's shoulder, his voice dropping an octave. I get where you're coming from, kid. Cut to black. Scene switch. Isu peeled open a chocolate bar, totally unbothered. But looking at the mess Tyson is in right now, he tossed a square of chocolate to Boris, who was gripping a knife like a psycho, and continued. I had a thought. Then Chun-Ho Choi cut in, voice like steel. It ain't over. Ilhwa can make a comeback. The old man flashed a grin full of grit and confidence. That's why I gotta go back. Back to my home turf. Chun-Ho Choi signed off. Behind him loomed the massive Ilhwa Capital Tower, but the camera pans to a straight-up slaughterhouse at Ilhwa HQ. Dako Yungol, the fourth sword, drenched in crimson, snarled. You lost. Do you have any clue who you're screwing with? Surrounded by debris and corpses, Dako Yungol hit the dirt, eyes wide in denial. You think Gudo goes down that easy? Guangpal Choi, the seventh sword, out cold on the concrete, totally checked out. And Jongdok Bei, the eighth sword, was face down. Suddenly, Tactical Boots stepped into frame. A stranger muttered, Who the hell sent you clowns? Enter the Silver Maniac and his crowbar-swinging sidekick. He yanked the half-dead Guangpal Choi up by his hair and smirked. Damn, been a minute. You got old, Pops. It was Taehyung Ryu, the boss of the Juran gang. Just trash-talking the Ilhwa OG's pure disrespect. Flashback trigger. Let's rewind to the Golden Age. Back at Ilhwa HQ, when cash was flowing like water and losing wasn't in their vocabulary, the Nine Blades leader bowed low, breaking the bad news that revenue missed the mark to young Master Sungmin Lee. But Sungmin, he played the chill boss card. No heat, no blame. He actually asked how the crew was doing. The heavy hitters of Ilhwa, including red-hair Guangpal Choi, We're kicking back in the conference room, guards totally down. Scarface was roasting Guangpal Choi, acting like everything was peachy, while the guy was hurting. Sungmin Lee laughed it off, admitting he was soft, couldn't hurt a fly, so he relied on his beasts to handle the dirty work. Suddenly the ninth sword, Lee Qiucheng, shot up. Bad vibes. He stepped out to scope the perimeter. The goons reported engine noise downstairs. But wait, they're on the third floor. That shouldn't be possible. Two Ilhwa thugs exchanged confused, looks clueless. Then, V-room. A masked psycho on a dirt bike tore right up the stairs, gripping a red crowbar. The goons froze solid. Jaws on the floor at the impossible sight. Crash. The meeting room doors exploded inward as the biker burst through like a raid boss. Scarface and the leader hesitated, minds blown by this absolute insanity. Zero hesitation. The assassin swung that crowbar, aiming for a skull. Clang. A sickening crack echoed as the crowbar connected with the Nine Blades leader's head. He toppled backward. Blood pouring from his face, one shot, one kill. But the rest of the room, they were the real deal. Battle-hardened vets instantly dropped into boxing stances. Muscle memory kicked in. They were ready to throw down. But facing a rule-breaking monster like this, even the pros started sweating bullets. Then a total anomaly entered the chat. A freaking armored knight, decked out in full plate mail, wielding a long spear, marching into the chaos like he owned it. For the Gudo crew, this bizarre new enemy made them flinch for a split second, and for Day Lin, that pause was a death sentence. The knight rushed him, and the sixth sword barely braced himself against an incoming crowbar smash. His injured arm screamed in protest. It was looking grim. The Ilhwa squad was getting picked apart, some barely vertical, while the biker hadn't taken a scratch. Suddenly, a squad of suits silently rolled up. They stepped right into the biker's path, blocking the way with zero fear. They wore a weird triangle pin. The fourth sword clocked it and roared, "You Juran scum. This breaks the treaty." The Juran leader just sneered, treating the words like garbage. "What's Grandpa yapping about? Wipe them out." That triggered Guangpal Choi, the seventh sword. He went feral, launching into the fray, and scattering the minions with one massive kick. "You maggots," he roared, his aura flaring up, ready to solo the whole room. "Who do you think you're fighting?" But mid-attack, his old leg injury betrayed him. He stumbled. Dako Yungol, the fourth sword, saw it happen instantly. Gritting his teeth, "Damn, Paul's leg is shot. I gotta handle that biker freak myself." The biker didn't pause. He revved the engine and popped a wheelie tire, spinning inches from the sixth sword's face. In a heartbeat, the fourth sword surged forward, snatching the sixth sword by the collar and yanking him out of the kill zone. He shoved his brother back, facing the steel beast alone, and roaring, "Sun Mong, get the young master out of here. We're holding the line." But he wasn't flying solo. Another shadow emerged, grabbing a thug and snarling like a wild animal. Backup had arrived. The eighth sword, Zhang Dokbei, stepped into the chaos, eyes locked on his partner. Bro hit him hard. The biker in the helmet froze. Bad move. He just realized he had a new problem. Wham. Fourth sword, Dakho Young Il, unleashed a devastating kick, sweeping the trash off the pavement. He pushed his squad away, screaming, "Move it, the young master is priority number one." Sixth sword screamed back, begging to stay and brawl, but the eighth sword, Zhang Dokbei, just clenched his jaw, face turning to stone as he blocked the path. The seventh sword, Guangpal, he was itching for a bloodbath. Snarling, "I got this. Let me handle it." Seventh sword's eyes were blazing, ready to go down swinging. To the bitter end. Sun Mong didn't waste another second. He hauled young master Sungmin Lee toward the vehicle, shouting, "Get in the car now." Sungmin fought back, screaming that he wasn't running, but the sixth sword kept it real. Jorang had brought the whole army. It was a death sentence to stay. But Sungmin felt the sting of shame, running away like a coward. "If you drop, we all get wiped out." Sun Mong hissed, voice low and deadly serious about the young master's value. Sungmin bit back, bitter tears in his eyes. "So I'm supposed to survive no matter the price." As the car peeled out into the storm back in the kill zone, the fourth sword knelt in a sea of bodies gasping for air. "Damn it. Even if I have to ditch my brothers to survive." Ryu Taehyung, the boss of Jorang, strolled up with a nasty smirk. "This is how Ilhwa ends. Total snooze fest." He scanned the wreckage of the battlefield, scoffing. Where'd the little prince scamper off to?" The getaway car tore down the highway, desperately trying to shake the tail. Inside, Sungmin spiraled, thinking, "What's the point if I'm the last man standing?" Sun Mong, the sixth sword, white-knuckled the wheel, crushing guilt, eating him alive as he watched Ilhwa crumble in the rearview. When Sun Mong started to say "young master," Sungmin snapped, roaring, "Quit calling me that." He grabbed the front seat, screaming at his subordinate, "When do I stop being the young master? Am I the boss or not?" Before Sun Mong could answer, a crimson blur tore through the dark, flanking the car. Whoosh! That psycho biker caught up, swinging a glowing red crowbar like a maniac. Suddenly, whoosh! A strip of jagged spikes hit the asphalt. It was a trap. Sun Mong's eyes popped, realizing the exit was cut off. Screech! The car hydroplaned, spinning out, through the rain and slamming into the guardrail. The massive impact launched Sungmin forward like a rag doll. Pale and masked in blood, Sunmong turned to the young master, his voice ice cold. This is the end of my line. Hand on the latch, ready to move, he stared right into Sungmin's soul. You know exactly where you need to head. Ilhua's sixth sword, Li Sunmong, looked terrifyingly calm as he grabbed Sungmin's collar, dropping his final order. One last thing. He shoved Sungmin out of the wreck, sending him sprawling into the pouring rain. Sungmin scrambled up. The sixth sword's voice boomed over the storm. You are the boss, Chairman Sungmin. Alone on the empty street, Sungmin crumbled the words echoing in his head. And we, the Nine Blades, belong to Ilhwa. We belong to you. Sunmong slumped in a puddle inside the car, looking broken, defeated. Sungmin looked up, tears washing away in the downpour, that voice still ringing in his ears. Look pathetic all you want. You represent Ilhwa. Sungmin forced himself to his feet, staggering forward. Through the mist, he spotted 3 silhouettes waiting under shelter as the sixth sword's words faded. And if it's for you. Choi Chun-ho and the seniors froze, shocked to see Sungmin emerge from the dark. One of them gasped, Chairman Sungmin. Suddenly, the scene flips. Yisu, battered and bruised, stumbled into view. A shaky voice called out, Bake, bake. Yi Choi Chun-ho panicked, screaming. Young master, but Yisu, playing the role of Do Young, looked down at Sungmin with pure disdain and spat sarcastically. Talk to me, Chairman Lee. You look absolutely pathetic right now. Sungmin Lee swallowed his pride, facing the ugly, jagged truth. I have to lean on Tai-san. I'm begging you, Tai-san. Chunho Choi watched from the sidelines, his expression turning to stone. Hearing his young master forced to grovel to save the Ilhak legacy, Sungmin Lee crumpled, letting his ego dissolve into nothing. Please, save us. I'll stoop as low as I have to. Suddenly, Isu caught the stumbling Sungmin, his voice dripping with fake sympathy. Whoops. Isu yanked Sungmin into his personal space, a smirk playing on his lips. Did you slip? Watch your step. Let's head inside. You're soaking wet. Sungmin froze finally, clocking the face of the man holding him up. It was the notorious director Baek Do-kyung, or so he thought. Meanwhile, one of Chunho Choi's lackeys was tripping over his words trying to report the chaos. Is the Nine Blades, Jorang, just Chunho Choi, cut the mic on him. He signaled for silence. Chill. Speak clearly. What's the fire? Isu still had Sungmin in a vice grip. His tone dropped to sub-zero. Forget that. We're discussing something way more interesting right now. But we haven't made the call yet, he continued, eyes glinting with malice. We're going to absolutely dismantle that council. Just haven't picked a starting point. Isu leaned in, pressing a blade against Sungmin's throat like a lover's whisper. The threat hung in the air. So genius, where should we strike? Cheonwang, HHS. Isu's eyes narrowed into slits. The smile turned sadistic as he dropped the final option. Or maybe, Jorang smash cut to a sterile hospital room, sunbeams hitting the dust motes. A hand ghosted over an IV bag. Sua stood vigil by the bed, eyes glued to the comatose figure. The patient's arm bore that signature ink, a direct line to his vein. This was the real Baek Do-kyung, completely out of commission. Flashback. An old-timer meditating on a temple porch. He casually flicked a lighter for a cigarette, ignoring the no-smoking signs like a boss. This rebel was none other than Lee Sung-hak, the chairman of the Ilhak group, the king of Seoul. Elder Lee was about to take a drag when his grandson Sungmin busted him. I smell smoke. The old man went into full denial mode. I ain't smoking. Who's smoking? But the kid wasn't buying it. Turns out 8-year-old Sungmin was already a savage, gripping a sword and stepping up to his grandpa. I told you I'd bury you 3 feet under if I caught you lighting up again. Chunho Choi, standing guard, started sweating bullets. Seeing his grandson's murderous intent, old man Lee folded immediately. Oh snap. Okay, scary kid, I'm done, I swear, he said, gently coaxing the boy to lower the weapon. The old man tilted his head, asking who taught his sweet grandson to talk like a mobster. Sungmin snitched instantly. It was Uncle Chunho. He said if I talk big, nobody will dare mess with me. Chunho Choi froze, looking like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Little Sungmin turned back to his grandpa, eyes sparkling. Grandpa, you're like a combat god, right? But the old man just waved it off. Sungmin wasn't having it, tugging at the old man's sleeve. Cap, you're the top dog in Seoul. Stop lying. How can you be the boss if you can't fight? The boy pondered. So Uncle Chunho is actually the GOAT. Lee Sung-hak turned away. Time for a life lesson. No, kid. Being the strongest doesn't mean you have the best hands. The elder's back looked massive as he dropped some heavy wisdom. Listen close. The true strongest is the one with an unbreakable spirit. He never bows his head. Ever. Young Sungmin looked confused. He processed the words for a second before blurting out lame. So you really are weak, Grandpa. Chunho Choi face-palmed at the sheer disrespect. Old man Lee just burst into laughter. That was the Ilhak mansion, the heart of Seoul, built by a legend. The elder turned to grill Chunho about his questionable teaching methods. Snap back to the present. Sungmin lay in bed, His gaze was empty. Ilhak and Grandpa, they were just a dream to me. Yeah, just a dream. Chunho Choi, arm still in a sling, rushed over, panic on his face. Young master, you good. Chunho's expression screamed exhaustion, the weight of Ilhak's collapse crushing him. Sungmin's eyes watered as he forced a bitter smile. Because dreams end. Ilhak has fallen. It was destined to crash and burn eventually. In a luxe penthouse, the leftovers of Ilhak, Sungmin, Chunho, and 2 loyalists sat in a silence heavy enough to suffocate. Isu, still cosplaying as Baek, Do-kyung, poured tea with maximum condescension. How's the health, chairman? Sungmin. Chunho stepped up for the traumatized leader. Thanks to the director, he's surviving. Isu just replied with a dry, is that so? While Chunho kept pouring out gratitude he didn't feel. Isu cracked a cryptic half-smile, laughing it off. Detna, forget about it. Let's call it scratching each other's backs. Disguised as Do-kyung Baek, he crossed his legs looking totally unbothered. His aura screamed authority as he set the trap. But I gotta wonder. He stared daggers right at old man Chunho Choi. Does Ilwak actually have the firepower to be useful to us? The old guy started sweating, desperate to please. Of course, Tyson is willing to do whatever it ta. Clink. Isu slammed the teapot down, cutting the chatter dead. Hold up, Mr. Choi. I'm talking to Ilwak's boss. Isu's eyes were razor sharp, his tone dripping with mockery. Or did you decide to steal the crown last night? Despite the pressure, Sungmin Lee stepped up, dismissing his elder. Step outside. I need a word alone with Director Baek. Chunho Choi and his muscled Jin Wong got the hint immediately. They slipped out, shutting the door. Silence. Now it was just the 2 kings left on the chessboard. Sungmin Lee instantly flipped the script. I know we're here to talk business, but first, I've got a question for you. Sungmin Lee didn't blink, drilling his gaze into Isu while dropping a massive truth bomb. Baek Isu. Or should I say, the real Shadow King of Taesan? He didn't give Isu a second to breathe, firing off another lethal question. Where is Baek Do-kyung hiding? Isu didn't flinch, his face a mask of absolute zero. His mind raced, dissecting the play. Mr. Lee, barely a minute ago, you were convinced I was Do-kyung. Guess you haven't looped Choi Chan-ho in on my little secret yet. Sungmin shrugged, admitting the bluff. I saw you scrambling to cover your tracks, so I just played along. That's when Isu flipped the script, launching a psychological counterattack. His voice dripped with mockery. Are you trembling because it just hit you? You're staring down a monster you can't hope to control. The temperature in the room seemed to drop as Isu's eyes turned predatory. If you're scared, stay scared, he warned, his voice a low rumble. Don't try to test me just to hide your own fear. Sungmin felt a cold sweat break out instantly. It was obvious. He was crushing under the sheer weight of Isu's aura. He quickly pulled himself together, deciding to fold for now. Fine, let's talk shop. Are you seriously planning to team up with Ilwak? Isu took a slow, deliberate sip of tea before shooting him down. Hard pass. Ilwak is washed up. Weak. Not worth my time. Sungmin's brow furrowed, doubling down. I asked if you could help us, not if you wanted to. Isu slammed the teacup onto the table with a sharp clack. He rephrased the situation, asserting total dominance. I'm not asking for your take on things. I'm asking exactly how a guy like you brings value to the table. Sungmin finally played his ace. Taesan has officially declared war on Jorang and the council, but can Tyson survive that fight alone? Sungmin tried to salvage his pride, puffing up his chest. As the head of Ilwak, I can make Jorang pay for breaking the council's treaty. Isu cut him off mid-sentence, brutal and efficient. Ilwak is pathetic right now, sure, but you're missing the point. He locked eyes with Sungmin, staring deep into his soul, his tone freezing the air. The weak link isn't the gang, Lee Sungmin. It's you. Sungmin froze, tongue-tied, sweat pouring down his neck, as Isu delivered the final emotional gut punch. Without the 9 blades babying you, would anyone even look twice at a kid like you, let alone call you boss? Cut to the glitzy HHS entertainment tower in Gangnam. A lackey gaped at the luxury, while inside, Taehyung Ryu lounged like royalty, a nasty smirk plastered on his face. Hotels are boring. Should have put my money into office space. Beside him, Songhan, the CEO, looked ready to snap. Quit yapping. How are you fixing this disaster? Why go after Ilowak first? Taehyung scoffed, pure arrogance in his voice. Because I felt like it. Problem? I've never been one for thinking before acting. You know that. Songhan warned him that he couldn't cover his tracks this time, but Taehyung waved it off, claiming this chaos was all part of the master plan. The next meeting would expose everything. He let out a maniacal cackle when Sungmin's name came up, revealing the meeting spot was a calculated trap, designed specifically for the young master. The venue? Lee Sung-hak's private residence, the home of the Ilwak patriarch. It was a power move, pure humiliation. Sungmin, decked out in a fresh suit, clenched his jaw, realizing just how dirty Taehyung was playing. As he marched toward the gate, Jorang's thugs started whispering, their voices dripping with venom. This ain't a playground for tourists. Who's this clown? A bald goon burst out laughing, sneering. Wait, don't I know this guy? Or am I tripping? Isu's harsh truth replayed in Sungmin's head on a loop. Without the 9 blades, you're just a pampered prince of a dying empire. Lee Sung-hak's men clocked him instantly, jumping in on the roast. Oh look, it's the Ilwak young master. Daddy let you out for grown-up business? A cigarette butt flicked through the air, bouncing off Sungmin's shoulder, the ultimate sign of disrespect. Sungmin bowed his head, voice dropping an octave as Isu's lecture burned in his brain. You have to be the boss. Match the sacrifice the 9 blades make for you. Suddenly, Jongman Sok, a heavy hitter from Jorang, blocked the entrance like a human wall. Council's in session. Only the big 4 are allowed inside. Staring up at the giant, Sungmin remembered Isu's challenge. Prove yourself to me. He growled, low and dangerous. Move. Mansuk blinked, confused, just before Sungmin snapped, roaring like a wild animal. I said, move your ass, you fat tub of lard. Boom! A massive crash at the gate made the goons inside jump, wondering what kind of war just started outside. Jongman Sok was flat on his back, and Sungmin stood over him, knuckles bloody, eyes screaming murder. Another thug rushed him, swinging a baseball bat and screaming, you psycho, you know where you are? Crack! The bat connected square with Sungmin's skull, a hit that would have dropped a normal guy instantly. Vision swimming, Sungmin flashed back to Choi Chan-ho's. Lesson from the old days. Sungmin, you don't need to be a fighter, but your spirit has to be bulletproof. Never bow your head when your family is on the line. That memory was like a shot of pure adrenaline. Sungmin snapped back to reality. He slid under the next swing and fired off a lightning-fast uppercut. Sungmin Lee got right in the thug's grill, leaving the guy paralyzed. He gripped the man's collar, eyes locking on with a feral, savage glint that sent shivers down his enemy's spine. Crack! A brutal headbutt dropped the goon instantly. The partner freaked out, whipping out a blade and screaming, "Who are you, you psycho?" Suddenly, a delivery guy rolling a cart drifted by, clocked the knife, and sighed, "Really?" While the thug was still processing, the delivery guy coldly caught his wrist. "Yo, chill out." Smack. With a lightning-fast chop, he disarmed the thug, leaving him frozen like a statue. The delivery guy tipped his cap back, revealing Zion's sharp eyes, crooked grin, looking totally unbothered. Zion dusted off his hands, roasting the low-level grunts. "NPCs like you need to stay in your lane. The main event inside is for bosses only." Sungmin didn't even look back, marching straight toward the lion's den. He headed right for the summit. Inside, the big 3, Taehyung, Ryu, Haesung, Han, and Yuhua Cha, were already waiting. Lady Boss Yuhua Cha cut the silence, voice razor-sharp. "Where is Ilhak? And honestly, you all need to take this meeting seriously." The blonde boss, Haesung Han, dropped the bomb coldly, while Taehyung Ryu rubbed his head. "Ilhak is a no-show." Taehyung smirked, blowing smoke rings with pure arrogance. "Makes you wonder who's gonna get scratched off the guest list next, huh?" Lady Boss Yuhua Cha slammed the table, rising up. "Jurang, you think you can just do whatever you want?" Bam! The doors kicked open. Sungmin Lee strode in, knuckles dripping fresh blood, commanding the attention of every boss in the room. Sungmin Lee, face stone cold, called out the Jurong boss directly. "Yo, Taehyung Ryu." Taehyung Ryu kept that smug look plastered on his face, cig dangling from his lips. "Nobody gave you the memo, huh?" Yuhua Cha and Haesung Han watched in silence, the air heavy with tension as Sungmin warned, "No smoking allowed in here." "You punk." Taehyung didn't flinch, raising the cigarette to his mouth. "Let me tell you what I told the landlord." Swish! Sungmin snatched the smoke right out of his mouth, eyes burning holes through him. "Light up again, and I'll bury you 6 feet deep. You little shrimp." Cue the flashback. The Golden Era Seoul was once the playground of Lee Sung-hak and the Ilhak group, back when Ilhak's shadow was the law, and Lee Sung-hak was the undisputed king. The old boss had big dreams of entering politics, but that ambition crashed and burned. His symbol of power shattered. The Ilhak Empire started cracking, and every other faction swarmed in like vultures to pick the carcass clean. A full-scale turf war exploded across Seoul, turning the streets into a bloodbath. But the chaos ended when a single hand stabbed a knife into the map of the city. Chairman Lee Sung-hak, refusing to let his city burn, made the executive call to stop the war. The old boss's eyes held absolute conviction, a decision that rewrote the Underworld's history. He carved the turf into 4 sectors, like limbs of a body, and crowned the leaders of those sectors as official bosses. Boss Yuhua Cha finished the history lesson, and that is how the 4 Great Powers Council was born. Boss Yuhua Cha didn't back down, pointing an accusing finger at Taehyung Ryu. "And yet you spit on Chairman Lee's legacy, disrespect the council, and attack Ilhak?" Her eyes narrowed, dropping the ultimatum. "Give us a valid reason, or Jurang becomes public enemy #1. Taehyung Ryu just chuckled, fishing for another cigarette. Man, you talk like you own this club. He popped the cig in his mouth, taunting her. If you say so, I wonder who's gonna go missing before the next meeting. Yu Hua-cha froze, stunned by the sheer audacity. But then crash. The doors flew open. Sungmin Lee walked in, hand still bleeding, turning every head in the room. Silence screamed as blood trickled down his face. Sungmin Lee shouted his enemy's full name. Hey, Ryu Taehyung! Taehyung Ryu looked up, arrogance untouched. Guess nobody told you the rules yet, huh? He went to light his cigarette, still mocking the newcomer. Let me repeat what I told the owner of this building. Snap. Sungmin Lee grabbed the cigarette, eyes blazing a warning. Smoke here, and I'll put you 6 feet under. You damn shrimp. Sungmin Lee slumped into a chair, letting out a heavy, dangerous sigh that filled the room. He fixed his tie, scanning the place like he stepped in gum. Is this a kennel? Smells like a bunch of stray mutts in here. Bang. Taehyung Ryu smashed the table, cackling like a maniac. Ha ha ha. Look who finally grew a pair. Young Master Sungmin. He growled, looking half impressed and half disgusted. Finally acting like a man. I almost ended you back then. Did a near-death experience change you? Sungmin just smirked through the blood. Getting my skull cracked open was exactly the wake-up call I needed. Yu Hua-cha smells blood in the water. She turns to Sungmin Lee. Since Ilwak is finally at the table, spill it. What went down with Jorang? Sungmin points to his fresh wounds. His voice drops, cold as steel. Proof's right here. Jorang jumped Ilwak. And literally seconds ago, right outside that door, they tried to finish the job. Director Haesong Han takes a slow sip of his wine, letting the silence amplify the accusation. Jorang shattered the council's sacred no-fighting rule and snatched up Ilwak's territory. That is a straight-up violation of the truce. Sungmin locks eyes with his enemy, his stare cutting deeper than a blade. He drops the hammer. So, as the head of Ilwak, I am calling for Jorang's immediate removal from this council. Strip them of their business rights. Who's got a problem with that? Taehyung Ryu? Ryu doesn't even blink. Problems? Nah. You nailed it, young master. I did every bit of it. But then he pulls his ace, slamming a photo onto the table with a twisted grin. But you got your timeline twisted. Wasn't Ilwak the one who threw the first punch? The photo tells a damning story, showing Sungmin Lee passing a stack of papers to a Taeson rep. Ryu sneers. Looking pretty cozy with Taeson, aren't we? Even handing out presents. Boss Yu Hua-cha and director Haesong Han stare at the evidence, totally blindsided. They can't figure out Ilwak's angle. But Sungmin Lee? Even masked in blood, his expression stays frosty. He fires back. Wrong. Those files were strictly about one sink. Had zero to do with you, Jorang scumbags. Taehyung Ryu scoffs, keeping up the performance. Everyone knows Taeson and Jorang have beef in Hanam. So you figured. This was the perfect shot to push Taeson out, right? He spins a sob story about his branches getting raided. Then he flips the script, pinning it all on Ilwak. He points a finger straight at Sungmin. Bottom line? Ilwak hired mercenaries to hit Jorang. You drew first blood, Ryu growls, backing his prey into a corner. Am I lying, Ilwak? Let's see you talk your way out of this one, young master. Sungmin stays dead silent. He knows he walked right into a trap. He can't drop the truth about the one-sync files with this audience watching. Taehyung Ryu straightens his collar, playing judge, jury, and executioner. He struts forward, oozing confidence. So here's the verdict. I say Ilwak's boss, Sungmin Lee, takes the fall for trashing the council's treaty. He doesn't stop there. And because of that, I say we burn this whole useless council to the ground. That is how real gangsters handle business, right? Flashback time. A crafty old advisor had already broken this down for Sungmin. Jorang knows the council is Ilwak's shield. They are gonna try to dismantle it. Sungmin had asked, then why even bother showing up? The old man gave it to him straight. I told you, you gotta walk in there and prove you are the real Don. The advisor's words ring in his head. On the big day, just be the boss of Ilwak. Snap back to reality. Yu Hua-cha snaps. She slams her hand on the table, screaming at Ryu. Taehyung Ryu, have you lost your damn mind? But Sungmin Lee, blood dripping from his eye, just leans back in his chair and drops a bomb. He looks completely unbothered. Screw it. Do whatever the hell you want. Taehyung Ryu laughs, mocking Sungmin's attitude. You giving up already? Or are you gonna get on your knees and beg? Yu Hua-cha shoots Sungmin a disgusted look. Are you two buddies now? You siding with Jorang? You boys are making a huge mistake. The boss lady snaps her fingers, her gaze turning icy. You picked the wrong day to start a war. Sungmin keeps his poker face. Cause I didn't walk in here solo. A massive shadow materializes right behind Yu Hua-cha, dagger glinting in the light. It's her personal hitman. He presses steel against a Jorang goon's neck. You want to keep playing? Go ahead. but it is gonna cost you at least one head. Sungmin clocks the assassins. These are Chunong's legendary enforcers, rumored to be operating out of China. Taehyung Ryu feigns terror. Whoa, shivers down my spine. He leans over the table. He brushes off the Chunong threat like it's nothing, slumps into his seat, and pivots back to Sungmin. What about you, Ilwak? The boss in the red jacket sneers. You lost your Nine Blades crew, didn't you? You ain't walking out of here. Taehyung Ryu gets uncomfortably close to Sungmin's face. You shouldn't have tried to hog all those one-sync files. For yourself, don't you think? Sungmin Lee smirks through the blood, eyes gleaming with cunning. You are right. Way too big for just me. Suddenly, Sungmin stomps his heel down hard on Taehyung Ryu's shoe. Total disrespect. Right on cue, a goon bursts in from the hallway, screaming, "Hey!" The doors slam open. A suit struts in, dropping the red jacket boss's name like it's trash. Ryu Taehyung. The guy's got pure swagger, waving like he owns the joint. Let's play, Taehyung. He scans the room with zero fear, then hits them with that fake innocence. Whoa, why so serious? Did I kill the vibe? It's Isu, playing the role of Baek Do-gyong. He rolls in with 2 tanks for bodyguards, acting all sorry. My bad, looks like I'm the only one running on late time. Totally on me. Ryu Taehyung freezes, blood draining from his face the second he clocks the new player. Baek Do-gyong, you said you wanted 0 parts of this council. The hell are you doing showing your face here? Isu smirks, delivering a verbal backhand. Yo, you absolute moron. You're the one who claimed the deal and the council were dead. What's going on inside that thick skull of yours? Ryu sneers, throwing shade at Lee Sungmin's connection to the top dog. Sungmin doesn't flinch. Yeah, we're tight. Sungmin holds his head high, dropping the bomb in front of the whole crew. Because he is our chairman. Isu steps up, fully embodying the Baek Do-gyong persona, and lays down the law. Taesan honors the final wishes of the late chairman, Lee Sung-hak. He clamps a heavy hand on Sungmin's shoulder, a total power move. We're backing Il-hak, and Lee Sung-min is the chairman. Isu shoots daggers at Ryu Taehyung, voice dropping to a growl. So buckle up, Jorang. I'm taking you guys apart first. He pivots to the other bosses, eyes cold. As for you two, listen up. You either respect the legacy of Elder Lee Sung-hak and his right-hand man Choi Chun-ho, or go back to being 2-bit thugs playing dress-up as gangsters. Isu's smirk drips with disdain. Actually, never mind. Your faces tell me everything I need to know. Boss Cha Yu-hwa stays quiet, but behind her, her top guard silently unsheathes a blade. Message received. The Cheonan faction has picked a side. Isu spins on his heel, signaling his boys like it's a wrap. Shall we bounce? He addresses Sung-min with a new title, officially cementing his rank. Chairman Lee Sung-min. Once they're clear, Isu checks on the guy, who, looking like a bruised peach, grumbles. Do I look okay? You couldn't have shown up 5 minutes earlier? Isu smugly replies that his main character entrance was worth the beatdown. Suddenly, a voice from the stairs cuts through the air. Oh dear, looks like I'm tardy. Chief Jong glides up the steps, playing the confused old man card. First time here, got turned around. Isu freezes, his eyes going wide as he clocks the monster. The traitor adjusts his glasses, a snake-like smile creeping onto his face. Oh, long time no see. Jong locks eyes with Isu, mocking him. We finally meet again. You must be Baek Do-gyong? Isu's cool facade cracks. He glares at his nemesis, a low growl escaping his throat. Jang. Jong strolls up the stairs, scoffing. Didn't expect to run into you here. Meanwhile, Sung-min, leaning on Choi Chun-ho, is stunned hearing the name drop. Did you just say Chief Jang? It hits Sung-min like a freight train, fury twisting his bloodied face. That old man? He stares at Jong's back, realizing this is the puppet master. Behind 1-6 fall and every nightmare they've faced, Sung-min screams a desperate warning. Director Baek. Isu doesn't flinch. His killing aura explodes, blade ready to taste blood. Inside Isu's head, the math is already done. 2.1 meters. I could end you in seconds. Flashbacks hit hard, a younger, naive Isu being played. Just like you did to us back then, using us for your own game. The man who built this monster was Chief Jang, cruel smile, gun in hand, ready to pull the trigger without blinking. Isu stands his ground in the now. This is the Baek Isu you created. Jang faces him, eyes full of arrogant smugness. Isu fires back with a gaze sharp enough to cut glass, pure, unfiltered hatred radiating off him. Isu coolly whips out a pack of smokes. So don't call this hesitation. He pops a cigarette between his lips, staring death in the face. Chief? He offers the stick to Jang, asking with loaded intent. Got a light? Jang strikes the flame, mortal enemies nose to nose, their reflections dancing on Isu's blade. The lighter snaps, the flame igniting in silence tight enough to snap. Jang starts the mind games, fixing his tie like he's bored. Heard things, got a little messy. After the funeral, Director Beck. Isu exhales a gray cloud, knife still gripped. Yeah, maybe. Is it handled? Jang sneers, that cunning glint sparkling in his eyes. I think I know who the rat is. Just can't prove it yet. Isu stares deep into Jang's soul, voice 0 degrees Kelvin. But seeing you come all this way, I've got the perp dead to rights now. Chief Jang squinted, his voice dropping to a guttural growl as he pressed the issue. So, what's the play? If I were in your shoes, I'd have ended you right here. Isu blew a cloud of smoke, his stare cutting like a razor. But one body dropping isn't going to fix a mess this big. Chief Jang went quiet, absorbing the hit. The mental chess match between these two old foxes is redlining. Isu turned away, casually flipping his knife in the air, declaring, "Catch you on the flip side, Chief." He tightened his grip on the handle, dropping one last heavy threat. "Next time our paths cross, I'm showing you real pain." Chief Jang stood there, watching Isu's silhouette fade into the dark, tension thick enough to choke on. The cunning old man fired back, "Bet. See you then, because I've still got questions about that baby brother of yours." Isu froze for a split second. Chief Jang muttered under his breath, "Wasn't 100% sure before I saw you today." He kept monologuing as Isu walked off. "But I've got a serious hunch now." Isu tossed a reply over his shoulder. Yeah, whatever." He kept juggling the blade, acting like he couldn't care less. Isu's bodyguard barked out, spotting his boss returning. "Director Bake, let's roll." Isu kept his stride. Chief Jang spun on his heel, the two nemesis calling a temporary ceasefire. Isu and his muscle descended the stairs, leaving Seungmin Lee and Chunho Choi in the dust. Isu crushed the knife handle in his palm, veins popping, eyes blazing with pure rage. "Let's go." Cut to the dumpster fire office of Hook Loans, over in Itaewon, where the debt board shows petty cash numbers. Lee Hyung-gu, the boss, smashed the desk, screaming, "Yo, why are we short 46,001? His bald lackey stuttered out an excuse. It's the fruit lady," which just triggered Lee Hyung-gu even more. The lackey recounted the horror story, trembling about the fruit lady's wrestler daughter, who basically scared him soulless. "Her daughter is a beast. Handed me an apple and said, 'Come back tomorrow.'" Lee Hyung-gu clutched his head, tearing up, wailing in total despair. "Oh my god, shut your mouth. How did my Hook empire turn into this joke?" Lee Hyung-gu had a bitter flashback to the guy who wrecked him, that Russian psycho sent by Tyson, grinning like a savage. He also couldn't shake the image of that blonde kid executive who told the one-eyed boss of Hook Loans to retire and go feed pigeons. The one-eyed boss could only grind his teeth watching Zion and his crew walk out, while Zion sneered. Ugh, was that a cockroach scurrying by? Suddenly, boom, Zion materialized right in Lee Hyung-gu's trashy office, wearing that trademark smirk. "Miss me, Cap? Remember my face?" Lee Hyung-gu and Baldy glitched out, stammering nonsense. "Huh? What the hell? Why are you here? You little punk." Lee Hyung-gu was about to blow a gasket when Zion's bald goon intercepted. The goon crushed Hyung-gu's hand, growling low, "Punk? Who you calling a punk?" making the boss shriek in agony. After getting checked, a sweating Lee Hyung-gu was forced to talk business. "So you want the full download? On Joe Rang?" "Exactly. I need their spots," Zion replied coolly. Lee Hyung-gu snapped back. "Didn't you guys already raid my place and loot the info?" Zion took a slow sip of water, eyes narrowing. "I thought we did, but looks like we missed something, or someone. I'm hunting for a specific target." "A target? What is it?" Lee Hyung-gu asked, sensing the vibe shift. Zion stared right through him, voice dropping to 0 degrees. "A person. I need a hideout big enough for 5 people." Lee Hyung-gu froze, realizing the rumors weren't fake. Did Joe Rang actually clap Ilhak and snatch the Gudos? He muttered, horrified, connecting the dots. "The committee's done." Tyson linked up with Ilhak. "It's all real." Zion was losing patience. "What's up with the face? You know or nah?" Lee Hyung-gu quickly forced a nervous laugh. "Ah, my bad, just zoning out." Lee Hyung-gu faked deep thought, then started spilling. 2 spots come to mind. He pointed at the map, flexing his rank in Joe Rang, which Zion immediately roasted. "Oh, so you're just a scrub too? I'll sing like a bird, but one condition," Lee Hyung-gu said, dead serious. Zion raised a brow. "A condition? Shoot." Lee Hyung-gu clasped his hands, bowing like a drama queen. "Let me join Team Tyson." Zion looked genuinely shook, and Lee Hyung-gu explained like a true opportunist. "I need a new gig, right? If Tyson wins, I'm securing the bag." Zion slammed the glass on the table, sealing the deal instantly. "All right, bet." Zion gestured with his chin, chirping happily. "Then let's hit the road, Cap." Lee Hyung-gu looked lost, brain not computing. "Hit the road? Where? Me too?" Zion smirked, knowing exactly what he was doing. "What's wrong? Don't want to join the squad? We ride together then, don't we?" Lee Hyung-gu, pawn shop owner and Tyson's newest temp hire, is officially in the game. In the dead silence of a remote industrial zone, confusion reigns. Another purge has begun. The rusted warehouse door groans open. A harsh beam of light cuts through the darkness, revealing a man bound to a solitary chair. It's Dako Yonggol, Ilhak's notorious fourth sword. He's beaten to a pulp, but his eyes are sharp, scanning the void. Middle of nowhere, he thinks. Enter Ryu Tae-hyung, the Jorong gang's head honcho, strolling in like he owns the place. So, he sneers, circling his prey. How's the accommodation treating you? Cat, got your tongue? He drops into a chair opposite the prisoner. Don't play the tough guy. It's boring. Must be lonely for you old-timers, being split up like this. Maybe I should have booked a double room for you guys. He lights a cigarette, the flare briefly illuminating his grin. Relax, I'm just here to spill some tea. Listen up, Ryu drops the bomb. Taesung, they're Ilhak's property now. Doko's eyes snap wide. Word on the street is young Master Sung Min is taking the chairman's seat. A fox-like smirk spreads across his face. That's why there's a manhunt for your crew. Smoke curls from his lips. Anyway, congrats. Your precious young master is finally the big boss. You raised him right. But now? Jorang is staring down the barrel of a Taesung Ilhak alliance. Dako lets out a low, dangerous growl. You came all this way just to cry about it? Dako spits. Typical. Ryu explodes into manic laughter. What did you say? Ryu stands up, eyes wild with insanity. We are Jorang. What can a broken Gudo and a dying Taesung possibly do to us? He's on a roll now, name-dropping like crazy. Bring on Taesung's Yaksha. Bring on Ilhak's Choi Chonho. Let them team up. He leans in, nose to nose with Dako. We have professionals on our payroll, get it? Dako sneers, ice in his veins. Professionals? Don't make me laugh. I don't know who these so-called pros are. But let's talk about Taesung's side. His gaze sharpens into daggers. Let me ask you this. Who taught you how to wield a blade? Taesung has Dako Yongbek. The thugs freeze, blood draining from their faces as they see Isu channeling the legend himself. Standing in the wreckage of his own making, Isu mutters, "Damn, what a mess. Maybe I went a little overboard." He twirls the knife effortlessly, the blade flashing with lethal intent. An arrogant smirk plays on his lips. He owns this room. Let's run it back. Operation Rescue Gudo is a go. Meanwhile, high up in Taesung headquarters, the pieces are moving. Jin Eung-ha, that towering mountain of loyalty, bows low. Welcome, Secretary Sua. Allow me to handle your bags. The boss is expecting you. Sua doesn't miss a beat, face stony. I'm already up to speed on the situation. Gudo is being held at one of two sites. As they stride down the hall, Jin Eung-ha nods. Straight to business. Impressive. Save the flattery, she clips back. I'm just doing my job. The giant hesitates, then asks, voice laced with concern for the true boss. Any updates on his condition? Sua goes quiet. Her brown hair flows behind her as she keeps walking. Jin Eung-ha stops dead. Director Ha made it clear. Without Baek Do-kyung, Taesung ceases to exist. Sua turns, eyes burning with resolve. I am Taesung's secretary. I will do what needs to be done. You should focus on doing the same. She pushes open the meeting room doors. Apologies for the delay, sir. Let's get started. The screen lights up with two targets. A shady motel in Itaewon and a derelict warehouse in Ishon. Sua gestures to the map, breaking it down for Isu and the crew. These are our hotspots. Jorang has Gudo stashed at one of them. She lays out the harsh reality. They're outnumbered. Hitting both is suicide. We need to focus all firepower on a single target. Isu and the execs lean in, absorbing every word. Plus, Sua adds, we need a rear guard here at HQ. If they counterattack, we're exposed. Isu studies the map, gears turning. The Itaewon motel. It's too quiet around there. No cover. They'd spot us a mile away. Sua nods, gaze turning icy. Logic dictates we strike the warehouse. Forget the motel. Isu makes the call. No army. If we trigger a mobilization, we lose the numbers game. The exec starts sweating bullets but nods along. Going in, guns blazing is a death sentence. Isu stands, his aura filling the room. I'm going in, taking Lee Xian and Rim Kyung Chun with me. Just the three of us. Cut to Sua on comms, while the team is already on site. They're ghosts. They'll recon that warehouse without Jorang ever knowing they were there. Sua flashes a confident smirk. As for the decoy, a figure in a trench coat steps into the grimy Itaewon motel. Isu looms over the reception desk, staring down the beefy clerk. Yo, I'm looking for someone. Isu keeps it chill, but the motel clerk puffs his chest like a budget bouncer. Guest privacy, bro, can't disclose that, especially to a guy looking like you. Isu reaches for his badge, but the clerk waves him off like a fly. Big mistake. Beat it. I'm done talking. Swing. Zero hesitation. Isu whips out his dagger and drives it straight through the guy's palm, pinning it to the cheap wooden counter. The clerk shrieks like a banshee as steel meets nerve. Isu leans in. eyes dead cold. Memory coming back yet? He grabs a handful of hair, slamming the guy's face toward the desk, voice dropping to a terrifying growl. Let me ask you again. Tapping his earpiece, Isu goes rogue. Gudo on site? Forget it. I'm clearing this slaughterhouse solo. Yank. Steel leaves flesh, blood spraying the desk. Ignoring the wailing clerk, Isu turns to face the welcome wagon, a squad of armed goons blocking the hall. Just him against the world. Whoosh. Before they can even blink, the first thug hits the floor, drowning in a pool of red. Speed run mode. On. Surrounded by bodies, Isu casually wipes his blade on a corpse. Chief Jang's lackeys. Classic setup. Guess I got the right address. Suddenly, grab. A heavy hand yanks his collar. A voice like thunder booms from behind. You're barely standing from the last fight, and you're tailing me. It's Chunho Choi, Gudo's legendary. Second blade, towering over the carnage like a tank. This is Gudo family business. Where else would I be? Isu shoots the elder a cocky grin. Easy there, Gramps. Don't pull a muscle. Chunho still thinks he's talking to Baek Dogyong, clueless about the identity swap. Isu lights a cigarette, cool as a cucumber, eyes razor sharp through the smoke. Still don't know who you are, old man. Hate for the chairman to throw a fit if you get broken. Stepping over bodies up the stairs, Chunho breaks the silence. Quick question, Director Dogyong. Isu tosses a glance back, completely bored. Shoot, since you're obviously not busy. Chunho cuts the crap. Why'd Tyson crown our young master as chairman? What's the real play? To keep Ilhwa's traditions alive. Duh, Isu clips. Chunho actually growls, low and dangerous. Spare me the PR script. The old man gets serious. Feds are involved, the committee is toast, and a war is knocking at the door. Isu's face remains a stone wall, shrugging it off, all in just 3 months. So, get to the point. The old man looks away, eyes darkening. Director, I think your fingerprints are all over this mess. He drops the hammer, gaze heavy with pressure. I want Tyson's real endgame. Why use us? Isu spins around, that dangerous smirk returning. You dying to know? Absolutely, Chunho insists. Thought we were on the same team? Suddenly shouting from the upper deck breaks the tension. Intruders. On the stairs. A goon points a shaking finger right at Isu. You scum. Freeze. Isu just rolls his eyes. Quiet down, the grown-ups are chatting. He steps up. You got a problem? Come say it to my face. Stomp. He crushes the railing, launching himself like a human missile. Whoosh. He flies up the stairs, a blur of motion. The goons freeze, panic mode engaged. One shrieks as Isu breezes past. Enemy on his 6? No problem. Isu counters effortlessly, shouting, Chunho, heads up. Clang. He catches a blade with his bare hand while the guy curses. Rain check on the chat. Isu interrupts. Snap. Wrist broken. He hurls the screaming thug down the stairs. Catch. Chunho doesn't even blink. Boom. One massive fist meets the falling body. Blood mist everywhere. Above, Isu lands a supersonic kick, dropping another one. They're scrubbing the stairs clean in seconds. Chunho enters lecture mode. High ground is usually tactical superiority. The mob roars, kill him, rushing down with blades drawn like maniacs. But gravity has a price, the old man muses. Isu's already got one in a chokehold. Makes you predictable. Isu swings his human shield. Thunk. The meat puppet takes the knife, intended for Isu. Silence. Stab. Kidney shot. Slash. Throat open. Another goon gurgles and falls. Chunho waits at the bottom, ready for the trash. One stumbles, Chunho catches the head like a basketball. Slam. Grinds the guy's face directly into the concrete step. Watch your step. Slippery, he deadpans. The duo stands tall in a sea of defeated enemies. Not bad. We got rhythm, the old man grins. One last desperate goon swings a jagged blade, but Isu sidesteps, lazy. Then thwack. A spinning heel kick connects flush with the guy's jaw, sending him airborne. He lands with a pathetic groan. Isu flicks the crimson off his steel, eyes sub-zero. He snatches the last survivor by the collar, blade pressing against the jugular. Wrapping up playtime, Isu towered over the shaking runts at his boots, dropping a casual, yo. A cocky grin plastered on his face, he let the venom drip. That's it? For real? Talk about a buzzkill. The goons went ghost pale at the roast. Word on the street was Joran van hired elites. But you clowns got folded by a low-level thug like me? You're making me look like the MVP out here. Isu struck a pose at the top of the stairs, looking down on his kingdom. Cut to a dusty warehouse in Yongsan. A voice bounced off the walls. We gotta toss this whole place? Li Xian and Rim Gyung Chun stepped into frame, dragging along a mysterious dude in a blindfold. The young steel weasel was salty. Yo, nobody told me he was tagging along. Didn't ask for your permission, kid, Hook laughed, dodging the question about who he was while signaling the squad to hustle. Hook locked onto the spot where the Jurong crew had the hostage stashed, but there was a catch. Steel Weasel snapped, asking why he didn't just say so earlier. Hook shrugged. He only knew for sure after spotting some fresh faces, guys who didn't move like average thugs. As they pushed toward the hotel, talk of a piece caught Sion's ear. He whipped around, eyes lit with dangerous curiosity. Smash cut. An Ilhak lackey let out a blood-curdling scream before getting absolutely deleted from the server in a chaotic brawl. Baek Do-young and Choi Chan-ho were human bulldozers, clearing the map. Yang Jiol, the fourth blade, looked like he went 12 rounds with a truck. Terrified, he gasped. Dude's a monster. He's not even playing the same game as us. Choi Chan-ho, dripping gore, had to give props where they were due. I heard the rumors, but damn, I didn't think he was this level of beast mode. The old man grumbled, standing in a hallway paved with his own men. One surviving Ilhak goon lost his nerve completely, cursed loud, and tried to bail. He didn't make it 2 steps before Baek Do-young delivered a savage kick, launching him face first into the concrete wall. Lee Gyu-chang, the 9th blade, stepped out of the bloodbath, face set like stone. He screamed for Choi Chan-ho, eyes wide with panic. What the hell is happening? The boys are getting slaughtered. Lee Gyu-chang sprinted, pointing the way, trying to rally the troops. Out of nowhere, Isu materialized in a sleek black suit. One hand raised, Isu blocked the path like a traffic cop from hell. Hold up, Mr. Gyu-chang. The 9th blade froze dead in his tracks, his eyes locking onto a white-suited body crumbled at Isu's feet. Isu stared down the stunned gangster, his voice heavy with subtext. Care to explain this mess? Click. Isu whipped out a suppressed pistol and jammed the barrel right against Lee Gyu-chang's temple. Isu's eyes were dead sharks, zero emotion, just waiting for a reason to paint the wall. Flashback to a dark warehouse. Lee Gyu-chang, gripping a heater, confessing he'd barely touched a trigger since his army days. The Ilhak advisor sat across from him, dragging on a cigarette, dropping wisdom. Forget boot camp. This is a whole different ballgame. Lee Gyu-chang shrugged it off, figuring a gun is just a point-and-click interface, and started jamming rounds into the mag with fake swagger. Clack. He racked the slide like an action hero, the metallic snap ringing out in the quiet room. He leveled the barrel at the advisor, playing the part of a hitman. Just squeeze, right? The playful vibe evaporated instantly as Lee Gyu-chang grilled the advisor. You promised my crew walks free if I rat out Ilhak. That's the deal, yeah? The advisor didn't flinch, insisting nobody had been zeroed yet. Everyone was still breathing. He started weaving his web, telling Gyu-chang to use his brain. This was for the greater good. Lee Gyu-chang, holding onto a shred of logic, fired back. Then why hand me the golden ticket? The advisor ashed his cigarette, his voice dripping with disgust. Golden ticket? Please. You're parasites. You useless Ilhak and your blades. He kept twisting the knife, calling the whole gang a bunch of has-beens, watching Lee Gyu-chang's face turn stormy. Gyu-chang ground his teeth. His pride as a blade was getting stomped on, and he wasn't having it. He jumped up, shoving the gun right in the advisor's face, roaring. So you want us, the blades of Ilhak, to ride with the wolves? The advisor smirked, light catching his glasses like a villain. The wolves? Ah, Jurong? Nah. He shook his head. I'm talking about an investment. In you. In the blades. He broke it down. It was the blades keeping the empire running, not that father-son duo, Lee Sung-hak and Lee Sung-min. The advisor stood up, declaring the old labels dead. No more blades, no more wolves. He stepped into Gyu-chang's personal space, whispering, the devil's deal. You, the blades. You gotta be the ones to pull the trigger. The advisor's eyes were razor-sharp behind the lenses, as he dropped the final exam question. More importantly, do you have the guts to smoke someone? He punched every syllable, laying out the hit up close and personal, and with the most precise aim possible. The Ilhak advisor slid the weapon back into Lee Gyu-chang's grip, voice sweet like poison. Just pull. Easy work, right? Lee Gyu-chang snatched the advisor by the collar, barking, I thought you were with Goreng? The man stayed ice cold. We don't join them. We tame them. Not allies. Pets. That's why you're the key. The advisor squeezed Lee Gyu-chang's hand around the gun, sealing his fate. Without a leash, wild dogs think they own the yard. The Ilhak advisor's warning was still ringing in his ears, staring down the barrel of a loaded gun. Meanwhile, Isu, still rocking his Do-kyung disguise, barely swerved a kill shot from a shadow that blitzed past him. Pure instinct. Suddenly, a heavy grip clamped on his shoulder. It was Chan-ho Choi, drenched in blood but pulling Isu out of harm's way. Lee Gyu-chang leveled the pistol at Isu, mumbling a pathetic apology, eyes murderous. But Choi clocked him instantly. Choi stepped up as a human shield, demanding answers. Gyu-chang just froze, stuttering like a coward. Boss Chan-ho, I did this for us. Choi tried to talk him down. For us? Put it down, Gyu-chang. Let's talk. Let me just stay back. Gyu-chang shrieked, cutting him off, voice cracking with hysteria. Tears streamed down his face. It's for Gudo, for our future. You have to see that. Choi stayed ice cool, pressing him. Admit what? Then Q Chung dropped the bomb. I talked to Chief Jong, the ultimate betrayal. He'd sold them out for business rights promised by Chief Jong. Choi was floored. He looked at Q Chang and saw only blind greed. We can be kings now, Q Chung growled. Choi snapped, roaring back. Wake the hell up, Q Chung. He turned his rage on the young master. Why does that kid get the kingdom just because the chairman died? I should be the one running this show. His knuckles turned white on the gun grip. Every bad thing is because of that brat. Choi ground his teeth, slamming a fist against the wall in sheer frustration. Stop it, he whispered, pain in his voice. You sold us out for that? Bang! The gunshot echoed. Choi took the bullet dead center in the chest, flying backward like a rag doll. Blood spilled from his lips, eyes wide with shock. You betrayed the family for Ilhak, Q Chung? Q Chung stammered his boss's name, but the old man cut him cold. Don't. We aren't family anymore. Lee Q Chang. Choi propped himself up against the wall, growling his final verdict. Therefore, in the name of Ilhak, tears of heartbreak mixed with the blood on his face, mourning the betrayal more than the wound, the old man locked eyes with him. I will destroy you. Terrified, Q Chong raised the shaky gun again. Back off, boss, I'll shoot. Choi just laughed. A dark, scornful sound. Don't waste your breath on me. He flicked his eyes behind the traitor. Save your warnings for him. A shadow loomed outside the glass. Crash! Isu shattered the window, flying in like a demon, knife, ready to feast. Lightning fast, Isu snatched Q Chung's wrist. Before he could even twitch a finger on the trigger, he slammed the traitor's arm into the doorframe. Crack! The sickening sound of snapping bone filled the room. Q Chung screamed as the gun went flying. Isu didn't hesitate. He launched a devastating kick, right to the gut. The impact sent Q Chung flying, hitting the wall with a pathetic whimper. He slumped down, totally done. Isu closed the gap, palming the traitor's face and crushing any resistance. Isu's eyes were 0 degrees Kelvin. He shifted his grip, yanking Q Chong up by the collar like trash. Cold steel pressed against the jugular. Another traitor, Isu stated flatly. From the floor, Choi reached out weakly. Director Bake, wait. Isu had the guy pinned, ready to end him, but he froze. He paused. A smear of blood on his cheek, a lethal smirk playing on his lips. He looked back, casual as hell. So, am I not allowed to kill him? Cut to a gloomy, silent warehouse in Yongsan. Inside, Lee Sion sat in the void, waiting. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Then there was the sixth sword. Lee Sun Mong, big shot from Ilhak, hog-tied like a pig, but still running his mouth. What, is it feeding time? He muttered, eyeing the door. Thought I was gonna starve to death in this dump. Huh? Food? Rim Jing Chun popped his head out from the shadows. Nah. We're fresh out, sorry. He stepped into the light, and Sun Mong, tied to the chair, squinted at him. Who the hell are you? Kyung Chun didn't answer. He just casually split a choco pie in half and held out a piece. This enough for you? Total nonchalance. Sun Mong stared at the snack, speechless. I'm keeping the bigger half, by the way. Sun Mong snapped, screaming, Where are my guards? He looked past the kid and saw them a mountain of bodies stacked outside. Kyung Chun answered the unasked question. Where am I from? He smiled. The north. Sun Mong went cold, sweat instantly breaking on his forehead. Then he corrected himself. Scratch that. I'm Team Tyson. The prisoner started freaking out, thrashing against the ropes, demanding to know about the young master. Rim Kyung Chun didn't flinch, casually slicing the bindings with his blade. Chill out, the young assassin soothed, flashing a disarming smile. We already got a squad pulling your boys out, so just vibe for a second. Cut to black. New scene. Another warehouse reeking of iron and death, the floor carpeted in guard bodies. Zion stepped over the carnage, scanning the room. He's gotta be close. Spotting a figure tied up and slumped in a chair, Zion smirked. Jackpot. It was the eighth sword. Zhang Dok Bei, a big shot from Ilhwa capital, passed out cold. Zion crouched down, dropping the sarcasm. Miss me, old-timer? Would be a total bummer if you forgot how hard you beat my ass last time. He grabbed the guy's jaw, shaking him violently. Wakey wakey, you good? Zion asked, his grip tightening on a karambit knife hidden behind his back. Suddenly, Zhang Dok Bei's head snapped up, eyes popping with pure mania. He let out a psychotic screech. Boo! The fake eighth sword launched himself, slashing wildly at Zion, but the blade sliced nothing but air. The imposter froze, confused. Zion stared him down, face distinctively unimpressed. Called it. The silver-haired veteran demanded to know how Zion dodged. Zion simply pointed out that the guy's frame was way too small to be the real Zhang Dok Bei. The assassin stood up, casually peeling off his synthetic face mask. Weak logic. He grinned, arrogance dripping from his voice. Even Isu couldn't have slipped that strike. That name hit Zion like a truck. He froze, disbelief coloring his tone. What? The assassin kept running his mouth, but Zion didn't let him finish. He lunged like a lightning bolt. Clang! Zion's strike slammed into the assassin's ring blade weapon. Zion didn't stop. He ghosted behind the enemy, pressing his karambit against the guy's jugular. "It was you," he growled, voice low and dangerous. "You ended him." The silver-haired vet let out a twisted chuckle. "Oh, yeah." His face contorted into an insane grin as he screamed, "I did it. I gutted Isu." Smash cut to a derelict warehouse in Yongsan district, thick with gloomy vibes. Lee Hyung-gu, a gangster rocking an eye patch, stood opposite Manseok Jung, a bald heavyweight from the Jo-Rang crew. Lee Hyung-gu hyped himself up internally. This was his main character moment. Time to prove he wasn't just trash to be tossed out by the organization. Manseok Jang blocked the exit like a human wall, voice icy. "This is Jo-Rang turf. Get lost before I make you." Lee Hyung-gu snapped back. "Move." Leaving the giant stunned by the audacity, the one-eyed man puffed up his chest, announcing, "I'm Lee Hyung-gu, the Hook of Hanam-dong." Before he could finish the flex, Manseok Jang threw a haymaker right into his face. The bald giant hoisted Lee Hyung-gu up by his collar, growling. The one-eyed man sputtered, trying to explain, "Wait, I'm with Jo-Rang too." Later, Lee Hyung-gu crept into the dark warehouse, voice trembling. "Yo, anyone home?" He froze upon seeing a silhouette bound to a chair. "You're actually breathing?" The hostage was none other than Doko Yungul, Ilhwa Capital's notorious fourth blade, looking absolutely wrecked. Lee Hyung-gu smoothed back his messy hair, trying to look cool despite the situation. "Name's Hook. Hook Loans." He dropped the bombshell, eyes narrowing. "Tyson sent me to spring you." Scene change. Blades danced through the air in the other warehouse, sparks flying. As the deathmatch heated up, the silver-haired killer brandished his weapon, taunting, "What sewer did you crawl out of? And how do you know Isu?" Zion slowly pulled up his hood, radiating the energy of a top-tier pro, not some street thug. He adjusted his mask, leaving only his lethal, focused eyes visible. He stayed silent. The silver-haired man started to mock him again. "Oh, maybe you used to." Zion cut the chatter, closing the distance instantly, knife tip seeking the throat. No words, just violence. Zion thrust his blade with terrifying speed, aiming straight for the Adam's apple. The veteran just smirked, catching Zion's wrist mid-air like it was nothing. Predictable. Going for the kill shot. He analyzed the fight in real time. Fast, precise. Zion unleashed a storm of slashes, but the silver-haired man weaved through them effortlessly. "Gotcha." He snatched Zion's wrist, twisting the arm and exposing the flaw. "You're leaving yourself wide open." The older assassin lectured coldly, sounding bored. "Just as I suspected. You're not even in Isu's league." He wrenched Zion's arm back, sending the karambit skittering across the floor. Much to the enemy's shock, Zion gets absolutely ragdolled by a massive hit, losing his footing and looking totally overpowered. The silver-haired pro plants his feet, smirking as he watches Zion crash and burn true Apex Predator vibes. But then, the assassin freezes. Realization hits him. He walked right into a setup. A thrown knife? He took the hit on purpose, just to create an opening. Zion snatches the dagger out of thin air with zero effort. His voice is dripping with venom. "Oh, look at you. Dodged it. Guess you really are a pro, huh?" Silverhair cracks up, laughing like a total psycho, clearly loving this. "Ha ha ha. Now this is interesting." His gaze turns lethal. Gripping his blade, he hisses, "Don't you dare die easy like Isu did." Cut to black. New scene. Isu in the shadows. Leaning against a luxury whip, Isu takes a drag from his cigarette, face stone cold, just waiting, watching the game play out. Inside the ride, a battered Chun Ho Choi grills his subordinate. Where are they keeping the rest of the 9 blades? The answer comes fast. The abandoned Jo-Rang warehouse. Jin Wong cuts in, panic rising. "Look, they ain't gonna hurt him." Clutching his own gut wound, he pleads, "Boss, you can't go there. They promised everyone safety." Jin Wong is spiraling now, shouting, "Don't you get it? We can't take Jo-Rang. The game has changed, man." Then, the coward drops the ultimate betrayal. "Just hand over the young master and Tae-san to them." Wham! Broken body or not, Chun Ho delivers a thunderous haymaker right to the traitor's jaw. The impact folds Jin Wong into the cramped back seat. The old lion isn't done yet. Chun Ho unleashes hell, raining steel fists on the coward before snatching him up by the collar. Eyes burning with murder, he spits every word like a curse. "Keep yapping. I'll rip you apart." Mouth gushing blood, Jin Wong stammers, "Boss, Ilhak, it's over. It's not the same anymore." Outside, Isu flicks his cigarette away, eyes like ice. Go time. But inside, Jin Wong keeps pushing his luck. He clings to Chun Ho's arm. "Why fight a war we already lost, boss?" Chun Ho's jaw tightens. The grip tightens. Silence screams louder than words. Chun-Ho roars at the flattened traitor. That is exactly why you're wrong. Smash. The old boss's fist goes straight through the car window. Glass explodes. He grinds Jin Wang's face into the shards. Blood everywhere, showing zero mercy. Chun-Ho seethes. Blood trickles from his lip. The reason Gudo fights. He hauls Jin Wang up close. Growling from his gut. Ain't about winning. It's about protecting what's ours. Jin Wang grabs his hand. Sobs rack his body, desperate and pathetic. But how, boss? How do we protect anything with these weak-ass fists? Click. The door rips open from the outside. Isu steps in, making Chun-Ho jump out of his skin. He gasps. Director Do Young Bake? Isu doesn't waste breath. 1 foot in the car. His aura is suffocating. Chun-Ho, still shook, presses. What's going on? Isu's face? Stone. He drops the bomb. It's bad. We're hitting the warehouse. Now. Scene switch. Zion's blade slices air, barely grazing Silverhair's cheek. The vet dodges by a millimeter, taunting, Yo, done playing kiddie games? 'Cause I'm about to get real. Zion doesn't talk, he launches. A supersonic kick tears through the air. Silverhair isn't a rookie though, he slams his arm up to block the hit. Bam! The impact creates a shockwave. Zion presses the advantage, snapping a lethal roundhouse at the guy's skull. The vet stays icy calm, even with blood smearing his face. But the playfulness is gone. Razor-sharp focus. He's ready to kill or be killed. Zion doesn't flinch. Behind the mask, his eyes are glowing with death. Round 2. Let's go. Silverhair swings his ring blade. Zion rushes with dual daggers. Clash. Sparks fly in a high-speed warfare. Wait. The old man freezes, mind blown. Disbelief washes over him. He's reading me? No. He knows my moves before I even make them. Zion triggers a steel wire on his blade, mirroring the veteran's own style. Zion mocks him. People still use this cheap trick? Cold sweat breaks out on the old man. He knows about the wire. He knows about the hidden backup knife. Just as I thought. He is exactly like me. The vet mutters. Panic setting in. Zion comes in like a hurricane. The old man roars wild, whipping his weapon around. Who the hell are you? Zion stays silent. Only speed speaks now. He dives straight into the kill zone. The ring blade slices empty air. Zion is already inside his guard. Zion's gaze was absolute zero, sharper than the steel in his hand. Your type? I've got your entire playbook memorized. The masked assassin spun his dagger with terrifying precision. I know your moves so well, it actually makes me sick. Zion sidestepped the veteran's lethal strike with god-tier reflexes. The masked killer held his ground, that knife looking like a natural extension of his arm. Schwing, clean hit. Zion sliced right through the silver-haired vet's shoulder, turning it into a crimson fountain. The old guy just clenched his jaw. That deep gash made him stumble, but instead of screaming, the old man's lips curled into a total psycho grin. Looking absolutely thrilled, the real deathmatch kicked off. Both of them charged, radiating overwhelming kill pressure. No more testing the waters. Zion caught the old man's blade with his bare hand, his stare never wavering for a second. A brutal close-quarters struggle, tension snapping like a rubber band. With a lightning-fast twist, Zion wrenched the weapon away, disarmed. But get this, the silver-haired maniac didn't even blink. He snatched Zion's blade with his bare meat hooks. Blood sprayed everywhere, but he ignored it like a boss. Slash. Zion drove the knife down hard. It went straight through the old man's palm. A ruthless counter. The veteran gritted his teeth against the agony. Face masked in red, he still flashed that savage, unhinged smile. Hey! His eyes bulged out like a demon's. He growled in pure ecstasy. Do it again. Cut to a sketchy warehouse district at night, the vibe thick with tension. As soon as they pulled up, Dako Young's scar-faced buddy hissed. Bro, keep it low-key. The guards might spot us. Suddenly, Scarface froze, sensing a disturbance in the force. Bro, look. Right there. It was Guangpal Choi, the legendary 7th sword, slumped against the wall like a rag doll, totally out cold. Dako Young panicked, rushing over and shaking his teammate violently. Guangpal, snap out of it. Guangpal Choi didn't twitch, head hanging low, looking like he took a massive L. Dako Young was losing his mind, screaming in frustration, thinking his boy was gone. But nope. A thunderous snore erupted from Guangpal, freezing them both in their tracks. Scarface was speechless, wondering why they were even bothering with stealth. When that snoring was louder than a police siren, he sighed. Okay, let's just wake him up. Whack. Dako Young delivered a monster slap, roaring, Wake up, get up, Guangpal. Then he announced, Next mission, rescue Jongdokbae. Meanwhile, gasp. An Ilhak goon rushed in, face pale as a ghost, reporting, Sir Gudo, major crisis. Jin Wang and the rookie. They were struggling to drag Jongdokbae, the 8th sword, who was wheezing and barely hanging onto life. Jin Wang was sweating bullets. It was obvious Dokbae was in critical condition, red alert status. The rookie reported fast. Diok Bay is bad. I pinged the boss. We need to evac, immediately. Suddenly, blinding headlights flooded their vision, cutting off the escape route. A hooded figure stepped out from the gloom. Smirking with maximum arrogance, a stylish guy emerged from the shadows, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Well, look what we have here. I had a feeling you sewer rats would show your faces. Ryu Taehyung, the boss of the Gyorong gang, stood blocking the Ilhak crew, sneering. Didn't expect you to crawl in here, like actual vermin. He flexed a knuckle-duster glove, baring his teeth in a savage grin. He was definitely planning to turn this spot into a graveyard. Back at the duel, the blood-soaked veteran flashed that crazy smile again, growling. Let's keep playing. He roared in a bloodthirsty frenzy, eyes wide with manic excitement. Entertain me. The camera cuts back to Zion, eyes dead cold, blood dripping from his hand down the blade. Scene transition text hits the screen. 5 years ago, inside a bougie mansion, a suit lay sprawled in a pool of red. Zion, geared up for war, sprinted up the stairs like a phantom, dropping another mansion guard in a split second. A massive tank of a man, probably the security chief, roared and charged, knife raised, ready to fight to the death. Zion didn't even bother dodging. He blocked the blade with his bare palm. Absolute madness. Blood gushed, but Zion didn't flinch, gripping the steel tight. The leader screamed as Zion twisted his wrist, disarming him with zero mercy. Zion's eyes flashed with a lethal glint as he swung. Swish! A perfect cut slashed the leader's throat. The guy could only gurgle, clutching his neck as he went down. Zion watched the target drop with ice in his veins. Completely emotionless, standing atop the stairs with bodies stacked below. Cleanup complete. Zion looked down at the living room, where the final boss, Young Jung Paul, sat trembling, mocking voice on point. Haha, hey there. You really went overkill on my crew for no reason. We could have just settled this with a friendly chat, don't you think, Lee Young Jong Paul? It's the infamous black market kingpin, a target hunted by both the North and South. He sits there cross-legged, radiating pure arrogance as he slowly slides off his shades.